I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
It's not college basketball. It's Clarence time! Let's get ready to rumble! Feel the fire, sense of the rare. It's nice and only know how to wear.
What is up, Friday Nighters? Welcome back to another edition, another episode of Just Another Friday Night. I'm one of your two hosts, CM Chuck.
And I'm Double A.
That's Adamantium Adam, guys. I think I should have started like this. Hello, kiddies. Welcome to another episode of CREEPSHOW. Not to bury the lead, but obviously, you know, I think if you guys read the write-up or the title, you know what we're going to talk about. So anyway, Double A, how the hell are you, bud?
Doing good. It was a kind of a up and down week with cool air coming in.
Yeah.
Kind of ending on the hot note.
I know, yeah. The cool air always nice.
It was nice. I actually got to put on a long sleeve. So
yeah, oh yeah. I think in my house too, I actually turned the air up for a little bit, which was different. I was like, oh, I haven't done this in a while. I'm gonna switch this because I think the green was hiding it. So, or maybe is this one? This one's better. We'll go with that one. Yeah, there you go, guys. See, there's some real time changes made right there. I'm sorry we're a little bit late. We were do we feel like we're tilted? Are we tilted to you guys? We feel like we are, and we were like trying to fix that before we started. But sadly to us, we still look tilted. But let us know if we look tilted to you guys or not. You want to hit some comments real quick?
Yeah, let's
do it. We got a bunch in, which is great. Toy Mafia in the house says, "Yo."
What's up, Toy Mafia?
Our boy Lane Kramer in the house
is
is letting us know that the Mafia Mania is running wild, which reminds me, Double A, SmackDown in town tonight.
Yes, tonight.
Yeah. WWE SmackDown in San Antonio, Texas.
With
here.
John Cena himself.
And Logan Paul. And how about this for an interesting story? So first off, I hooked up our friend of the podcast, Now Watch This, co-host Joe Martinez. I had got invited to go be at SmackDown, and I wanted to be here instead with you guys, Friday Nighters. And I said, Joe, why don't you go in my stead? So he's going to go do that. And then our good friend of the podcast, Aaron B., has been doing a part-time gig as a limo driver, and he got to drop off Logan Paul today at the AT&T Center.
All right.
And he said two Mexican restaurants. He didn't know who they were though, so I was curious. Like maybe it was
That'd be sorry if it was Mysterio, right?
Right. No. Yeah, Eddie. That was Eddie Mysterio and what's his son's name? Dominic. Yeah.
Dirty Dom.
Dirty Dom.
Hey, Dirty Dom.
I don't know if Steve's in the house yet to say cheers. But we'll cheers to him, Double A, and cheers to you, and cheers to Friday, guys. As Stone Cold says, wash down the trail dust.
Yeah, I was kind of looking forward to this Friday, so.
Yeah, definitely, man. Me too. I was like, I need a drink. I had a pretty wild Thursday yesterday. So.
You know, I like to live day by day, but yeah, I was kind of looking forward to it.
Absolutely, man. And that's the way you're supposed to do it. I hear it's supposed to be like, don't.
Yeah.
But hey, sometimes you're just looking forward to that Friday beer.
Yeah.
Again, I bring it up all the time, but I'll never forget in The Last Dance, you know, hearing Jordan and Pippen and them talk about like, man, that fourth quarter hits, and I'm thinking about that first cold beer, and I'm like, y'all talking about playing in the NBA like it's a regular job, like a 9 to 5 and shit. Like, damn, and then they're drinking Miller Lite, right? MGD, Miller Genuine Draft as well. Like,
no kidding.
Even MJ was like, yeah, I can't wait to get off work and drink a beer.
You know what? Because that motherfucker played 48 minutes. That's why. And a lot of time he had to do all the work. So
excellent point, Double A. Excellent point.
Yeah. So
let's get to these comments real quick. Then we'll talk a little bit more NBA stuff because I want to ask you a couple of questions. Lane says, Lane was a great contributor last week on our Friday the 13th franchise review.
He's like, ooh, 2 interesting movies.
Yes. Two. I think. Would you say 2 of our favorites? I love these 2 movies. I can watch them all year long.
Anytime. Yeah.
And the part 2, CREEPSHOW 2, I watch pretty much. It's rare I watch them once a year.
I always love anthology movies. So,
yes,
yeah,
I'm a huge fan.
These are 2 of the better ones.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm a huge Stephen King fan, but his anthology books are some of my favorites. You know what I mean? Night Shift, different seasons, Just After Sunset. Like, I love little like short self-contained stories.
It's cool, right? They're different, right?
Yeah. You get a lot sometimes in a little story. Lane says, I've seen both of them. He said, but it's been a long time. Lane, don't worry, we're gonna jog your memory real good. You're gonna be like, oh, that one, and I know you'll have some good comments for that. Lane says, from part 1, the most memorable scene to me, Stephen King as the crazy farmer. Yeah, Jordy Verrill.
Yeah. He's just poor farmer.
He's just poor. It kind of maybe not of high education. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's not old SK's fault in there. Lane says second creep show, the anthology,
Yeah,
the raft, or
Raft,
the killer
yeah.
tar monster thing.
Mhm.
Yes, that's an excellent one. I do not go to a lake now and not think about the raft. So
Yeah, same here.
our good friend Erlis
Hey,
Delgado,
Erlis.
she says, "Hey everyone, Erlis, we're so glad that you're here. Thank you for stopping by." Cody J, he says, "What up?
Cody,
What up, Cody?
what's up?
New listener or new watcher, viewer that I'm
okay.
familiar with. So
Okay.
thank you for joining, Cody. Tell us where you're watching, listening from. I can see via YouTube, but are you part of the Collecting Weekly stream, or are you new to our stream, the Just Another Friday Night stream? Our friend the house, Kara in the house, she's giving us the shout outs there. Kara, have you
Hey,
seen the
what's up,
Creep Show
Kara?
movies 1 and 2? Let us know. And our other good friend Corey Mines is here. He says, "I'm here at work, but I'll be in and out of the conversations. If you ask me something, don't be mad if I don't answer. No worries, Corey. We were texting or messaging one off. He said he's been working a lot, so we always said, hey man, catch the replay. No worries. He's excited to talk about Loki when it gets done. Very cool on that. Jerry D in the house. Jerry says, if you can hold your breath."
That is a really good one.
Excellent
Yeah.
one, man.
Mhm.
Leslie Nielsen, Ted Danson. So we're talking about some of the celebrity cast in there too. Yeah, Jerry D, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on these films if you get to stick around at all. I would love to know what you think about them. Help me with this one.
Abdulio.
Abdulio, excuse if we said that
Sorry, yeah,
incorrectly.
apologize.
But another fan here says, my favorite story was the raft
Yeah.
with the strange slime.
Shoggoth-like
Shoggoth-like
creature,
creature.
yeah.
Ooh, reference to Lovecraft. Shoggoth, am I right? If I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. My horror knowledge can sometimes slide. So great comments, guys. Thank y'all so much.
Yeah, so it seems like you guys are really excited about Creepshow too.
I
Just
love-
keep on posting if you have any.
If you have questions, comments about these movies, by all means, we'll
What's your
get to
favorite
them.
story? What's your favorite actor? 'Cause they pulled in a lot of pretty nice name actors in these two movies.
Yeah, and we did get a new season of the show Creep Show, which has been really great. I've been
It just
watching it with
premiered
my
today,
girlfriend.
actually.
The new
Today,
season?
yeah, or last Friday.
I think last Friday.
Last Friday,
Yeah,
okay.
because I'm on the 12th. Because we watched quite a few. We watched about 3 or 4 of them, and they were really good. And they've been attracting celebrity people that want to be on them. I think last season's finale had Justin Long in it. You know what I mean? So,
Okay.
have you watched a lot of those, Double A?
I only saw really the first season. I
Okay.
really didn't get to see a lot of the second season. I'm hoping to see some of the third season.
Okay, great. I think it's a fun watch. It's a fun ride, and we'll talk about. Briefly, the ill-fated Creep Show 3, which we did not watch.
No,
Still have not
and
seen.
everyone says don't.
Yeah,
it's garbage.
and what was supposed to be Creep Show 3 was actually the Tales from the Dark Side movie.
Yeah, so he wanted to make Creepshow into a show, but I guess he couldn't do it somehow. I don't know why they couldn't. It seems like this was a product of him and Stephen King, and instead he was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go with the Creepshow, but I'm gonna call it Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah,
and that has its own passionate fan base.
Absolutely, which we talked about during our Tales October last year. So if you go back and check out that season, and I had wanted to talk about Creep Show then because we were kind of doing like anthologies, but we didn't get to it because we squeezed in all the tales. Tales from the Dark Side, Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Walking Dead, and what was the last one?
Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, Tales of the Walking Dead, and Tales from the Hood.
Tales from the Hood. That's right.
Yeah,
that was it. So yeah. So only 4 weeks in October, right, guys? So and then we're shorting ourselves this week because we didn't get to. We gave Ahsoka her due at the beginning of the month. So but we love October. We love Halloween. And if you're new to us in our format, that's what we like to do is give October all the spooky season vibes it deserves. Hence we're in our dirty Veryl green right now, and I've tried to make our names down here like a blood red. But yeah, we totally love spooky season and Halloween. But before we get into the topic, and I'm gonna finish these comments, then we'll do what we normally do at the start of every show. We like to do about maybe like 30 minutes if we can about just like news, current events. I like to tell Double A to adrenalize me and let me know what's going on, Double A, in the world of pop culture news this week that maybe stood out to you, and we get into that. I think that we're back to, sadly, which I guess would be it's pretty much a recurring thing. I mean, it always is happening in the world, whatever. But we had some deaths, right? Suzanne Summers.
Oh shit!
We
Yeah,
are
I'm
both
sorry,
huge
yeah.
fans of
Yeah.
Company. 76, right?
Yeah.
Hadn't heard about her a lot. I guess she was just living.
Yeah, she has been living. She had been well off. So she really didn't need to work a whole lot. But yeah, I mean her time, is in Three's Company is just, it's the best seasons of Three's Company, and they tried replicating it, and they just never could.
Yeah, she was Chrissy, and she was always kind of like the bubbly blonde. You know what I mean? I loved her. It
sucks when when I found out the backstory of why she didn't get picked up again. She wanted just as much pay as John Ritter, which I think they should have given her, because they're saying her fan mail was the biggest.
Oh, I have no doubt.
And I mean, yeah, obviously, and it was like people are watching probably more for her than John Ritter. But, you know, they didn't do it. They didn't go for it, and so she was like, okay, well, I'm leaving then, you know. And the show only lasted for like maybe only 3 more seasons, and then that was it. You know?
And then we get the
cousin Cindy,
and who's the nurse, right?
No, Cindy is just her cousin, and then Terry is the nurse.
Terry's the nurse. That's right. That's right. Oh, I think I forgot the Cindy episodes. Huh. All right. Interesting.
That's what I'm saying. It just wasn't really that great anymore.
Yeah. So, but I mean, obviously, again, if you're like me and Double A from the '80s, whatever, you know, Jack trying to hook up with her and Janet and the Regal Beagle, and I mean, I think Chrissy was like maybe like the initiator of like a precursor to Kelly Bundy, precursor to lots of the kind of like the bubbly, what some people would say like a dumb blonde, ditzy. And I mean ditzy or whatever. But I mean, always great comedic timing. Always look gorgeous. So,
and then the Thigh Master, you know,
that's right. That's right. That was huge for her too. Yeah. So cheers to the late great Suzanne Summers. May you rest in peace, sweet angel. We will see you on the other side. Before I get to my next death, real quick, some more comments. Cody says, thanks for having me, guys. I'm a host for this Collecting Weekly. I run the D&D podcast on the network, and the Oxfather told me to drop in and catch this episode when I'm free. Hey, man, awesome, Cody. Thanks so much. I gotta check out you guys' show. I know very little about D&D except what Stranger Things taught me, so don't string me up for that. But I'm down to watch and catch. It seems like you guys do a pretty wild D&D show from what I understand. So I've seen some clips, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Y'all are running like a, you know, there's like cursing and all kinds of shit. Like, it's pretty wild. So interesting. Kara in response says, thanks for the ride, lady. She said that's the best. Cody also says, also, what's up, Abduleo, somebody help me. Okay, and then he says, yes, Shag got this featured in a few HP Lovecraft stories. I knew I had my ace a little bit there. A huge slime creature that appears like tar but constantly forming eyes, mouths, and other body parts. Ooh, very interesting. I'm just gonna call you OB, man. I don't want to or ma'am or sir. I don't want to get, you know, to judge, but correct me. You can feel free to correct me and I'll get it right, but we'll just go with OB because I don't want to butcher that too much. I have a hard last name, so it's like I get it when your name gets butchered. Kara also says all the drama surrounding Britney Spears' memoir coming out. Oh really? I haven't heard much
Timberlake.
Of this. Oh wow, he's getting
roasted by that bitch.
Yeah, I hadn't heard nothing about this, so Kara, you want to drop in the
comments? She's saying that pretty much. No. He said they got pregnant together during their time together, and he told her that he didn't want to be a dad. They weren't ready to be parents, and so she got an abortion. And so a lot of people, for whatever reason, are blasting Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, that'll kill you. He was young when they were dating, though. I mean, they 22, were like 19. Yeah, they were like kids.
And then she was saying that he has a small dick. So I was like, damn.
Wow.
Like, come on now.
That guy has scored a string of babes.
Yeah.
Cameron Diaz, Jessica Biel. Is that
Jessica Biel? Yeah.
He's with me.
Yes.
I mean, she is like a hard 10. Yeah. That chick is a fox. So,
and for whatever reason, people are on Britney's side. I'm like, really? After all the Britney shit
and
going on,
the knife dancing and all that.
Yeah,
I feel Double A. I've said this before because she is a person that is like we're the exact same age. I think she's like 1 or 2 months older.
She was what, 19 when she burst out into the scene?
I think she was 17 actually. 17, yeah, because I remember buying that album because I was like madly in love. Yeah, you know what I mean? And it was like my senior year, I think 1999 when like Baby One More Time came out. And I think I bought her first 2 CDs.
I'm sure you did.
And I was just like, again, I was like, I just want to look at this chick's picture. But you know, some of the songs were catchy. But point being, I mean,
she wouldn't be popular if they weren't. You know what I mean?
Right. You know, so I feel for her because again, like she's a person that's
the memoir stuff. I'm like, man, really? Yeah. Did you just do that?
Right.
You know, because you hate the dude, or is it because
you need a little cash?
Because obviously that's the first thing that come out of this memoir is the Justin Timberlake parts, and so everyone's been talking about it. So I was like, well, she got what she wanted.
Yeah, and I'm sure she got probably people were like, tell us about his dick, tell us about like, and you get not to say it's not her fault, but I'm just saying like you do get
because they're mentioning that Cry Me a River song that he does.
Right. Yeah,
it made it seem like she was the one that ruined that relationship. So she came back 20 something years later to say no, it was him. Right.
So you know, I don't know. Well, I was gonna say, do women remember that 20 years later? But
especially what she's been through. No, I mean,
poor
her
thing.
Shit. I mean, she had a nervous breakdown at one point.
So again, I mean, I don't know. I feel like you should leave that shit behind closed
You
doors.
need to. Yeah,
But
you
that
really
sells
do.
stuff, right? Oh, that
And
sells
that's
books.
what
That sells
sells.
whatever. So
Yeah.
you know, if I was him, I would just probably take it.
No,
in
he
stride,
didn't say.
but-
He's not saying nothing. He's not
and he
commenting.
probably
He's
won't.
not going
Yeah,
to. Though.
he's still
Yeah.
doing good.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. Interesting though. I did not know about that. Did not hear about that. Obi says, whoa,
Which creep show featured the monster in a crate in the school?
Mhm.
Was that the first
that's
one?
the first one. Yeah, it's
I
actually
enjoyed that one as well.
the fourth
Yes.
story in the first movie. So yeah, if you get it,
Yes.
if you want to rewatch it, and like, well, I say that, but that one was tough to find streaming. It wasn't streaming.
It's usually always one or two that it's hard for whatever reason. I think 2 is the one you can find everywhere. I think
Yeah.
it is 1. Yeah.
2 was streaming multiple places.
Yes,
I saw
1
it
is the
streaming
one that
on-
for whatever reason it's
Yeah.
hard to find.
2 was streaming on Prime, and I think it was streaming on Pluto right now.
Yeah, if you don't have the DVD, yeah, you're gonna probably pay for it or you're just not gonna see it.
Yeah, but I really wanted to rewatch part 1, so I actually had my girlfriend buy it on Amazon.
That's the one that
which is
has
$8.
5 stories.
The
I
5
believe.
stories,
Yeah.
yeah. Cody then goes on to say, thanks guys, I'm excited to be here. He says, yeah, our show can kind of get crazy.
I'm sure.
Stranger Things is a good starting place for D&D. Okay, good. Yeah, and I know that who's the big fan? Vin Diesel, I think, is a big D&D fan.
There's a
It's
lot
like-
of them.
There's a lot out there.
of 'em.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that
Like I know
not Cavill, right? Is he? Maybe.
he's into the fantasy shit.
I know he's into
I don't
fantasy
know.
shit, but yeah.
Yeah, because like Big Bang had a episode where they had like actors that were like legit
Talking about it.
D&D
Yeah.
dudes.
It looks interesting, and because of Stranger Things at the time, my nephew, he's 10, he asked about, like, he wanted to learn how to play, and I was like, boy, I would need somebody to help me, because
Yeah,
I do
I know
not
the
know how
coming up with the scenarios.
Right,
and, all
right.
that,
I was like, oh man, I mean, you know, I would have to, like, see how it's
Like,
done.
we used to play Risk a lot, the game
Yeah,
Risk, and that's
yeah.
like we didn't even play the rules, and sometimes that would go on for hours.
Hours
it's
and
just like,
hours, yeah.
fuck, and we probably weren't even playing it right. I don't think we were playing it right.
I don't think so. It was
yeah.
pretty much like we were playing pretty much like war, like
Yeah,
roll the dice
just-
and beat
yeah,
you, and then knock
Yeah,
out your
that-
army.
That was about
whatever,
it. And
you
even
know?
then, it took like 3-4 hours.
Absolutely, we'd be there all night sometimes, which were great times.
And we'd get loud and
Oh yeah,
curse
it was
and-
very,
yeah.
very Kramer and Newman-esque. You know what I mean? Ukraine is weak.
yeah, big time. Yeah,
Obi says Creepshow 2 is
yeah,
Wisconsin.
that's the one.
I
That's
agree.
the
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is my favorite of the two. We'll get into that a little bit. I own like 2 copies of that, and I own no copies of the first one, oddly, which is
I
weird or
have one
whatever.
and two. Yeah.
But what I do have is this really great book right here, guys. And this book is like all the stories from part 1 in one book. It's like pretty much this is like a play-by-play of the whole thing or whatever. So I may take it out to refer to it as we get into our discussion. The second death AA that happened this week just happened yesterday. I gotta say, man, this was some serious Mandela effect shit, because
Oh.
I
Yeah.
thought that
you
Burt
and,
Young was already
Jesse,
dead.
yeah, were-
Right? Did you know he was still alive? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
That- if
'Cause
you guys
I don't
were
think
talking-
anyone from Rocky besides Mickey and Duke have passed. I think
Really?
everyone else in the cast is still alive.
Talia Shear's still alive.
She's still alive.
Okay.
Apollo's still alive. Obviously Rocky and Paulie was still alive, and I want to say that was the main crew that kept coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you guys, and again, we're talking about Burt Young, right?
Yes.
Burt
the one
Young
who played Paulie.
He played Paulie in the Rocky first 4 films, I believe. 5 films.
No, 6. 6. He
Oh,
came out in
Oh,
Balboa
that's right.
too.
Yeah, that's right. He came out in Rocky Balboa.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he was Adrian's brother. He was kind of always like a drunk and a dick, and
Yeah, I
always
don't know
wanted
why
Rocky to have
Stallone
more.
always wrote him like that. I've always thought that was weird why he wrote him.
Well, it's kind
the
of
way
funny
he
because
was.
I always liked him in, people say that they don't like part 4, but I always liked him in part 4 because he was kind of more playful.
Well,
Like,
that's
he,
what I'm saying,
He had
like-
mellowed,
Yeah, like in 2 he's in that. Well, in 1 he's in that.
Oh, he's a major asshole in 1.
But
and
then, like
2, I
he
feel
gets,
like.
he wants Rocky to hook up with Adrian, but then he gets mad when they hook up.
Yeah,
I'm like, huh? And then part 2, he's like a dick. He's like working for the mobster.
right. Which is what he wanted Rocky to
And
hook
he
up
actually
because-
looked in great shape in that movie.
Yeah, which I said he used to box. Did you see
Yes,
that? I
yes,
did not know
yes.
that. But yeah, it's like there's like that kind of subplot where he kind of wants Rocky at first in part 1 to hook him up with the Gatsby or whatever, right? The
Yes,
mob guy. 'Cause
yes.
Rocky's like an enforcer, and he's like, "Get me out of the meat place" or whatever, where Rocky goes to punch the meat later on. But and he's kind of like, "Oh well, I got to see how it goes or whatever." And I'm like, I can't really just like get you in or whatever. Just like, I guess he wants to be in that crowd or
Yeah,
whatever.
he did. Yeah.
The mob
Yeah.
crowd. So that's like an interesting little subplot, right? Like there could be a whole story about the Rocky
Yeah.
mob shit.
Which it sucks because I guess that doesn't last very long because in Balboa, well, yeah, Rocky takes him on the ride, and then in Balboa, he's in the meat company again. Rocky Balboa.
Right. Yeah, he's like still there. Right. I'm like, damn, this guy haven't retired yet. Like, shit, he's poor guy.
And then they force him to retire in that one.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. But yeah, so sadly, Burt Young passed away.
He came out Back to School, and that's the only other movie I really remember Burt Young from.
But boy, what a powerhouse performance as Paulie. I think they said he was nominated, right?
I want to say supporting. I want to say because that first one,
he is great.
That first one is like Star Wars. That first one is the only one that's like has ever got nominated.
But he is such a powerhouse performance that when you're like Paulie from Rocky, people are like, boom, I know who you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yes, it did, and he did get a nomination for that one, that first one.
Very cool. Italian American though, is it?
Let me see. Well, real quick, he was in the Marine Corps too, so he's a Marine.
Hoorah, Marine! Dang, I didn't know that.
Let me see.
Very
He's
cool.
of Italian descent. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Very cool.
He did a tour of duty from 57 to 59. Damn. While in the Marines, he boxed regularly, winning 32 of 34 bouts.
Nice. I like that record.
Yeah. So.
Well,
I don't know why he didn't continue. It's kind of weird.
And I gotta say, this is no disrespect to the great Burt Young, but I just thought I had remembered hearing of his passing. This same thing happened to me with Bob Barker, and I was like, did I slip into the other universe? Like, I thought these guys were already dead, because I seriously remember like seeing like the whole like things or whatever. And if this would have been like a question on like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or some shit like that, or whatever game shows out there now, and I was on there, I would have been like, they already died. Like I would have lost because I would have like, thought they died or whatever. And if you'd asked me when, I'd have been like, well, I would say like after 2000, but before like 2010, for both of them, I would have said that. I would have been like, if I had to guess. So, no disrespect again to them both, but you know, sadly, again, like I said, this week, Suzanne Summers, Burt Young, we want to wish them
from the 70s too.
Cheers. Yeah,
from the 70s.
And a Marine who served in NAM, so very kick-ass, man.
Well, 57 to 59, so.
Oh no! After it was after.
It was in the middle of the Korean and Vietnam War.
So. Yeah. But again, huge impression on the Rocky films. Will not ever be forgotten. I mean, like that guy.
They mentioned him. In the first one. So.
Yeah, very very cool. Let's see. Today, guys, was huge. The drop of the Spider-Man 2 game. My copy came in. I ordered it from PlayStation Direct. It's very nice. I'm gonna send over some videos over to Zach, the Oxfather, over at Collecting Weekly. So hopefully there'll be some clips that are from me myself. My nephew was super excited to get home from school. It was really fun to unbox that with him. And it came with a great looking. The version I bought came with a great looking statue. I'm gonna show Double A here real quick. I'll post pictures later for you guys if you want to see. But it's a really cool statue of Venom, Miles, and Peter. So I have a feeling everyone's gonna be talking about this game. I watched him play through the first levels, and it was fucking badass. I mean, it looks incredible on the PlayStation 5, and it looks like just everything is more crisp, more sharp, and so that'll probably be occupying our weekend. Me and him playing some of that, so I'm looking forward to that. Was there other news, Double A, that came out this week? Loki's third episode was Thursday. I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it?
Just no. All of a sudden, I'm hearing about the writer's strike all over again.
Oh wow! Okay.
I heard Deadpool got moved back again, so I was like, "Fuck!"
I thought we were past that.
I know. I thought so too. I guess they couldn't come into agreement, so that kind of sucks. So, like that's the movie I want to see. Like that's the movie I'm really anticipating. Is that one? And
they really wet our beaks with all the shit that Ryan Reynolds
and now it's kind of like no, we have to wait again some more. So
I also would like to see the Beyond the Spider-Verse movie. If I could get that cranked out, that'd be great.
Yeah, no kidding. Which is coming October 31st on Netflix.
The second one.
Yeah.
Right. But when are we gonna get the third
one?
Oh,
the third one.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's what was bumming me out about this writer's strike, because I was like, damn it, they left us dangling on the edge there with that, you know?
Man, that kind of blows.
Let's see. OB says, shame Mary Jane looks like Aunt May in that game. Yeah, absolutely. You know, me and my nephew have a lot of conversations about, you know, the Raimi Spider-Man and the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and then now the Tom Holland. He always likes to ask me like who was my favorites and which is my favorite Goblin and things like that. And one day we were talking about the Mary Janes and he goes, I think the one in the game is really based on Kirsten Dunst. And I said, yo, yeah, I think so too, the way she looks. But what I don't like about it is that like I like her attitude better in the games than I like Kirsten Dunst.
I've never liked the Mary Janes in the movies.
No,
I've never liked them. I never liked Kirsten Dunst, and I don't like Zendaya.
Yeah,
as Mary Jane. I think they've done pretty bad interpretations.
Mhm.
I just don't think they've ever gotten that character right.
Right.
Emma Stone has been great as Gwen Stacy in
Mhm.
the Andrew Garfield movies. The only thing
Absolutely.
about her that she doesn't get noticed is in the Andrew Garfield movies.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
that kind of takes a hit. But she's been by far the best love interest. And how her and Peter are in those movies is the way him and Mary Jane should always be, and they
Absolutely.
just never are that.
No.
Ever.
We don't get
you know?
that.
Like with the Raimi Spider-Mans, what always pissed me off was like he was always pushing Mary Jane away, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Like in the comics, like he's dating Betty Brant, he's dating Gwen Stacy, he's dating Mary Jane, he's dating Felicia Hardy.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? Like he's never pushed any woman
Yeah.
away.
He's
Like
quite the
he's
stud.
still
Like,
he's still pretty damn horny. He's not pushing any woman away.
yeah.
You know,
He's like, hey man, I was a horny, repressed nerd for like
Yeah.
15, 16 years, and
and
now
here
that I'm
they're all
buff
like,
with spider powers,
I gotta push you away. You know,
Nah.
it's like what? Like what the fuck? Like that's weird.
and it's a little unrealistic too, because the truth is like, hey man, like now I have like a little bit of like clout or confidence in it.
Yeah.
It's like I'm gonna get a
Yeah.
chick or chicks. You know
And
what
I
I mean?
think that's what the writers thought too when they were writing Spider-Man. It was like,
Yeah.
shit, if all of a sudden I got powers and my body started getting pumped up, yeah, I'm gonna be going up to Flash Thompson and saying, "Watch out, motherfucker! I'm gonna
exactly.
fuck you up."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cody says I would agree. MJ
like-
isn't as good in the movies
Like
as
the
she is in comics.
The
or
Mary
the
Jane
games.
character is like full of life in the comics.
Yes.
She's the life of the party. And
Yeah.
She goes to parties and she's a model and she lets being a model. And,
Mhm.
you know, it's like, but she loves Peter. Like that's her thing. She loves him like absolute. Like
Yeah.
there's no other person for her other than Peter.
I need some
You know?
good fan casting for MJ now. I really do. I've seen people
They just
talking
need to
about.
do it better.
Yeah, they need to do it better.
Something.
And see, in the games, I like that she's done better in these games, AA. But the one thing is, like, they make her a reporter for the Daily Bugle. And I'm like,
Yeah, what the
you're not
fuck?
Lois Lane. I'm like, what the fuck
Yeah,
is that?
what
Like, I'm
is
like,
that?
that's so weird to me. Like, I just
Oh.
don't like that. Like, I'm
Yeah,
like, that's not
stupid.
her.
She's
That's,
a model.
yeah, and an actress. She's a model and an actress. Or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Lean into that.
Like there's a really good issue where it's the wedding
okay.
issue where she's like really like she's like kind of having doubts a little bit. She's like, man, do I really want to kind of give this life away? You know, move to New York with Peter, even though like Peter's this fucking dude who's always risking his life or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I'm missing away from parties at mansions and being picked up by playboys and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. Like she's like really thinking about it. Like, you know, I kind of want to end this kind of lifestyle, you know?
And I wonder if they do this because maybe that seems kind of shallow, like a shallow
I'm sure it
girly
was.
dream. But I'm like, I don't see why. I mean, like, you know, we don't know. I mean, I don't know what they've ever talked about the roles. And I think now she even has like, there's like that Silk character or whatever, right? That's not supposed to be like her.
Oh,
Is it Silk or
yeah.
the other one? There's another, I'm getting it wrong, but I know there's another character where like at one point they're giving, you know, MJ powers. And I'm like, hey, why are you going to do all that?
Yeah.
There's some comics I have, the great ones with the hologram covers, the yellow, I mean, the green, the black,
green,
the red, and the
blue,
blue.
black and red.
And there's one where her and Peter talking about like his powers or whatever, and like it's just like a really great issue of them just hanging out in the apartment, and excuse me, he's showing her how the web shooters work or whatever, because she tries to hit him with a pillow, and like his spider sense goes off,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Dang, it even warned you about me, like I had no ill intentions," and he's like, "Oh yeah, well it'll detect it." So they kind of go.
Yeah.
The story is pretty much about his powers, but it's just neat to see them interacting or whatever. And then of course if you read Spider-Man Blue, like I mean,
Oh, geez.
you know, she obviously feels a little bit like if Gwen hadn't died, I wouldn't be with him. She would be with him.
That's the thing. Like,
It's pretty heart wrenching, you know.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing like in House of M. And you read this, like, there's a part where Scarlet Witch makes the heroes like gives them heroes their fantasies, and they're living their fantasies.
Ugh.
His fantasy is he's living with Gwen Stacy,
Ouch.
with kids, and you know her dad's still alive, Uncle Ben's still alive, and May's still there too. And when Wolverine gets them out of their trances, he's the one that gets them out because his senses are super heightened that he
Mhm.
can kind of break Scarlet Witch's thing. He gets super pissed off. Like he's like pissed at himself. He's pissed at Scarlet Witch. He's
Yeah.
pissed at Quicksilver. Like
Yeah.
he's like, you know, you can see where it's like I betrayed Mary Jane. You know, my deepest feelings is still with Gwen Stacy, and you're like, fuck, like.
That's rough.
I'm like,
man.
man, that was brutal when I was reading that in House of
Yeah.
M. I was like, shit, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Like he
It's
still
like
wants
the you know, like when that shit happens to Bruce Wayne, right? And like the first thing is like his parents are alive or whatever. And then
Oh
it's like,
man,
you know, when that gets stripped
Yeah.
away, you know, you're like, fuck, man, that's like, you know, gut wrenching.
and they do like a really great drawing because you can like just in the drawing, you can see where Peter's like, he's just like, this bitch, what she did to me, she made me, realize two things. One, I still want to be with Gwen Stacy, and two, I'm with Mary Jane. I've been with Mary Jane for decades by this point, or whatever it's supposed to be.
Right.
And
Right.
do I even like truly love her? It's like shit.
I think he does, but I mean, I think Gwen is the one that got away. You know
well,
what I mean?
it's not the one that got away.
but,
Taken away.
Yeah, taken away. Thanks, fucking Norman Osborn, asshole.
Norman, yeah.
The Green Goblin,
Weirdo.
man. I'm saying, that's why he'll
Weirdo.
always be his
That's
greatest
why
villain.
he's always gonna be number one.
He took that from
I don't care. People want to say Venom. It's it's Green Goblin.
Cool. And okay, a little bit of spoilers, right? I think I'm not sure what's going on in the games, but from what I've seen so far, okay, spoiler alert. Like I'm gonna give you guys 3, 2, 1 for Spider-Man 2. What I've seen. So anybody that's gonna play the game and doesn't want, you probably already know this, but I'm gonna a little bit. It looks like they're making the Osborns Venom, and there might not be an Eddie Brock. And I'm like, whoa, this universe is a little weird. I've got Reporter MJ and Osborns as with symbiotes. I'm like, I don't know if I like this. Which my nephew did tell me in later comic books they do give the Osborn symbiote.
Well, everyone has a symbiote.
I know,
There's like a Venom pool, they said.
Yeah. Red Goblin.
Yeah,
I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, okay. I'm like, nah, I just am used to my Eddie Brock being the first Venom.
Eddie, yeah.
Plus, that first story is really good. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
it
Like
is.
that first, like that the hatred he has and how he
man.
gets it, and the
brutal hatred,
and how the symbiote connects with him. Like, oh, you don't like this guy? I don't like this guy either
I
because
don't
this
like
guy.
him either.
'cause,
Yeah.
well, he fucked me over too by casting me out. And Eddie's like, well, I don't like him because he fucking get me fired.
We are
like,
Venom.
We are
Like,
Venom.
we
I know
are-
that.
come
You know,
on,
the
man.
classic 90s
Yeah.
animated series. I was like,
Yeah.
dang, it's so juicy. Like, I was like,
I tweet.
mm-hmm. And Buff Eddie, you know, the
Oh,
good
man,
Eddie Brock that works out. Not
Yeah.
lame Topher Grace. That guy sucks.
Man,
I was like, poof.
that miscast. I love Topher Grace, but man, that was a huge miscasting.
Remember the Wizard casting? Wasn't it like Brian Bosworth they wanted?
And
No,
Boz?
Howie Long. They wanted Howie Long, I think,
And
to
Howie?
be because he had a box
Howie
haircut.
Long.
I was like, oof.
Yeah, because I've even kind of felt that way even with Tom Hardy. I was kind of like, man, Tom Hardy's gonna be Eddie Brock. Like, man, that dude is so small.
small, yeah.
I'm like, golly,
We
like,
need-
I like
we-
him.
we-
I like him. I like
Yeah.
how he was Eddie Brock, but I'm like, man, where's the?
You know who Eddie Brock would have looked like? He would look
Brock.
like Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, I was like Brock Lesnar.
Or Brock Lesnar. Damn. I don't know if Brock can act, but I'm
No,
like,
he-
but I like, fuck it, man. Just do the We Are Venom thing and put the suit up. Oh, that motherfucker would have looked fucking badass at that. At our classic
Eddie
wrestling
Brock,
casting.
Brock, yeah,
there you
Brock,
go.
Eddie Brock.
Eddie
There you
Brock.
go.
Yeah, there we go. Real quick, some comments here. Cody says, MJ hotter than Lois.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say so. The way they always
In the
talk
comics, I would definitely say
oh
yes.
yeah, Terry Hatcher.
Again, I've never been a Kirsten Dunst fan.
She's nice looking.
I would say
Nice
she's
looking.
better than Margot Kidder, who the first Lois. But Terry Hatcher is tough to beat if you're going to go
Oh,
TV show Lois.
TV show
Or
Lois?
even Erica
Durant?
Durant. Yeah. And I did not care for that one that was in Superman
Kate
Returns,
Bosworth.
Kate Bosworth. No,
Yeah.
I doesn't.
That was the bad miscast.
I rank her with
her Lois.
with Kirsten Dunst, but I did like I love Amy Adams. So
Yeah.
I mean, like, she's a total babe. And this new gal looks pretty.
Oh yeah.
So, but nah, not too. I mean, Zendaya's. I think she's gorgeous, but you know, the body's not really there for me. Emma Stone, kind of the same thing. So I don't know. A long time ago, they had said Nikki Cox, and I was like, oh my god, she would have been at her height. She would have been a great MJ. And I was
That's
like,
right. I
could
forgot about
totally
that
see
one.
that. I
That's the
could
Leo
totally-
one, right? The one
yeah.
that they had put her picture
Right.
in that Leo one.
Yeah.
With James Cameron.
Yes, and I
Yeah,
was like,
that's
I
right.
could see that.
That's
Dang,
right.
yeah.
Forgot about
I don't know who our resident hot redhead is like today.
Well, it doesn't
you
matter.
know,
I don't
but-
think you have to just be a redhead. I mean, you
Yeah,
can just
it can make your hair,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. But I will say I love that. Is it Millie Acock, the one that was from Game of Thrones, the
Oh,
House of the Dragon,
which one?
the blonde, the young.
Her.
They wanted her for the Gwen,
Really?
the
Oh
young
yeah,
Gwen.
the Spider Gwen.
Spider Gwen, yeah.
Right,
And I
that's
was
right,
like, dang,
that's
that's
right.
good casting, man.
That's
I was
right,
like, I think
that's
that'd
right.
be excellent to see that. So Jason in the house says, What's
Hey,
up,
what's
bros?
up,
What's up,
Jason?
Jason? Appreciate you being here. And then Cody says, that would be cool to see the voice in his head as a symbiote mixed with the Green Goblin theme. Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, in the movies, I could have definitely seen them making the James Franco character Hobgoblin instead of another Green Goblin.
That would have been
It
cool.
didn't need to.
Yeah, that would have
you
been
know.
cool. But even though Harry does make such an impression though during his Green Goblin run,
Yeah, he
you know,
does.
his death issue is a big fucking issue. It's pretty emotional, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
But yeah, that would have been cool just to see the hobgoblin.
Yeah,
That would have been
I
cool.
mean, to make it mix it up a little bit different.
That would have been cool.
Separate them. Yeah.
Orange. Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
orange.
don't want to be like all like my dad, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like this new persona. You know,
Yeah,
so
for sure.
it could have been cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff though.
Which everyone keeps thinking Ned is gonna be.
I know, right? Because the lead,
best friend.
Yeah, right. That would be, that would be rough.
But
like
that dude,
damn.
I know he's lost a lot of weight, but I'm like, shit, you gotta lose more weight. Like,
Yeah, and you probably got to bulk up a little bit. You know,
not too. Yeah,
not that I mean, I'm sure that he could. I mean, like we see these guys go through transformations, right? In Hollywood. So.
Shit, the way they got him going, yeah.
Oh yeah. Anything else, Double A, that stuck out to you in the world of news, pop culture, TV, music, movies that maybe was like resonating with you? I think the new movie, The Killers of the Flower Moon.
I want to see that movie,
out.
man, but 3.5 hours long. That's really something you have to plan on.
Yeah.
It's like, where do you watch it? Do you watch it in the morning so you can have the rest of your night?
Right.
If you do the afternoon, shit, most of your day is going to be gone. If you do your night, I mean, most of your night's going to be gone.
Right.
3.5 hours, it's a long time to sit down. I mean, that's a really long time to sit down.
And I gotta say,
and it's not going to be Avengers Endgame. You know what I mean? It's going to be... It's going to be a good movie. It really is. It's going to be a really fucking good movie, but I mean...
It doesn't give me, it's not going to be Spider-Man No Way Home either. So
or even Wolf of Wall Street. I can't even see it being Wolf of Wall Street.
I got to say, Double A, it seems like it could be a good watch at home. You know what I mean? Like...
And that's the thing, too, with him. It seems like he's trying to prove a point, like, by making this 3.5 hours long. You know what I mean? Even though Scorsese does have a history of making long movies. Obviously, Casino, Goodfellas, again, Wolf of Wall Street. But, I mean, it's kind of like, man, is he trying to prove a point? Like, cinema, because he's been the biggest, critic of the comic book movies.
Yeah. And I've also heard, though, Tarantino say, like, directing is a young man's game. And Scorsese's on in his years. I didn't really care for The Irishman that much.
No, but I mean, man, The Departed's still fucking great.
Yeah, Departed's
still great.
Yeah, that one's fantastic.
Like, people are saying, oh, they gave it to him for The Departed. I'm like, really? Man, The Departed's such a really good fucking movie. Like,
yeah,
I'm glad he won it for that one.
No doubt. No doubt.
Wolf of Wall Street, I just saw that movie again. Yeah, man, that movie is fucking hilarious.
Very, very solid. Very solid.
I'm sure this one's going to be good. Like, man, he's made really good movies.
Yeah.
70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. I mean, he's been pretty considered. I don't know what Tarantino is doing. I don't know why he wastes so much time between his movies, honestly. I mean, I think that's kind of a stupid comment from him, honestly. It's a young man's game. Like, there's been people like Francis Ford Coppola came out in 91 doing Dracula.
That's true.
After doing 30 years almost from Godfather.
Yeah.
I mean, he came out with that one. So,
yeah.
I mean,
Interesting comment though. So I don't know, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. I want to see it. But I agree with you.
DiCaprio and De Niro together.
Yeah, but when am I gonna go? And when make time again?
Who's gonna really want to go with you?
Yeah, I feel like we'd have to go with each other. Yeah, I feel like if this would have been like a dual release with like at home, I mean, but
that would have been cool, man. I would have been on it.
Yeah, I would have been on it too. Yeah,
watching it for sure.
Might have discussed it on this show if we'd have both watched it at home and then got to like it. But yeah, see, now you're making us have to make again.
And then with the trailers,
right?
With the fucking trailers that take 20 minutes, you're looking at 4 hours of being there.
It's quite the commitment.
Half a work shift.
Yeah, if you have kids and stuff, right? Too, who's watching your kids and all that shit. Like, and I go to the movies. I want to include my nephew because he likes the experience of going. I'm not gonna take him to that. You know what I mean? So,
no.
You know what I mean? Like there's just like, okay, we're gonna go and you're not gonna get to go. So real quick, Lane says, I think he's maybe thinking about the Mary Jane thing, and he says, hey guys, and then he says, Cody says, let me ask you boys, if you could have any movie made by Tarantino, what would you have him make? Mine would be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think he would put a crazy spin on it. And then Lane says, how you doing tonight? I think he might be talking to Cody. I've thought about this before, so go.
Okay.
You want to go first?
Go ahead.
For me, it's hands down Preacher. I have always thought that. I have always thought that Garth Ennis.
That would have been great.
Yeah, I have always thought that Garth Ennis was like the Tarantino of comic books, and I was like, I think that I don't even know if. I mean, I'm sure now because the show, I'm sure Tarantino knows of it. But I mean, I felt at times when I was reading Preacher that I was watching a Tarantino movie.
Shit.
It's quotable. Wow. It's crazy. It's off the wall. I would love to have seen.
That's a good one.
Tarantino do like a Kill Bill style, maybe like a 2-movie thing, but with Preacher and see what he did with it and pack as much into it as he could. So for me, that would have been was my in my multiverse somewhere that movie exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about
Shit.
you, Double A? Is there one?
Yeah, I mean, ever since he had said he wanted to do James Bond with Pierce Brosnan, I was like, I wonder
yeah.
how his James Bond would have been.
Yeah,
You know?
he talked about Star Trek too. Remember that? One
Star
time
Trek
he
too,
had
but
talked
I'm
about
more
Star
excited
Trek.
about
a Bond.
A Bond.
I would actually love to see his Bond too. That would be
Yeah,
that's another like wow. What would he do with Bond? You know what I mean? And again, like bring back Pierce. Do you get?
man.
Well, when did he say that? Was that like when Pierce was Bond?
Yes, this was like around 03, 04, right before Casino Royale. Because it's funny, because those bastards actually took his idea. He goes, you know,
I do remember that.
you remember that when he was on Leno, he goes, yeah, I want to do, Casino Royale, and I want Pierce to be Bond because he's this generation's Bond. And, he goes, I would like to go back and do Casino Royale. Fast forward, 3-4 years later, they do Casino Royale. They reboot the series, do Casino Royale with Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
I was like, wow,
Yeah.
you assholes.
And that's when I wasn't yet fully in love with Mads Mikkelsen yet, and I would fall deeply in love with it. What about this though? Like he comes back, does it now, bring back an older Pierce, Casino Royale with cheese.
Hey,
All right,
that sounds like a Mad TV sketch.
Terrible joke. All right. Okay. Let's get to the comments here. Cody says, "What up, Lane?" He says he's good. And then Lane says, "So, did you guys see the video game Venom Hot Toys figure? Nearly 21 inches tall. Oh man, that is something.
Wow.
As a
Holy
one-off, you
shit.
guys might buy $455. I did see it.
455. Holy shit.
Yeah, Lane, that's a little bit. I don't know, man.
Something as a one-off, you guys might buy.
Would we, what 455? I mean, again, we don't collect like that.
And if I
you know what
did,
mean?
like, it'd have to be someone else.
Right.
Like, I like Venom. Like, me and CM here love Surfer.
Oh, that one you posted
Yes,
today.
if there was a Surfer or cool Galactus, that would kind of make me think about it.
Yeah. Which
Venom?
is not a hot toy. It's just a statue.
No,
made
but
with
I'm
the
saying, like,
sideshow
one of the
Surfer.
characters. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
the
yeah.
character that I'd be like,
Yeah.
whoa. I definitely would think about that 500,
I will say though, since hanging with the Collecting Weekly guys and being in their groups, they have got me looking at these hot toys interested. And the one that I've said that if I were to buy one, my first one would be if they did a Clone War, an Anakin from the Ahsoka series where he's in the Clone Wars outfit. But it also got me looking at like what else was out there, and I found a Saul Goodman one, and I was like, damn, I want that bitch. And the original price I think was $160, which is still a lot for a figure, right? But it's got like
Not
different
bad.
hands,
That's not
clothes.
bad.
But that was when it came out. Now they're going for over $500.
Oh.
So I don't think I'll ever.
Okay.
I won't be calling Saul apparently. So, some of the complaints I heard about it though, where they were like, "Wow, the Venom looks so big," but if you saw the statue that I showed you, like, I think that they're making him bigger in this game series. Like he's gonna be like be bigger, So
And that's what McFarlane always liked. He goes, when he saw the Tom Hardy, he was like, finally, they made my Venom big.
like a big Venom.
Yes, he goes, Venom was always supposed to be big.
Yeah.
So-
Maybe like how Violator was to Spawn, right? Like he has like a big
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
I like that too because it's got more monsterish. You know what I mean? So I dig it. Lane, will you buy it? Will you pick up that Venom? Are you a Venom guy?
And that's funny because I like Venom, but he's never been my top for. I know you're different. I know,
Well,
but,
no, me neither. But my dad
really?
and my nephew love it.
okay.
Yeah.
I know
no,
your
no.
dad did. Well,
Oh,
I
my
thought
dad's
you were
still a huge
too.
Venom guy, and
Okay.
as much as my nephew says he loves Carnage more, like he always like picks up Venom stuff.
Really?
He loves Venom stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
figures. Like
Okay.
I mean, and I
That's
apparently
funny.
kids like symbiotes, so they're like they
I know,
just
it's weird,
dig it.
right?
He loves the movies. He thinks they're both great, but again, I feel like they're a little bit more geared towards that. So toward his audience, again, he's 10, so it's like I'm like okay, you know what I mean?
I
Like,
enjoyed them. Well, I enjoyed part one. I didn't like part two because of what they did with Carnage.
Yeah.
It was just I was like, oh man,
Right.
that sucked.
Right.
I was like, shit. They should have made it more psycho. And then they kill him off.
Yeah.
But I was like, again, my complaint again with this one with Morbius with what's gonna be Craven is just they make him too much of an anti-hero.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
and these guys are villains.
Yeah.
Make them villains.
Absolutely.
Like shit.
And my dad had those comics, so I read them because I mean, like, it was comics and they were lying around the house. I was like, wow, why didn't I read them? So I read them and like they're fine stories. I mean,
They
like
never really put too much effort in them, though, right?
I don't really think so, but it was cool because there was one with him and Wolverine, Tooth and Claw. There was one with Funeral Pyre with Punisher. There was
When they're hot.
right, yeah, they
when Venom
pretty
and
much
Punisher were
teamed with
hot.
everybody. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah. The first one where like all the symbiotes are introduced, the Lethal Protector one. I mean, like, again, they're fine. I mean, they're like straightforward. There's nothing that I'd be like, I'd go back to say we need to cover it. It's like a classic or whatever, But the first that first story, that first, the one we talked about too, especially when I think about those animated series episodes in the 90s, man, I love that story. Like, I'm like, that's a good, story. This this other photographer, and he hates Peter, and he's a big buff guy, it's kind of like a classic, like, Peter, this is the type of guy who wouldn't, like, almost a Flash in his life. I mean, then the way the symbiote was and how he had to, like, realize it was turning him a certain way and get it off of him, and then that, I think that whole story was really, really great. I was like, that's cool. A fantastic Spider-Man story,
cool.
And how the spider sense didn't work on him. No, they were little.
Yeah,
it was like,
damn, the symbiote picked it up.
Yeah, he seemed unbeatable. You know what I mean? Like, and now they've gone so far with all this. Like, there's a whole planet of symbiote.
Flash has been Venom at one point.
Yeah,
too.
I think so.
Like,
yeah,
wow.
Agent Venom or Secret, something like that. But yeah, real quick, let's see. Cody says you're dead on about Preacher. Thank you very much, Cody. I also would like to hear yours. Your Tarantino movie.
Turtles,
oh yeah, Turtles. That's right. Yeah. And he says, Bond would be dope too. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And then Lane says, okay, guys. He says, I have a comic stream challenge for you guys. Okay, let's hear it. Lane, let's see. He says here, see if you can read it. He says, excuse me, consider this might be a birthday request. Mine is November 5th. Let me write this down.
It's gonna be kind of hard because I saw which one he wants us to read.
Okay, let's see if we can get to it. Lane says, if you can track down Children of the Atom miniseries from Krakoan Age X-Men, I want you guys to review that and see if you can get through it. It's only a miniseries. I stopped.
Okay.
It's six issues of something. Okay.
I thought you meant like the whole Krakoan. I was like, oh shit, you're gonna have to give me more time. The whole Fall of X and the House of X and all that. I was like,
Children of the Atom. Lane, I know last time I wanted to see the Evil Lynn and Zach sent me this stuff. If you want, man, message me. If you can send me the covers, I might have these sitting around. Really? Is this the new ones that came out? Or are these older? Okay. Yeah. If you just show me the covers, like, I might have these sitting in my X. Really? I'll be happy to read that. We might not get to it by the 5th, but I mean, we could definitely get to it. I mean, I like X-Men. Is this the one by what's his name? Oh, damn it, Jonathan
Hickman.
Yeah. Is it that what did he do this run, Lane? Because if you're talking about the one I'm talking about, where it was like House of X and Powers of X, around that time, boy, I was reading some of that too, and I think I see why you stopped, because I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was like, there's like, okay, so you know how when you're reading Watchmen, right, you get to these parts that are just like a bunch of words and all that. Okay, they did that a lot, and I was like,
that's
what
kind of turned me off from,
it? Oh,
that's what kind of turned me off from Bendis' Daredevil.
Yeah, I got boner down seriously. I was like, this was supposed to be the hottest shit. They were selling out. You know what I mean? And the art looked good, but I was like, I don't know what's going on. And I like reread them a couple times, and I was like, I'm fucking lost. I don't know if we're talking about the same thing, but we'll digress here for a second, because I was like, what in the fuck? It's just, I'm so lost. Lane says, I'm considering getting it. Not sure where I would fit it. I own he's talking about the Venom. I own the Movie Carnage Hot Toys that is nearly 17 inches. Those are fucking huge, man. I've seen like Zach's, but I guess I didn't realize. But yeah, he does have them kind of set up that it's like they're
in their own spots.
Yeah, they're like pretty much like how you have these shelves right here, Double A. It's like it'd be like you could probably maybe get 3 across per shelf you have here. Yeah, and he has them like top to bottom too. So it's like, where the fuck are you gonna put all your other shit? You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
you lose it. It's space, right? Space. Then let's see. Lane says, I'm just a PO'er, an expensive variant cover for New Carnage #1 foil by Del Auto.
That dude's okay. He's awesome.
Yeah. Yes. And then he says here, Lane says, no, it has too much trans allegory and looks like classic X-Men. Okay, so I think I'm thinking of a different book. Okay, let me know. It was a miniseries by Vita Ayala.
Oh, wow.
Hey, that's actually Double A's last name. Very interesting. He says, no, not the Powers of X stuff. Okay, so he says it was one of the worst. That was one of the worst.
Okay, wow.
He says literally had the first 2 issues ended at the same stop point over and over again.
Like The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Okay. He says I'm punishing you with this miniseries. Okay. I mean, hey, we're not opposed to reading something bad. I mean, I want to kind of say I wanted to bring something up that I read that was not bad, but I mean, we've read bad stuff before. But I got it here, Lane, and I'll pluck it from the comments later on so I can look it up. If it's easy to get a hold of, I mean, I'm not opposed to getting it, but I thought it was those Powers of X books where I've been meaning to move, but I just like once I bury stuff in the comic book box, it's just
well, they finally ended that whole series, and now it's supposed to be a reboot now. So again,
That's the thing with the X-Men, right?
well, I mean, not like starting over, kind of like okay, they got to a point where they wanted to. Now it's gonna go back to like issue 1. You know what I mean?
So Lane, you're gonna challenge me. I'm gonna challenge you, Lane. I picked this up at Amazon for $20. It's called Cereal. And it looks like they do a play on, that was my bookmark, but I already finished. They do a play on, it's from Comics Ahoy.
Ahoy.
And they're on Twitter,
Ahoy.
which is nice. Aho! Ahoy Comics. And it looks like they do a play on like your Count Chocula, your Blueberry, your, like all the cereal characters are characters. There's a captain, you know what I mean? That's like kind of like Captain Crunch. He looks like Captain Crunch. There's a General Post, you know what I mean? Like Post cereal. There's a priest that looks like kind of like the honeybee, you know what I mean? There's a grave digger that's a frog, you know, dig him. He's digging the graves, you know what I mean? So, I thought about it. It was it had some legs, but it didn't quite get to the finish line I wanted to get to. So it was very interesting. So if you get a chance, check it out. He laughs. He said, "Sorry, I missed most of the discussion on CREEPSHOW." Oh, we haven't even got to that yet. I'm about to move us to that right now. So don't leave your seat there, Elaine. We're about to get to CREEPSHOW. He says, "That looks weird," and he puts a laugh there, and then he says, "Okay, that looks funny as hell." Yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on it as a comic book man. So and any other comic book people out there, if you want to check it out, Cereal by Ahoy Comics. Again, it wasn't the worst thing I read. I mean, you know, and I'm supposed to be guesting on a podcast soon talking about this. So when I do and drop that episode, I'll let you know. Check out the back there. It's a picture of their version of Frankenberry, you know. So and again, they changed the names because obviously they don't have the permission of General Mills, I guess, to do the actual names. But yeah, very interesting. Lane says, I can put it into CREEPSHOW terms. Children of the Atom is basically that CREEPSHOw 3. Oof, dang, Lane. What do we do, Lane? Why are you mad at us, Lane? Come on. That's
Yeah.
You know, we didn't do anything wrong. I don't think. You know, forgive us. You know. So, with that being said, though, Double A, and no other news I think to discuss at this moment, right? Guys, if you have something you think of though and you want to talk about it, by all means, drop it in the comments. Let's get into our topic of the night, guys. So, George A. Romero, master of horror. Stephen King, master of horror. It's October, guys. It's in the midst of spooky season. We got Halloween next week, Double A?
No.
Okay, 2 weeks.
We still got a whole week.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's coming up. I don't know what day it is. I've had
Tuesday.
I've had a crazy few weeks, but it's gonna be on a Tuesday. But guys, this is one. Again, these are 2 of our favorite movies. I'm wearing one of my and part 2 is one of my favorite movies all time. It's like Beetlejuice. It's like if I had a top 20, I watch these movies like a lot. You know what I mean? So it's like I do not ever not enjoy watching CREEPSHOW 2. But guys, again, like we said, you know, from 2 masters of horror, Romero, Stephen King, they get together. They want to do this anthology type story. 1982, we get the first one, you know, CREEPSHOW. You know what I mean? Just like this. I mean, like basically a comic book off the rack, right? Double A.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they definitely borrow heavily from the old EC comics.
Yeah, so I was reading this. It was their homage to the EC horror comics of the 50s, such as Tales from the Crypt, The Vault of Horror, and The Haunt of Fear. So this is their kind of love letter to it. And they hired Tom Savini to replicate the comic-like effects, it says.
And boy, does some of this shit look fantastic. Am I right, though?
Yes.
Like, this is, like, I would say prime Savini. I don't know. Maybe someone else will tell me otherwise. But, I mean, the father and Father's Day.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think Savini comes back for part 2.
Yes. He did a lot of Romero movies.
Yeah, the old Chief Woodenhead, I mean, to this day, I'm like, how the fuck did they do that? Like,
That's
it looks
badass.
fucking insane.
Yeah.
It looks so fucking good. You know what I mean? And check this out. I don't know if you see this here, but Dawn of the
there you
Dead,
go.
The Shining,
Carrie.
Carrie, the posters on the back of Billy's wall right there.
Little Billy.
Yeah, little Billy. And then, you know, of course, I love the Creep. You know what I mean? But I always love him from part 2 because he talks. And the Creep doesn't talk in part 1. And then in the new CREEPSHOW show, he doesn't talk also. So I really missed a little bit of lightness that he brings, kind of like how the Crypt Keeper did, where he would talk. And maybe that's why they didn't make the Creep talk, because they were like, you know, the Crypt Keeper was talking, but, you know, and kind of adding levity and humor. So in '87, when we get Creepshow 2, you know, the Creep talks, and it's played by Tom Savini. You know, so duh. I'm talking about. Did he come back? Yeah, he comes back because he's obviously
Bernie Wrightson. Shit.
Who? Oh yeah, who also did what? What's Bernie Wrightson famous for?
Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing. That's right. Yeah. And it's directed by Romero. So it's Romero directed. It's screenplay by Stephen King. So Stephen King, you know, wrote the damn thing, and then he's in it. You know, he's in the tragic tale of Jordy Verrill. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
I mean, that's all outlined in there.
Oh yeah, it's right here.
And this guy, you can pick it up on Amazon for
The Lonesome Death of Jordy.
the Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. You can pick this up on Amazon for like $20, and it's so cool because it's pretty much the movie like scene by scene. So if you haven't checked it out, I mean, by all means,
Gallery
check it out.
13 Comics.
Yeah. You know, what's your history AA with? Let's start with Creepshow 1. We'll go through it and tell me that, and then we'll get to Creepshow 2, and then I'll ask you about.
I mean, if you're a Bernie Wrightson fan, I mean, it's worth it just for his art alone.
It's great, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're looking at
I
it.
didn't even know
like,
this was Bernie Wrightson. Like, golly, it's so great.
Do you think he did the art for like the movie, like as well? Like, remember, there's a
You
lot
know,
of like
I
comic
don't
book
know.
art.
I
And
don't know if
That's
he
one of the
would've.
things I really love about these movies too. Is that it's a little bit they have a little bit of hokiness to them, right?
Of course,
you know what I mean?
because that's what it was. You know what I mean? Even the Tales from the Crypt episodes, they have that.
Which I gotta tell you, when I saw the Ang Lee Hulk, that nightmare. When it gets to the end, towards the end, when it starts moving into the comic panels, I immediately thought of Creepshow, and I was like, "What the fuck are y'all doing? Like, you're making this like shit like super hammy or whatever, like, you know what I mean?" And I never really liked. If there was one aspect I didn't really enjoy about like the original Superman, it was like kind of how they started with that. I mean, like obviously we know it came from there, but it didn't really need that type of opening. It works better there, but in this it works perfect. You know what I mean? It's like there's the kid with his dad. The dad's pissed off because he's reading shitty, comic books or whatever, right? And there's like, you're reading that horror crap, you know what I mean? And that dad's a perfect asshole,
Yeah,
right?
he
Though, like, and he fucking smacks him or whatever, you know what I mean? And they throws the comic book out, right? You know what I mean? And then it's like from there, it turns animated and the pages flip and then we go into the panels, which is so much fun. But when did you first see the first Creepshow AA? I feel like this one was more, it's hard to say. I feel like it was more, your brothers enjoyed this part 1 more than part 2. Or you feel like they were equal?
I want to say they were equal.
Okay.
It really depended on the stories. Like they're the ones who got me into it again. And like Will, he loves the Father's Day one.
Oh yeah.
Loves that one.
It's Father's Day. By
brother,
far the greatest Father's Day story, that in film that I can think of.
My other older brother loved the Tide one, the one with Ted Danson and Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
Loved that one. I always liked the Stephen King one. I've always really thought that was just. I was like, man, it scared me. It scared the shit out of me. I was like,
yeah,
don't touch anything that you're not supposed to.
Exactly.
You can turn into this grass creature.
That's like a COVID before COVID.
Yeah, I mean, so they just really enjoyed this. It was very light, so even like someone like me who was a kid could watch this and not be terribly scared though.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, like the effects were. It was probably on purpose too. Like it was like. Hokey, but
sure.
Probably done, in a good way though. You know what I mean? Like it's a homage.
Yes.
Again, to the old horror. And I have some of the stories there, and yeah, I mean they're funny,
Oh yeah.
The writers mixed in the humor with the horror, you know what I mean? So they did a really good job. I mean, I kind of enjoyed these more than the Tales from the Crypt episodes,
Okay.
because I feel like they got it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So. Which I'm not saying Tales from the Crypt is terrible. I love those episodes,
Absolutely.
but I don't know. Just Creepshow felt like it came from the '50s horror.
No,
I mean?
totally,
Yeah.
totally. There, and again, shame on me for not owning a copy. I don't think I run across the first one very often. And I have 2 copies of part 2, but it's just like they are worth owning and they're highly rewatchable. Like, I mean, when I rewatched part 1 yesterday, I was just like. I find myself smiling. I couldn't imagine what it would be like though, like, to go see these in theater, like,
oh man,
and
that
like
been so cool.
I would have like been not necessarily scared, maybe, or maybe at the time I would have been, but I would have still probably come out smiling. Like I would have been just like Michael Jackson in the Thriller video when he's eating the popcorn, watching that teen wolf horror movie. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, dude, I'm like enjoying the being scared. You know what I mean? Like. you know, it's almost like when me and my sister will stay up late, like around Halloween time, and like rewatch the original It. Like we're fucking scared. Like we're like,
Yeah.
fuck, like we don't want to watch it. We're like, let's watch it and get really scared. And then we're like, oh fuck, I'm fucking super scared now. You know what I mean? So, it's that kind of like where you come out grinning because like the fear was so good. And again, not that they're terribly scary, they're not, but they're just like really great stories where you're like, oh, and again, what sometimes comic books do where they feel cinematic when you're reading them, this does really well of being a cinematic comic book where it's like, oh, I totally feel like I'm reading a comic book, but I'm seeing it, you know what I mean, with my eyes. So it's really perfect in that way. Real quick. Go ahead.
Real quick, I was gonna say that I guess Stephen King liked Bernie Wrightson's art so much that he did illustration for Cycle of the Werewolf. He did he did art for the new addition to The Stand and The Wolves of the Kala, the 5th installment of The Dark Tower.
Yeah.
And then he did some covers for TV Guide, if you guys remember those, illustrating the TV miniseries of Stephen King's The Shining.
No shit.
Yeah, it looked like they had a long partnership going.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is he passed now?
Yeah, he passed. He passed back in 2017.
No kidding.
Yeah, just what I mean. That's one guy I always, wish you could meet. You know. What
Yeah, I know our good friend Mario Delgado from Authority Comics would always talk about Bernie Wrightson. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I didn't know he had a long relationship with Stephen King. So that's pretty damn cool.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
And your brother will own this book for a long time, I think.
Oh, okay,
He had a
that's the
copy
one.
of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
He had a copy of that as well, which
Okay.
made me want to buy one, which I was so
Mhm.
surprised to find it for like 20 on Amazon. Real quick, Lane says, I forgot Old Chief Woodenhead with George Kennedy. Absolutely, that's my favorite. Lane got him right here on my shirt. And on the bottom, you can't see it right here, but if I stand up, you can probably see
And
it.
his
It
war
says,
cry.
he wants revenge, which I love that. Yeah.
Man, I was like, shit.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, that is my favorite tale of all these 8 tales we're going to talk about. I love it so much. Lane says, only thing I felt bad for in the anthology was one punk's poor car. Man, just got picked on by the chief. Oh yeah, he fucked up that Firebird.
Fuck rich
Yeah,
kid.
fuck Rich Boy.
Rich boy.
Yeah, Rich Boy. Kavanaugh. Yeah, Rich.
Come on, rich boy.
I always told John, I was like, yeah, that's you, John. You're our good friend,
Sorry.
Old T Bear. I was like,
Yeah.
you're Rich Boy. Because his mom had a Camaro when we were kids in
Yeah.
school. And I was like, when he'd drive the Camaro, I was
Yeah.
like, man, my friend Richard, and then the fat stuff, I can't go anywhere without my slave.
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, I love the first one, the comic style coloring and such in the first one. Absolutely, Lane. But let's get into the tales,
Yes,
Double A. So
yes.
the very first tale in Creepshow Part 1 is, as we said, Father's Day, right? Pretty much the story of this family, and the rich dad that was a real prick gets killed by the daughter, I believe one of the daughters. And then every year they get together on Father's Day, I guess, to like remember or whatever the fact that she murdered him. This one famously stars Ed Harris.
Ed Harris, yes.
Very, very young Ed
Uh-huh.
Harris. Again, Creepshow Part 1 is 1982. And also features some very famous Ed Harris dancing. You know what I mean? With the hand up and the,
Yeah, my brother will love that.
yeah. And this one has some great scenes too with like the lights behind like the drawn animation, like the screams like ah! So basically, the father comes back from the grave and stalks the people there in the house to get his cake. He wants his cake, his Father's Day cake that he didn't get because he got his fucking head bashed in.
Yeah, and apparently, he had got the family fortune through bootlegging, fraud, extortion, and murder for hire. So not exactly a great guy.
No, not a great guy. And he keeps calling his daughter a bitch. Am I right? He's like, "Where's my cake, you bitch?" I'm like, "Fuck, man." I'm watching yesterday with my sister, right? And she's like, damn, is he calling her a bitch? And I was like, yeah, he has no. And you know what? There's a great episode, Double A, of Twilight Zone. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh,
one.
with the robot? Where the
Yes,
grandpa goes into
yes.
a robot and he's still fucking pestering him?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want my hot cocoa in
Yeah.
the white cup,
Yeah.
extra hot.
Yeah.
The
I was
white
like,
bone cup.
man.
I love that episode so much. I went to
Fucking
IKEA
asshole.
and bought me a little cup like his.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I want my cocoa in the
No.
hot cup. This Father's Day story reminds me of that. I would not.
No kidding.
Yeah, I would not doubt if
There's so much stuff that I think people got from Twilight Zone that they don't get credit for.
Absolutely.
Honestly.
And I'm sure that if I ever got a chance to speak to King and I'd be like, hey, man, I know you probably don't get asked about Creepshow a lot, but did you buy any? He'd probably be like, oh, yeah, I definitely based that on like, which is fucking great. So, and he comes back from the grave and he's like full of like, what? Like worms and maggots
Yeah,
and shit.
like all the worst imaginable things that you can think of if you woke up from a grave.
Yeah. And he's like dirt, you know what I mean? And like, it looks fucking
It looks cool.
man.
It looks
His
really cool.
mouth
Tom
is
Savini,
opening
yeah.
and shit's falling off of him, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you're like, how can they make that? Because they don't make shit like that no more. Like, the CGI shit does not compare to this in my opinion. Some people might see it and be like, looks hokey or whatever, but I disagree. I'm like, no, if you fucking saw that walking around, you fucking freak out. What are your feelings, Double, on the Father's Day story? Do you love this one, hate this one? Where does
It's fine. It's not one of my favorite. I know,
Okay.
like I said, it's my brother Will's like one of his favorites. And,
Yeah.
you know, every time it's Father's Day, he always puts that
That
gift.
gift, yeah. Oh, and I wanted to show it to you because I got this great. These are like you'd hang them up for Halloween. I got this from our friends of the podcast, the Friday Nighters, Foxy Roxy and Whole T Bear,
Oh,
and
shit.
it's got one little thing from each movie. So I wanted to show those, but it's like these right here. So check it out. Look at that. So it comes in a little
Damn.
package like this, and it's little like you'd hang them up like for. Like, you remember how you used to hang up the old Halloween deco Double A that was like the black cat
Yes,
and
of
the
course.
classic
Yeah.
pumpkin, the classic goat.
Yeah.
Well, I actually have High Evolutionary's thing in here.
Oh, hey, all right.
Hey, he's here.
Yeah,
there you
the
go.
evolutionary.
I'll show you guys that. Real
Yeah,
quick.
badass.
It came in the figure.
Yeah.
But we'll start with that one. Man, it's right here for Father's Day.
There you go.
It's Father's Day. See, and we were watching it on Halloween, but we should be watching it on Father's Day, right? See? And he gets his cake. This is the girl, the other daughter. Was she, I
Yeah,
think?
she has the
And
poor
like
daughter.
puts her head in the cake there, and he gets his cake. I got my cake. I was like, this motherfucker. So that's a super fun one. If you guys on Father's Day need something to watch, go watch the first story of Creepshow Part 1. Anything else, Double A, you want to talk to about with that on in regard
Yeah,
to?
it just really sets the tone very nicely for the rest of them. You kind
You're
of
like,
get a
oh,
feel.
okay, I know where we're at now
yes,
too. Yeah.
Yes. It's not going to be overly gory. It's not going to be, you know, because by this time, Friday the 13th had came out, Halloween had came out,
Mhm.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre had came out. So it's kind of like, you know, the different horrors coming already. And so this kind of like still kind of draws it back where you're okay. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, they're not going to go too far.
Right.
Even though it's Romero and Stephen King.
Yes.
And by this point, Stephen King was already well known by this point for Carrie, The Shining.
Mhm.
I want to say maybe that was that it?
Cujo probably
No,
too.
this is 82. Cujo
Okay.
came out later.
Later. The books.
No, I'm talking about the movies.
Oh, I was like, he's known for the books though already. By
Yeah,
that
yeah,
time, I think he'd
yeah.
already like he's like been established as like the
Yeah.
master of modern horror.
But I
at
guess
that
if you're
point.
watching like maybe the movies, you're like,
Right, his
okay,
movies.
you know,
Right.
so,
Yeah. Firestarter. Maybe by then.
I think E.T.'s her first work, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
E.T.'s in
before.
82.
Okay, so
So.
no. Excuse me. And Lane, I'm gonna save your comment, Lane, for when we get to that story, which I think is our next story, right? Or
No,
is it
the next one is The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill.
Jordy Verrill, and it stars Mr. Stephen King himself. So it's like if you ever want to see Stephen King like act like real chops, like
Yeah, there you go.
You know, he
Yeah,
acts.
there you
Which
go.
also, my sister sent me a really cool clip that he came on in Sons of Anarchy. I think we talked about this.
Really? No,
Yeah.
I don't.
He comes in and he's like, there's a dead body, and he's there to help like get rid of the dead body or whatever. But he's like, in the fucking clip, the body's there dead, which I'm sure the actors did. But he's like, he like feels the tits and everything, whatever. And I'm like, classic King. look at Stephen King. Tell me your thoughts. I mean, like you said earlier, Double A. This is
Yeah,
like
so
the one
like
you
he's
were
like a
scared of.
farmer, and it says right here, you know, he's dim-witted, backwoods yokel. That's what
Mhm.
they describe him.
Mhm.
And a meteorite crashes, and you know he's already thinking, oh man, you know it's glowing, you know, right? It's glowing. It
Yeah.
looks cool. He's like, man, you know, I'm gonna take this to the university and get like a shitload of money. You know,
Yes.
like damn, because he needs it for back pay.
Yeah.
You know, and you know he has all these thoughts and it's like dreams that he keeps having.
He shows up, and then of course, how much does he want? Double A? 200 bucks.
200. I was like, oh my
But
goodness.
in his little fantasy, he's real slick. He goes in with his hat and his, you know, I guess his best suit, which looks shitty. But he's there, and he's like, the guy's like, $50, and he's like, nothing less
Yeah.
than 200. Like he's real hard bargaining with him. You know what I mean? So he's for the road. And I gotta say, Double A, King does like this kind of cross-eyed thing, and he's got the classic like King unibrow going, and he does a really great job being backwoods. You know what I mean? So
I mean, the guy who's wrote, multi-million selling books.
absolutely right from Maine. You know what I mean? Like I always think of Maine as like sophisticated and like the East Coast and stuff
Compared
like that.
to the South.
You know what I mean? Yeah, compared to the South, which I don't know where Jordy's supposed to be at, but it could he's in overalls. You know what I mean? And it could very easily be someone in the South.
They don't save. Yeah.
But so he's like, okay, well, he touches the meteor, right? First thing, and he burns his fingers, and he immediately puts them in his mouth. Oh, damn, I burned myself, right? You know what I mean? So, I don't do that when I burn myself. Don't I do that?
No, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, I'm like, fucking, give me a cold beer to put on it. You know what I mean? So, also too, now post COVID, I'm just like, don't put your fucking hands near your face or your mouth. You know what I mean? Like, you do your best not to. I won't even like lick my fingers after wings anymore. I'm like, maybe not. I'm like, what the fuck did I touch? So I'm like, I mean, I already ate the wings. I guess it doesn't matter. But it's just a weird thing now. Like, they got us, like, they trained us real quick with that shit. So he says, I got to cool it down, right?
Yeah, he gets a bucket of water. He douses the meteor, right? And it cracks open. And it's like, oh shit, he's like, oh no, like it's broke, and so he starts imagining it again, going back to the university, and they're like, they're not gonna buy this from you, it's broken. And his stupid ass head.
I love the guy like slams the little like money, but he's got like the money box, like some professor has a money box in his fucking drawer, and he's like, I wouldn't give you a nickel for that or whatever. Like, and you know what's funny? I didn't get a little it only has like 4 pieces. I didn't get Jordy, but I do got the creep here.
Maybe they couldn't get Stephen King's approval.
Maybe. But the creep looks pretty cool, right?
That is cool. I like those, man. That's awesome.
They're cool, right? They got a little hole so you can like hang them.
Yeah,
but they're only one-sided, so that's kind of like you gotta like hang them like flat against the wall. So yeah, maybe I'll put these up this Halloween. But I wanted to bring them to show on the show here.
He tries to glue it and he empties out the substance onto his farm, and he gets them on his hands, and little by little his farm starts growing.
Yeah.
Like green, and then his fingers start growing like grass. And you're like, what the fuck's going on?
And I think he kind of gets it pretty quickly. He's like, oh, fuck. Well, I like it first. He sits down to watch what? He's watching wrestling.
Yeah, that's right, wrestling.
And McMahon's doing the commentary, it sounds like.
Yes.
So I wonder what the relationship with WWE was like.
I don't know, because doesn't Fat Stuff even watch wrestling? No, he's not watching
he's
wrestling.
Watching,
I'm thinking of Silver Bullet.
That's
when that fucking dad is watching NWA wrestling.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. What is
Stephen King like wrestling? Shit.
What is McLeod watching?
Look, he's watching AWA.
AWA. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I forgot who Jordy's watching wrestle, but it's definitely Vince's voice. So I'm like, they had to I mean, obviously they had to talk to WWE. So I'm sure if you saw it,
82 is kind of like that's still territory.
Yeah.
WWF.
That's crazy, right? And again, classically, I mean, I hate to say it, right, double A, but like people that watch wrestling get associated with like dumber people and all that. We love wrestling. Wrestling is super smart. If you don't,
I mean, it's lasted since like the 1800s, so I mean, it can't be that bad for everybody.
I find it to be especially clever, but whatever. But yeah, again, they're trying to play into that he's this backwoods character.
So he watches wrestling,
and he's drinking a fucking Ripple wine. Like I'm like, he's drinking it out the bottle. I'm like, ooh. Jordy's gonna have him a rowdy shit hangover. I don't think you can get Ripple wine no more, guys. If you know,
Sanford and Son.
That's like some old school drink, like old school drink right there.
Yeah.
You're drinking on that Ripple wine. You're like, I'm trying to get fucked up tonight. So Jordy's just drinking, and then
because he's getting nervous because he's like, man, what the hell's going on? Like I'm having, some shit on my hands, and he's thinking. If he goes to a hospital, they're going to cut him off. And
yes, that's his first thought,
like,
right?
Everything's just starting, shit's starting to happen to him. And he's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah,
it's kind of scary. You're transforming into something that you don't know about.
Absolutely. I can see how you were, scared by
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck?
Because how often do you touch something accidentally and you're like, oh shit, like, what the fuck did I just put my hand in or whatever, you know what I mean? So then he realizes that he put his fingers in his mouth. He looks at his own tongue and he sees, and he's like, "Oh man!" And he's like, "Oh, Jordy, you done gone and done it now." He's beating himself up. You know what I mean? But he's like, "What the fuck are you gonna do?" I like when he starts to freak out, and then he's like, he's out of the Ripple wine, so he goes to the fucking cabinet, finds some vodka.
My brother loved that part.
Yeah, he fucking dumps the vodka into like whatever juice he has left. He just
It's
starts
like
mixing
orange
it with the
juice,
bottle.
and he
Like,
does it, yeah.
fuck, like makes him a quick, cheap, easy screwdriver and
Yes.
starts fucking drinking it. Like, and he's like, oh, like
He's scared. Again, he's scared. He's like,
Yeah.
you know, what the fuck? You know?
it leveled his nerves real quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very, you know, you feel for him, you know what I mean? Because he's a very homely
Yeah, he's not
character, and
bothering
you feel
anyone,
sad.
you know?
Real quick, Badfish in the house. Badfish says, "Hey, what's up, guys? Badfish, what is up? Cheers, my brother. Thanks for being here, Badfish. Badfish, have you ever seen Creepshow or Creepshow 2? If you haven't, excellent watches, my friend, especially during a spooky season Halloween time. They are a fun ride for any comic book fan. I would highly suggest them both. If you have, tell us your thoughts, and if you haven't, tell us what you think about the stories we're telling you regarding those tales within. They're anthology movies, so comprised the first one of 5 tales, the second one of 3 tales. But so carry us through a little bit more.
Yeah, so he falls asleep, he wakes up, it's more. There's even more. And
Oh, yeah, he's
now
got like a
it's
moss beard, and
now
you
it's
know,
like water. He's starting to feel like the water calling him.
Yeah.
So he draws a bath and he sees like what, a ghost of his dad
yeah, it goes to
right?
his dad.
or
Yeah.
something, whatever he's seeing. And you know, he's like, don't go in there, you know, it's gonna
Yeah,
really
he's
mess
like,
you
what do you
up.
think the water's gonna do to you? Like with
Yeah.
this like grass pretty much growing on you, whatever. And
Yeah.
he's like, well, like he wants it so bad or
Yeah,
whatever,
it's like it's almost calling him. Like I said, it's like they keep showing the tub where it's kind of like
glistening and stuff
yeah.
like that, right? You're like, oh man, even I want to take a bath right now. You know?
yeah, exactly. You know, and you know, he gives in and he jumps in. You know, he's like, oh,
I like how he
Everything's
just
so
falls.
itchy.
He just falls forward like, oh, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh fuck, and like you know it's it for him too, because you're like, oh, you just
yeah,
fucking you just water to yourself.
yeah.
You know what I
Remember,
mean?
this
You're
is like
grass.
this is like alien shit. So
Yeah.
you know, hours, however it goes by, he's fully
Oh
engulfed.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
he's like this grass creature.
Yeah.
Now, you know,
like
like, just think of it. Just you're covered in grass, like all of it.
Yeah, imagine like Moss Man from He-Man, but like to the degree, like Moss Man from He-Man meets Swamp Thing meets Man Thing meets all those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at that point we go straight to the scene, right? Don't let
Yeah, and this was brutal too. This always kind of stayed with me too.
me
so,
too.
Like his voice has changed too, and he grabs his shotgun, and you know he's praying to God. He's like, you know, please forgive me for what I'm gonna do, and he blows his head off. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, and he's also saying like I think he says his voice kind of sounds like when you're talking to
Yeah.
the fan, right? And he's like, "Please God, just this once."
Yeah.
Like he's like, "Let something go good for me one
Yeah.
time," which is fucking sad. And then you know, of course, it doesn't show his brains because he's a grass man now, whatever. And like you fucking like it's like a, and then like you see like the top,
A bunch of
it just like slumps over, and you're like, "Fuck!" It's like it's kind of dark in that last moment, right? You're like,
That's what
"Ugh."
I'm saying. Like this one had like this one fucked me up. You know, like
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
You know, he transformed into something, and you know, his last resort was blowing his head off. I was like, "Holy shit!" You
Right.
know, like,
Right.
yeah.
And again, it was
Yeah.
clearly a guy that like had a run of bad luck, and then he just like continued to the bad
And I
luck.
was like, wow. And I was like, you know, he was like a good dude. Like that's why it kept going through my head. I was a kid. I was like, he didn't do anything bad. It wasn't like that first story. You know, I was like, man, he
Yeah.
was just a good dude. And,
Right.
You know, I was like,
yeah,
shit,
just
he
a
had,
simple guy.
he had to commit suicide. I was like, holy shit.
And then it makes you think, right? You're like, well, maybe it's kind of showing us that in these stories, like it could happen to anybody. You don't have to be a bad person. It fucking can happen. And you know what? I'm wrong, Ghoully. Like maybe we're meant to think it's in the South because I'm wrong about that because it shows the sign Castle Rock, and it's just so he is. Maybe it's just like the country
Shit.
of Maine or
Okay,
whatever.
okay.
Remember, there's a lot of fields up in Buxton.
Yeah,
we
yes,
learned
there
that. We
is.
learned
Yeah,
that
yeah,
from,
yeah.
from Red and Andy. Another Stephen King story. Damn, see that? Look at Stephen King has given us the whole layout of
And then there was a TV report saying that heavy rains are coming. So it's kind of like, oh
Right.
shit.
So you're almost like, damn, this could be like a world-ending scenario
Ooh,
where
yeah, you're like,
the
oh
grass
shit.
just spreads. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So very interesting. I think Cody here giving Badfish some love. Them two having an exchange there in the comments if you check that out. But let's go to our next story, Double A, which it's called is it The Crate?
No, it's something to tide you over.
Something to tide
This
you
one was
over.
brutal. This one was
Very
like, whoa.
brutal.
So I had never seen Leslie Nielsen other than like Naked Gun, Repossessed,
Mhm.
you know,
Dracula Dead loving it.
Dracula Dead and Loving It, you know, like the spoof movies at this
Yeah,
point. you know?
Airplane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Airplane, you know. So I was like, oh wow, he's like, you know, shit, he's serious. Like, there's no joking
No.
with him in this segment whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this is different. Like, he's kind of scary. Like, you know,
He is
like,
kind of
you know,
scary.
again,
Yeah.
watching this as a kid, you're like, fuck, like, and the way, you know, he goes about his revenge, I'm like, oh, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Like, man, that's really brutal. I was like, I remember asking my brothers, can you really not move if you're
Right.
married like that? Like,
Right.
can you not like,
yeah,
you know, it's just sad, you know. It's
like shimmy
can't you
yourself
just-
out,
yeah,
right?
can-
Yeah,
I was like, oh shit, that's kind of scary. I was like, man,
very
and then where
scary.
and then where he puts him in, I was like, dang, that's ugly. That's like one of those real bad tortures, you know.
Absolutely.
But yeah, he's like super scary. And Ted Danson, young Ted Danson, comes in.
Pre Cheers?
Has to be.
Pre
I think
Cheers.
so.
It's 82, right?
Oh, let me
Or
check that
during
out.
Cheers.
Let me check.
Yeah, guys. So this story pretty much starts out with Leslie Nielsen. Again, and even then, we probably didn't know this. That's how we had not seen him in anything.
Same year.
Same year.
Same year.
We hadn't seen him in anything but those movies, but we probably heard him because I think for a long time Leslie Nielsen was the voice of the National Geographic.
Was he?
Yeah, he's
Oh, shit.
the voice you hear that's talking about the animals, whatever. And I never noticed it till I went back and heard some of those, and I was like, holy shit! I was like, all the time we watched those in school, it was like that was him. You know what I mean? But I also only knew Leslie Nielsen from like Airplane and fucking the Naked Gun movies. I don't think I even seen the ones that Double A was talking about, the Dracula Dead Loving and all that. Of course, those would be later.
No, but they're still spoofs. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
they're still.
You know?
Yeah, he's I knew him as a comedy actor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in this, it's like
With his deadpan humor, you know.
yeah, he's the straight man in this one for sure. And basically, I guess the wife is cheating, right? With Ted Danson.
Yes, yeah,
Are they
yeah.
in TV or something like that? They're reporters or something like that. They're something.
So Leslie Nielsen is, you know, obviously he's a millionaire.
Because he owns a
let me
beach,
see.
we find out later. And the wife's been cheating with Ted Danson, and he finds out.
Yeah,
before
because
they can
Leslie
tell.
Nielsen pretty much says that they're together, but you know they're not anything. They're not what your definition of husband and wife should be.
Right.
But that's still his wife.
And he doesn't lose anything he owns.
Yeah,
He
it's like,
says.
no, whoa. It doesn't matter if I don't love her. It doesn't mean that you can just, you know, slip her right in and get
Yeah.
to her, you know?
So he's here to tell Ted Danson, like, you're coming with me so that you can see her, something like that. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes. So he already has her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's already fucked by this point.
So he drives him out to this beach, and there's a hole in the ground, and he's like, "Okay, get in the hole and like cover yourself with sand." And Ted Danson's like, "No, I'm not gonna do it." And he also too, Ted Danson earlier when he's trying to get into the house, Leslie Nielsen, he puts his foot in the door. Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson says, "Hey, move that foot or you'll lose it because I can bench 300 pounds." So I was like,
all right, Ted Danson.
But Leslie Nielsen
Yeah.
is, letting him know, like, "Hey, I got your chick, your love, or whatever, and my wife." You know what I mean? So, okay, so at first you're kind of like on Leslie Nielsen's side, right? You're like,
Well, I mean, you can see his point of view. I don't know. I don't know if you go this far. I mean, it was like,
right?
you know, I mean, if your wife was cheating on you, bitch, you know, like, you know,
Yeah,
fuck
vengeful
you, you know,
husband, no doubt.
I'm gonna
right?
divorce you. I don't think I'm gonna take you to the isolated beach house and bury you up to your neck. You know?
Yeah. Which is what happened. So he does, tell Ted Danson he has a gun. So he tells Ted Danson, "Bury
Yeah,
yourself."
he's like, and like Sam said, he's like, no, like anybody, right?
Yeah,
Like,
he
well,
even
I'm
says
not gonna-
he's like, "Just shoot me then, because I'm not gonna
yeah,
do
I'm
that."
not gonna do it.
And then
Yeah.
he's like, "If you don't, then you'll never see her again. You'll never find her, and I promise you that you'll see her if you do that." So Ted Danson reluctantly buries himself. He's up to his neck. He's buried all the way, so you can't.
Yeah.
The sand is like, and he tells him. I think he tells him, he's like, wet sand is like cement. You know what I mean? Like you're
Which
not.
I was
gonna
like,
get-
that scared me too. I was like, wow, is that real? Like
Yeah.
for real? You know, I was like, holy shit. Like,
if you're ever on the beach and they're
because
like,
I'm like,
"I'm
well, why do
burying
you ever want to be buried in sand then? You know, because you're thinking of cartoons and you're thinking of movies. I'm like, well, why do you want to be buried in sand then? If
Yeah.
this is, this happens.
And me and my nephew have done this at the beach. We've buried ourselves, like our legs or our arms, whatever, but we never like submerged.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm
not
saying. Like,
standing up.
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I've always been afraid of that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whoa, you're not putting sand on me.
And just when we've done that ourselves, like it is heavy. Like you're like, oh, it's fucking heavy. I gotta like use my muscles to get my leg out or my arm out. You know what I mean? So which is kind of part of the fun of it. But you're not, he's standing up in like a deep hole for whatever.
Like
that
again,
man's
I'm
height
watching
is.
this movie as a kid, so
Yeah.
it's like traumatizing me more so than
Absolutely.
yeah. So like I'm
And
scared.
you're not totally a beach guy to begin with, right?
Yeah,
Double A?
and now I'm like, I'm not gonna let sand even come close to
Get
being
away from me.
poured over me. You know, it's like no way.
Yeah. So then Leslie Nielsen, like, again, he's, Ted Danson starts to scream for help, and he's like, well, "This is a
Yes.
private beach. I own it."
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. He owns it. You're like, oh.
He
fuck.
starts doing the classic, like, "Oh, like no
yeah,
one's gonna hear
like
you."
Legend Hills. Yeah, he starts screaming too.
And so he's like, "Okay, well, you want to see her? I promise you, I would." So he has a
He has
Jeep,
a sweet system, right?
yeah, with like these long ass cable, like spools of cable.
yeah.
So he rolls it out. He brings a TV out, and he shows she is also buried in sand. He goes, I was gonna put y'all by each other, but I got her earlier, and I wanted this to work, so she's down the beach from you. He's like, but do you notice the tide's coming in or whatever, and she's getting hit with waves already, right? So that's fucking scary.
Yeah.
You're like, oh fuck, you know what I mean? Like, what do you do? Like, tide will eventually come in all the way, and like, I forget what movie it is. It's a movie where he's like, either that or it's a movie or a book. I can't remember.
What's that?
But they're like, he's like, get out of there before the tide comes in, because once the tide comes in, you'll be able to get out of the water. You know what I mean? Like, so he's telling him, he's like, you can walk through this, like, it's like a pretty much like a barren beach. But he's like, once you get past, you have to get past her before this time, because then the tide will come in and you'll be stuck in the fucking water or whatever. So
okay, I was gonna say, are you thinking of Ode? Because I know in Ode they do that.
maybe it is.
M. Night Shyamalan, where they're like, shit, you got to get past that current,
right,
and then swim through those rocks too.
I don't know if it's that movie.
No, probably not. Probably not. But I remember that's like another thing they talk about.
It's neat because there's a scene though where they're walking and you see it from above and you see the two people walking, and something happens where they have to stop, and they're like, oh shit, the time, they forgot about the tide, so the water starts to come in and they're like, fuck, they're like rushing across this like barren desert or whatever, and you're like, oh fuck, that again, that's scary too.
Yeah.
So basically, they're both buried. Leslie Nielsen is like, "I'll leave the TV for you, whatever." So you could,
And then he says, if you hold your breath long enough, for the sand to loosen, once the seawater covers them, they can get out. But it's like, come on now,
yeah, exactly. What did Jerry comment earlier? If you can hold your breath,
can hold your breath.
Hold your breath, yeah. So,
so you both, after eventually, he goes back to his home, start drinking, and they're dead. They both drown.
Yeah, and we see like Ted Danson, you know what I mean, and he's like covered with water.
Yeah.
Well, before that, he looks up and I guess he knows that because he got cameras on there. He goes, oh, I'm gonna record this because I want this to be part of my video library. So he's like a fucking major asshole, and he's like, okay, so he looks at the camera to Danson and he tells him,
that's right.
He's like, I'm gonna fucking get you. Like, I will get you. You know what I mean? And then later on, you get the scene where he's covered by water, and it looked kind of animated, right?
Yes.
And he's like,
yes.
you know what I mean? Which it's really clever the way that these movies do stuff like that, because they don't have to waste money on effects. They cut away and make it like animated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
which again was like kind of scary. I was kind of like, shit, man. They died ugly. Like,
oh yeah,
they're buried.
Slow drowning by the
slow
waves.
drowning, and then you can't move. So it's kind of like shit. That's ugly, and the water just like stays there like long enough that you can't hold your breath.
Exactly.
Kind of like shit.
Exactly. You'll just run out of air.
So I was like, damn, that was brutal. Like I was like, man, this is fucking brutal. Like
absolutely.
I was like, I thought the last one with Stephen King, committing suicide was bad. Now I'm like, I'm seeing this dude, commit 2 murders in horrible ways.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
So the ante's kind of upping a little bit, right?
Yeah. I was like, fuck,
where's the creep is giving us some things to think about. Man,
yeah.
The creep. So then what happens next, Double A? I think he gets a knock at his door, right? Leslie Nielsen.
Like he's enjoying. He's he's already taken a shower and everything.
Yeah, he's having a good time.
He's all cool. And...
He's happy with his murders, that cocksucker.
And let me see if I can. I'm trying. Oh, here it is.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Right there. That's a scene that CM was talking about. You see right here.
Oh yeah. Where he's screaming,
yeah.
And he's over here enjoying it, drinking and shit. You know what
and again, I mean, this is worth it just for the Bernie Wrightson art.
It's amazing. I haven't looked through it in a while, so seeing it again,
seeing the details and everything.
Really sharp.
I mean, it looks really cool. And yeah, he's showering, and then you see him where it's coming. Is they came back somehow. They came back as like these kind of like what monsters? Almost?
Yeah, look at them here. Here they are. Look at them. Here they. Damn. The lovers, and you're like, what the fuck? Like they fucking look gross. They're all waterlogged, right? They're like all
he shoots them, and that was like the other kind of crazy part I always remember too. It's like every time he shot him, it was like water.
Yes,
poured
like
out.
Black water.
Like,
again, guys, the effects look fucking cool. I when I watched this the other day, I thought the same thing. I was like, ooh, neat that it's not blood, that it's like this like blackish water, and they look so like swollen and shit. Right?
And then the way their sounds too, it's almost like it
gurgling.
Water,
yeah. It's like very clever, man. I mean, if all that's Tom Savini, I mean, like kudos.
Yeah.
I mean, because you might know him as Sex Machine from Dusk Till Dawn, but the man is incredibly talented.
His name is in the special effects department.
Oh yeah,
for a lot of shit. they get him and they bury him the same way,
Exactly.
you know, that he did them. And,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Classic.
you know, it's like almost like he went mad, right? He's like he starts just laughing uncontrollably.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, I can hold my breath for a very long time, and
But
it's just
no,
like, you know, it's like,
no.
whoa.
You're gonna get that grisly, ugly ass death too, you bastard that you put on them. You know, which I mean, again, I don't know that these stories have morals. I mean, I guess I don't really think they do. I think it's more just like, hey, like it's like a fucking creepy story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were just like really cool.
yeah,
you
like
know.
hey, you take your revenge on your, you know, you're a jilted lover. You take your revenge, but hey, that can come back on you too. You know, so very interesting. That's the third story, and then we go to the fourth story, right? Double A, which is a lot of fun. I like
The
this
Crate.
one. The Crate. Pretty
And
much.
this one had really big. It had Hal Holbrook.
Mm-hmm.
It had Adrian Barbeau.
Barbeau, yeah.
Let me see.
Adrian Barbeau, also from Swamp Thing, Part One,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, so I mean, he, you know, he
And
had
Hal
those
Holbrook,
two.
where do we know him from? Double A.
If you've seen Dirty Harry Magnum Force,
He's
came
the
out.
that's right.
He's the captain.
He's
in
the
that
captain.
one.
Yeah, that's what I know. I was like, I know that motherfucker from somewhere.
Wall Street. He comes out on Wall Street too. He has a part.
I know he's in like a lot of stuff. He's like one of those guys that you see him in everything.
Yeah.
Take us to the beginning, Double A. I'm going to run to the little boys' room real quick because,
okay.
of course,
Is it
we
that
are
time?
San Antonio's premier pop culture podcast with P Breaks Live, the only place you can come and see the P Breaks happen in real time. So, yes, it is that time. And I think I didn't even really great too. Wow.
Yeah, so the Crate's kind of like a monster story in this one, where the first one, I guess you could say it was like a zombie one with the Father's Day. The second one was the transformation, with Jordy. And then the other one was kind of like, the water, the revenge, it's a revenge one. This one is like this creature that comes, in a crate in a university, and they're they don't know what it is, but it's like some creature that growls and it kills some people, and we meet our characters, Professor Dexter Stanley. He's the one that makes the discovery, and he shows him the crate. He's like, oh shit, like there's something there, but we don't know what it is. And then they show Billy, his wife, who is just really loud. When she gets drunk, she acts really obnoxious, and she's just a terrible person. She's just like really emotionally abusive towards him, and she embarrasses him, herself. She belittles him. It's just she's really annoying. She's one of those people that you just don't want to be around. She just always gets drunk and just always acts like an idiot. And he has a lot of where he daydreams too about killing her in certain ways, and after he kills her, like, people are like giving applause, like, yay, like, kill her off, she's fucking annoying. I was talking about Adrian Barbeau's character, about how she's just like,
she's the worst.
she's like, just drunk and embarrassing, and
just call me Billy.
yeah, and she's he's coming up with ways on how to kill her, in his head. Remember where he fantasized that and people clap after he does it,
Which, that's his old lady. That's his wife.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And she's also kind of like putting him down too.
Yeah,
right?
Ringbat. She's just like she's just a terrible person.
But you also get the impression that he's not the type of man to do anything about it.
No.
He's not going to go the Leslie Nielsen route. He doesn't have those kind of stones. So he's like, I wish there was like a way to, make this happen or whatever. So, do we already talk about the janitor, obviously?
No.
Then,
I was just really talking about.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So they're at a university? Right?
Yes, they are a university, the Horlicks University, campus of Horlicks University.
And the janitor's cleaning or whatever, and then he sees like there's like this pretty much like a little space under the stairs.
Yeah.
It's just like a little like I don't know, like a weird like little grate or whatever.
Yeah.
And I forget what something goes in there.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well, let me go in there to like get it out or whatever. So he unlatches it.
Yeah.
And when he unlatches it, he's like, he sees a crate in there. It's just sitting there like a crate. And he's like, what the fuck is that or whatever? You know what I mean? So, what does he do next with the crate?
They call him and they're like, there's some fucking shit in here.
Right.
you should check out. And they open it and the credit again, and they're hearing noises, and you're like,
and it's he calls that's who he calls, right? The professor,
Yes.
the one, the
Yeah.
Barbeau's husband,
Yeah.
Adrian Barbeau's husband, right?
Yeah, and then right here,
Yeah.
The janitor, poor janitor, reaches in there, and
And he feels something grabbing at him or whatever. Yeah.
and it brings him in. It takes him in, and it's bloody. It's very bloody in this comic book depiction.
Yeah. And this is when we know that Holbrook knows that he's like, oh,
Yeah.
there's something in there. You know what I mean? And are we seeing the flashes yet of what it is yet? Not till later, right?
No, yeah, not till later.
Because then they do flash these scenes, and it's a pretty, I think cool looking creature. It's pretty grisly. You know what I mean? Real quick, Lane says, yeah, I love the daydreams the main character has about his wife. Yes. Yeah, the Hal Holbrook character, definitely, Lane, we agree with you on that. And again, because she's a, I would say more than a ball breaker.
And she's so great. She came to Austin like a few months ago, and I really, really wanted to meet her, and I didn't get a chance to go, but I mean, she's so great from Escape from New York to The Fog. She does Catwoman's voice on Batman the Animated Series.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that. Yeah.
One time she was with, like CM said, she's the lead in Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
One time she was a girlfriend to John Carpenter, so I mean.
I always remember her like having this like evil kind of look. Like I was like, oh, she looks evil. Maybe it was her eyebrows. She had those
another Back to School for the movie Back to School, so.
But rockin' bod, like she had a hot bod. Like I was like, wow, this chick's like really looking big. But yeah, just a great actress. I mean, like she does so well in this like small part, to be like
just this really cool small part,
So what is quickly how Holbrook put together, right? He's like, oh well, I'll bring her around the thing or whatever.
It's all fucked up, right?
Yeah, I'll let nature take its course.
So not Leslie Nielsen stoned, but still, it's kind of like
yeah.
Like, really?
But of course, he's kind of bumbling in a sense because he's like fucking it up in a sense with it, right? Because he takes her to the fucking crate. And like nothing's happening or whatever, and she's like, "What are you doing?" or whatever. Like, what the fuck? And he's like, "Come on, like wake up!" And he's like fucking hitting the
he's
or
like really like. She's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
And he's like, and I think he's thinking too, like, "Fuck, like classic. This shit's not gonna fucking work." Or
and
whatever.
Then, Will, I don't know if you ever heard this, but he says this line. He goes, "Just tell her to call you Billy, you bitch."
Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah, he's always saying that. And she's like, like you're fucking, again, you're stupid, you're useless, like blah blah blah. She's just like berating him, like, real bad, It's like, and she's saying, just going off on this poor dude, just really going off, and I guess it was her voice, more or less, that wakes up the creature, and the creature fucking eats her up.
And that's what I think we get some glimpses of the cool creature here that kind of looks like this, whatever. Of course it looks better like when you're seeing it in the movie, whatever. But I was like, damn, that's a fucking pretty like grisly looking creature, right? Totally. Like,
and then he's like, don't hurt it now, Wilma. Offer it a drink and tell it just to call you Billy.
Yeah. So he's definitely getting out his frustrations at that point. So he feels like the deed is done, right? He's like, the deed's done. Like let me get rid of this fucking thing, right? You know what I mean? So he tries to chain it up. That part's pretty tense. Yeah. Because he's like putting the chain on it, and you can tell he's fucking nervous as fuck with the lock. You know what I mean? And he gets the lock on and he gets it closed. Yeah. And then I think it does start trying to kind of like pop the lid or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's like, fuck, I gotta get it like out of here or whatever. So he's gonna take the crate. I think he puts it in his fucking station wagon or truck or whatever. Yeah. And he's like, I'm gonna go dump this shit in the river. Is that what happened? I'm trying to remember. I just watched it yesterday, but I'm trying to remember. Yes. So he gets it out there, and then what happens? Double, I can't remember.
I mean, he gets rid of it. He tells a friend about everything that happened. And, they show like the creature still kind of surviving.
Yes.
Here, like even underwater, the creature is fucking surviving. So
so it's not like it's not dead. It's not gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm like, holy shit! Like, what is this? What is that?
I thought it kind of almost looked like a Sasquatch or something, right? It was almost like Sasquatch-ish, Yeah. But that's a pretty fun little one right there. You know what I mean?
No, it's funny. It's really cool. It's really funny. This one though, it might be the one, the next one, the last one, might be the one that a lot of people really think it's okay, maybe the least liked one that I've seen. Yeah, which I think it's funny. I think this old man is fucking hilarious in this one.
This one, hits
yeah.
because it's fucking gross.
Yes.
Like I mean, like to me, if you do not like bugs or insects or that shit gives you the heebie-jeebies, this one is gonna hit you in the right spot. Because I was rewatching it and I think I had forgot. Because I think that for some reason, Dylan, I remember like a lot of times watching this one and not watching this story. And I think that I really didn't like the fucking nasty ass roaches or whatever. And I was like, fucking gross. But I definitely could relate to the guy where I felt like, because sometimes I feel like that, man. Like when we're trying to eat, there's like a lot of flies. And I would imagine you feel that way
Oh
too.
my goodness.
Or when there's
I don't even
mosquitoes,
try anymore.
When there's fucking a lot of mosquitoes, I'm like, fuck
Yeah.
that. I mean, yeah, anytime someone's like, we're at a barbecue or they're going to eat inside, I hate to be a bitch, but I'm just like, that shit grosses me out. I don't fucking like that. So I'm like, either I won't eat outside or I'll just go inside and eat because I'm just like, I don't want that. And then it's weird. Where sometimes you're at a place and like, I don't know if, and I'm sure restaurants do this, but if you eat outdoors, they put the what do you call it, double A? The fucking, the gardening, the foliage, the words escaping me when you get you get a gardener to do the landscaping.
Oh,
You get the landscaping done. They probably put all the plants that keep like the most insects away or whatever,
yeah.
right? So that way you can dine outside and it's not fucking like you're overwhelmed. But I've been to places where they have nothing like that. I won't lie to you guys. I mean, like we have right here by us one of the best barbecue places. They say 2M. They have none of that around. So me and Jess, I went there on like a warm day, and dude, we were getting like attacked. Like it was constant. Like I was like, "Fuck, man! Like I can't like 1 second without." And I was like, "No! This place needs to get that landscaping around to keep the bugs away because the flies just attack you out there, and it's mainly outdoor seating. So it's like
that's it.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that I was like, I told her then and there, I was like, if I ever come here again, it will be to go. I will take it to go and eat it at my house because I was like, that's fucking.
Yeah.
I don't want to dine out here when it's like you're swarmed by fucking flies.
No.
So super gross. So basically, this guy's a clean freak, right? Double A. He's like a rich
and he's
stock
kind of
guy.
like he's kind. I don't know. He drove himself kind of to just run his businesses from this clean house because I guess it's gotten so bad.
I would say
for
that
him.
this has definitely got some Howard
OCD,
Hughes
Howard
vibes
Hughes,
to it. You know what I mean? He's a recluse.
But he's mean. He's a terrible fucking asshole.
He's an asshole. Yeah, total asshole. Yeah.
And yeah, just the roaches. Like all of a sudden, it's supposed to be like this super clean house. Everything is supposed to be protection from any kind of dirt, any kind of.
And it starts with him killing one. It starts with him spraying one, and you're like, okay.
But she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and he's in a high rise in I think New York.
Yes,
I think.
Yeah,
and it's like everything's all white, and like he's even using gloves. He has this little like trash can that like sucks the trash out and like shoots it away. And man, Double A, there are some fucking parts in this that are fucking gross that I'm like, and again, not like, I mean, like that are just like, if you have any kind of like heebie-jeebie about it, like I said, you'll be like, oh fuck, like fucking like that's fucking gross. You know? The cereal part, when he's making the smoothie thing part, the bed part. I mean, but yeah, pretty much the guy fucking hates bugs. He talks about how bugs are filthy. He even talks about at one point how he lived in Hell's Kitchen. He's like, I grew up in Hell's Kitchen. I know about bugs. He's like, the only one way to get rid of them, you gotta stamp them out. You know what I mean? So, but he's like calling the landlords or whatever to be like, hey, there's a fucking roach in here, and I'm in this fucking, I'm supposed to be in this super clean environment or whatever, yet I got bugs. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? So they're like, okay, we'll come in. We'll get you an inspector to come out or whatever. Am I saying, man, a lot? Let me know if I'm saying that too much. Sometimes I get there. But,
yeah, so, like, during this whole story, he's instigating a takeover.
Yes.
Of another company.
That's what's happening, right?
Yeah, like, I guess the wife calls, right, of this owner of the other company and tell him that he killed himself. He killed himself, and he's like, oh, that's great news. We won't have to offer him a seat. In our board, it's like, what the fuck? Like he's just like an asshole, and he doesn't care. He's like, cool, we don't have to worry about him now. Fuck him.
And pretty much everyone is incompetent except him. He's treating everyone, well, just like shit. Even when he calls the maintenance or whatever it is.
And the bugs are just getting out of hand. You're just seeing them all over.
Yeah, he starts like seeing like 1, 2, 3. Then he's like, what the fuck? Like,
like Sam said, there's a part where he's blinding.
Some type of smoothie or whatever.
Yeah, and he's full of roaches.
Yeah, he goes to look and he scoops it, and you can see the dead roaches. And like, oh. And then later, so it was like some type of like he was pouring like cereal into like a blender, like a food processor. Yeah. So then he tips the box, and they're like all in there, which is like to me, that's like a fucking nightmare. If that happened to me, like I'd be like, well, just burn my whole house down. I'm done. Like I don't even know, like my sister hates roaches.
I mean,
She hates when they take off flying or whatever.
I mean, at this point, it starts becoming almost supernatural. Like this,
Exactly.
it's like almost the whole city's roaches have come upon this old man's fucking apartment.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So he's fucking freaking out about that.
He calls a bug man, and
They're like, we can be out in like a few hours or something
Yeah.
like that, right? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I think he even makes a racial joke.
Yeah, he
because the guy's
does.
a black
Yeah.
guy, and
Yeah,
then he
he
says
does.
something
Yeah.
to the racial effect or whatever, which is kind of like, what the fuck or whatever. So again, furthering the depth of his assholeness.
yeah.
So yeah, eventually they're fucking like everywhere, which like double A, let me ask you, when they do things like this in movies at this time, it's gotta be real bugs, right? Like I don't think there's a way to fake that at that time.
That's a good question.
I imagine they have like probably like somewhere they go like a farm to get like, hey, we need to do a scene, we got to get a bunch of them, give us like fucking like a big old crate of them, so they're using real ones.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because there's even scenes where they're like on him and he's like, ugh, you know what I mean? And I was like, fuck that. Fuck that. So I'm just like, did they have to fucking get real bugs? And there's there's points where he is stomping some whatever, so I'm sure he's killing those real bugs. You know what I mean? But it's just fucking bananas. And he has this like a pretty much like a
I'm sure
a safe room.
with the ones he stomps probably obviously might be something sprayed
Fake,
on with
right.
with white shit in there. Or
Yeah.
whatever it was.
But when there's those scenes where they're like swarmed on stuff, that's
maybe.
got to be
Yeah.
real. I would
Yeah.
think. But then he's got this own little like panic room within his house, right? Because at one point like a blackout occurs.
Yes.
There's like a blackout
Yes.
in the city. And he feels like he's getting overrun in the apartment, so he goes to his panic room and he's like, "You'll never get in here," whatever. And it's like seals with this door, and like it looks like he's got it's got independent oxygen and all this shit, so he's good. Well, he's about to lay down in the bed and he sees the bed kind of like has these like waves going in it, right? And then he's like, "What the fuck?" So he fucking pulls back the cover and it's like covered with fucking roaches. And then there's this other like bug that I guess it's a former roach, but it just looks like a big fucking like almost like a big beetle or something.
Yeah.
It's fucking gross, man. And they're just swarming. And what happens to he has like a heart attack, right? Or something like that, because
It starts coming too much. Yeah, and I think he dies, and then they show him like one more time.
Yeah, because you're thinking like, oh, that's it, he died because of the bugs, whatever. And then it shows you the room and it's clean.
Yeah,
Like, you're like, what the fuck? Where's all
yeah,
the bugs
where
at?
all the roaches
Like,
are.
was it in his head? You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it, right? So you're thinking that, right? Well, then you see him and his body is like dead on the bed, and then what starts happening though?
The roaches start coming out of his body. I was like, oh, his mouth.
Yeah, when it's like his body, and not even that, guys. You think, oh, it's coming out of his orifices, right? Like, which they are, but then his body, like his fucking throat, like splits open, and they're like fucking funneling out. And I was like, oh, I was like, I'm getting there. Where's I'm like, lunch
oh
might come up. I'm like, fuck, that's fucking nasty. So it's a pretty and maybe that's why I used to cut this one off, because I'd be like, fuck, I fucking hate that one. Like, it's fucking gross, man. So very, very again, it's not overly graphic, but it's like, again, someone that does not like bugs would not like this. Like our cousin Let like hates like bugs. So she would be screaming at this fucking episode. So it's very visceral in that sense. I would say that.
Okay, so real quick, the WWF match is Bob Backlund versus the Samoan One.
Nice.
That took place April 21st, 1980.
Nice.
Yeah.
Does it say anything about like King and Romero talk to Vince or how they got the clip? At this time, it's probably Vince Sr., right?
No, it's Vince.
It is? Okay. So
so it would still be Vince Sr. running the company.
So they probably had to say like, "Hey, we want to use the clip of wrestling."
Maybe it was like,
whatever.
go ahead.
I'm curious. I know there's got to be a story, and I know someone knows the story.
Let me see. It says the live cockroaches, which were supposed to be 20,000, were partially provided by the American Museum of Natural History.
Huh.
He goes. George Romero said in a 2015 Fan Expo convention, the insects were the most expensive part of the film. So 20,000 live roaches were
and I'm
used.
Like, that who was it?
Wow.
From who do they got it from?
From the American Museum of Natural History.
So if we go to the
Wow.
American Museum of Natural History, we're just like, we need 20,000 roaches. They just have them on hand, I guess. Like I'm like, yeah, we can get you that.
Holy shit! So man, that's fucking good on that dude for fucking
Fuck that.
for fucking
Fuck that. I would also want to be the
Oh,
highest
man.
paid. This is where like that $20 million price tag starts coming in on my fucking actor's contract. I'm like, you're gonna do what? Like when I used to watch that Fear Factor shit like that, I'd be like, nope, that's the part where it's like, I'm not gonna win. I'm not gonna win. Once we
Wow.
bring out like worms, yes, maybe. I don't know. I've seen maggots up close. I don't know about that. That's probably not happening for me. So
Yeah. Oh, and
know.
they said the maggots used for the Father's Day one was Rice Krispies.
nice.
So
Real quick, Lane says, if you guys got just another Friday night double A, you would be queuing up Arn Anderson's old entrance music. So you can come out into the camera with that entrance theme from WCW. Interesting fact, Lane, double A is a huge Arn Anderson fan and always said that if he wrestled, he would use the double A name, but he couldn't because Arn Anderson already had that. But this also is our enforcer, so they're equally tough guys who I think double A would give Arn a run for his money. Jeremy's in the house. Says,
real
"What's
quick,
up, fellas? What's up,
hey, Jeremy. So, okay, so Romero said the cockroaches cost 50 cents a piece, and it says here they use more than 250,000 of them, a grand total
Jesus.
of $125,000 on the roaches. So they paid $125,000 to use 250,000 of them.
I could think of better ways to spend
Wow.
$125K.
They really
on
wanted those
roaches.
fucking roaches.
And I wonder, is that like, are they buying them? Or do they got to take the roaches back? Like,
Oh, I would think you would have to take them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Romero's passed, right? He passed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Romero
okay.
passed. Yeah.
That's so great that fans asked him those questions, though. I love that we have
Right?
this to know. Like,
Like,
that's so cool.
I never would even have asked. I don't think the roaches one is probably the first thing I would have asked.
And I gotta admit, but this is the kind of shit that I think about all the time.
Right.
Like I said, I want to know now the story that Vince Sr. had with Romero or King. Like, who was it from CREEPSHOW that talked to the WWF?
I'm sure it wasn't
at
that big
the
of a
time?
deal. I'm sure it's just for them. It
Yeah.
was probably like, yeah, go ahead, use
Like,
it.
hey, we want to show this guy showing wrestling or whatever.
Exactly,
watching
and you're
wrestling.
showing, yeah. So it's kind of like cool, like
Free-
that's what got me to the Freebirds.
Free
I
plug?
was like, who are these guys in Highlander? I was
Yeah.
like, who are these dudes?
And the
You know?
fabulous free.
Yeah, so,
very
yeah.
nice. And that concludes it, right? Double. You got anything else to add on?
No,
that
that
one?
first one, no. It's just they're really fun. And, you
Yeah.
know, they're and some of them, like I said, really like scared the shit out of me as a kid. I was like,
No doubt.
whoa.
No doubt. And again, even as an adult, rewatching that one, which is called, what's it called? The last one?
Creeping on you, creeping up on you. They're
They're
creeping up on
creeping
you.
up on you. Yeah, he says that in the story. They're creeping up. They're creeping
Okay,
up on
so
you.
check this out. So the rooms were filled with cockroaches,
Mhm.
but many of them were apparent insects were actually nuts and raisins.
Really?
So he
Okay.
mixed those in too. so-
Okay. So they're moving around it.
Okay. So shit, get on him.
Yeah. It looked really good. I mean, because I was like, what the fuck? That's nasty. Lane says, I just watched Highlander 2 the other day. Man, what a bad sequel. Though Michael Ironside is hilarious in it. And damn, Michael Ironside has Dark Side, right? Though,
Oh, I love his dark side. Just like I
Boy.
like Clancy Brown's Lex Luthor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I like Clancy Brown as Lex Luthor a lot more than I like Clancy Brown as that governor in Ahsoka or whatever.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
a better use of Clancy Brown as Lex.
Yeah.
And the Kurgan. And yes, Michael Ironside might be the shining spot in Highlander 2. I don't know.
That's kind of hard too.
Yeah, because
Man, Michael Ironside's usually good, but man, that one was just too fucking.
he's not as
over
good as
the
he is in
top.
Total Recall, but he's good. But yeah, the second Highlander, it has good things, I think.
All right, Sean Connery coming
Sean
back. was
Connery,
cool,
yeah.
You know,
But the story about them being aliens or whatever the fuck, I
Yeah.
was like, man, y'all fucked this up, man.
Yeah,
This
that's
is great. That first one is so solid. You know what
yeah,
I
it
mean?
is that. And
And then too, you have Sean Connery coming back from the dead, which you're like, well, that kind of just cheapened that first, you know?
it was weird. Yeah, it was weird.
It was weird. It was the dome over the thing. I was like, I
He
thought
said he did it because him and Christopher Lambert became really cool, good friends, like really tight.
That's cool.
Yeah, like really tight dudes, and he said that's the only reason why he kind of came back was to hang
Interesting.
out. So
Interesting. Let me see. Lane says, "Oh, the Kurgan," and he says, "Watch your CREEPSHOW 1 right now." Jeremy says, "Yeah, badass, Jeremy. There you go." And then Lane
I'm trying to look
says-
for something for you, Sam, but I don't see anywhere where it's like
the WWE
where he
conversation.
asked him. Or
No,
anything,
that's
you know?
okay. Yeah.
It just says who are the wrestlers wrestling.
Right.
You know?
And then Lane says real quick, he says the one thing from the Highlander TV series that was missing never had a villain like the Kurgan. Yeah. No, I
Oh, the
I would
rest of the
agree with you.
movies, like 2 is not good. 3 with Marvin
The
Peebles, we
Peebles.
rented that one on pay-per-view. And man, that one was just bad too.
Yeah.
Endgame is probably the closest you can watch after the first one with
This is where they bring in Adrian. What's his name?
What's his? I forgot his name.
I forget.
I forgot his
But he was the show
which
Highlander.
the show lasted for like 7
Yeah.
seasons.
And it was neat that it like they were gonna connect them because he was also a McLeod, I believe.
Yes, he is.
He was.
Well,
Duncan.
he's not. Duncan. He's not related, but he kind of takes him under his wing, and
Oh,
he
I
kind of, I
see.
think, adopts the
Okay.
the
Okay.
the McLeod wing.
And I didn't watch that show consistently, but I watched it.
It's fine.
and
I've
it was
seen a
fine.
few episodes here and there. I mean, it has that '90s look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Like in the Xena time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I felt like, a Highlander.
Adrian Paul.
Paul. I felt like the Highlander story was primed for a show. Like it was like, okay, this is what you want. Like you want to see the tales of the Highlander because obviously in part 1 it goes back and forth with, Connor's story, from Scotland to, what was it, like
To
England,
England,
to,
France, where he fights in the Revolution. And all that kind
right,
of stuff.
right. So you're like, oh, this is like an ideal place to make a show where you're gonna show the whole story. But is that how that show played? I don't remember exactly, but I feel like it kind of went.
So it lasted from '92 to '98,
Mhm.
and yeah, it takes more of a look at their past without having Christopher Lambert too much.
Yeah.
I think he only came out in the first episode,
Right.
and kind of explaining the process. That there's watchers watching
Okay.
all of them, and yeah, I mean it was kind of cool. It's interesting. Like I said, it lasted from '92 to '98. I mean
That's
that's
quite a run.
That's a long run,
Yeah.
and then he got his own movie.
Yeah.
So
And he got to come, be with Christopher Lambert in a film. So that's kind of.
and he got to kill Connor.
Yeah, I thought that the story was so cool from part 1, and it set forth these rules, but then they didn't play by those rules anymore, so that kind of fucked it up. I was like, well, I thought there could only be one, but there's a whole bunch.
Yeah, which it's funny because somebody asked me, it's like, why can there only be one? And I was like,
I don't know.
huh. I was like, I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know why there could only be one.
especially when it says like
I was
when
like,
it says right once you do it, once you win the prize, like you're all knowing, right? So wouldn't you find your way around that or whatever? But yeah, I thought like the quickening, the idea of the quickening, like all that shit. I was like, this is fucking. Who wrote this amazing masterpiece? And then everything subsequently was like, wow, this is not. You did not do this justice. I know there was a series of comics too. I wonder how they were.
Yes,
if
yes,
they
they were.
was-
I
if
think
there
they
was-
explored more of the Kurgan's kind of like brutality and past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Then Lane goes on to say, he says it had Horn, the crazy watcher, but he was never a physical
Yeah,
threat.
so like the watchers watch them and make sure that they really never get out of line.
Uh-huh.
I think.
And then Lane says, he says the worst Highlander movie was still The
Ooh,
Source.
that's
though.
like the
Jesus.
very last one.
He's like,
and it
that
looks
fucked
terrible.
up all the OG Highlander, all that Guardian
looks-
doing his
it's
best
bad.
Vin Diesel voice. Ugh.
It's really bad.
Lane, I like your disgust with it. Lane then says, he says, I love the villain Jacob Kellis as a villain in Endgame, but really they needed to bring in Amanda
Oh,
for
okay.
that movie. All right. And then he says, Connor is the same clan, but he was
Yeah, there
like
you
100 or
There
200
you
years old.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Same
gotcha,
clan. Yeah,
gotcha,
yeah, yeah.
gotcha.
Okay.
And then Lane says, because Lambert was in the
Was in the 2-part start, which it is.
The Gathering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you can see. I'm pretty sure you can find the Highlander series
Probably
anywhere.
easy to watch.
And
yeah.
you can probably watch that first episode with Connor, where they batter Richard Mole, aka the Bull from Night Court at the Village.
Yes. Richard Mall, great, also in House, the movie House.
Oh yeah, that's
he
right.
was
That's
the-
right.
the-
Yeah.
Not House with what's his name, Hugh Laurie, but the
You
horror.
know, I
House.
saw that real quick before we go into
Yeah.
part 2. I saw a few episodes of House, and me and my wife are like, we can see how it's popular, but she was saying, "Wow, like this is pretty ridiculous."
Yeah.
Like he's got like 4 doctors working under him, and they go to people's houses to investigate, and they do tests on their own. And my wife is like,
His wife's
Doctors
a
don't
nurse, for those
do
who don't
that.
know.
Yeah, she's like, doctors don't do that. They have like techs
yeah.
to do like the samples and everything. They're just like going into like people's houses to see what they have like in their house that could be causing the illness. It's like, what? Like doctors don't do that. They don't go to they don't break into people's houses to see what causes the medical problems. Like, what the fuck? So we kind of stopped watching after like 5 episodes. We stopped watching.
I've watched one or
this
two
is
episodes.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I've watched 1 or 2 episodes, and I thought kind of the same thing. I was like, I don't see.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
My sister loves House,
And
though.
it's good. It's good.
I think she likes him.
And
She's
he
like,
is good. He is
yeah.
real good. But she's like, no, doctors don't do the blood test. They don't administer the IV. They don't do like any of that kind of shit. You know, they're like, they got the nurses and the techs to do all that.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah, my sister always would tell me, she'd be like, bro, you would like it because you're like him. You're like House. And I was like, when I watched a couple episodes with her, I was like, oh, what? Because he doesn't ever think he's wrong? She's like, yeah, pretty much that's right. I was like, no, I'm not going to watch season after season.
No, and we got turned off.
That's why I couldn't get into Lucifer, because I was like, it's just the same. It's
and
the
then
formulaic.
knowing that it's the devil, it's really gonna hurt him, right? Like,
right.
no human is gonna hurt the devil.
But also, I didn't like that he was like solving crimes with the cop chick, whatever. I was like, this is fucking dumb. Like,
so if you had read Sandman, he just gets bored with having to be in hell.
Okay.
He gets bored. He's like, this is stupid. Why am I here? Like, I can leave hell and be somewhere where I can at least be happy. So that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
And so he finds it entertaining, I guess. I guess he finds the evil that men do entertaining. You know what I mean? So
I think I liked the aspect of knowing more about his character, but it focused a lot on like the crimes that were happening, which I was like,
now Neil Gaiman didn't write the Lucifer series.
Right.
He created that Lucifer, but he didn't write the series.
Yeah. Did you watch any of that show?
We did, and I was enjoying
the
it.
whole way through?
No, we didn't finish.
Because y'all just were like,
I mean, it's like you said, after a while, it just becomes formulaic, where it's kind of like, okay, they're going to solve it. He's going to know who it is, obviously, because he's the devil. So, I mean, he can force people to tell the truth. Nothing's going to ever hurt him, ever,
Like, I hate when I'm watching certain stuff and I'm like, why aren't they using their powers? Like, that shit doesn't work. That doesn't make any sense. Like, you're wasting time or whatever.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, I mean, it was funny. It was fine, and everything, but I don't know. We just stopped. We just kind of stopped.
I mean, and Jess tried to start it, and we were just like, when we got to about fourth episode, we were like exactly the same way you said about House. We were like, I think we're done with this, and we just
I wanted to support it because it was a comic book. I wanted to support it, but I was like, it's.
Well, plus I had multiple people that I know, like John and Roxanne, our friend Marquise. They were all like, "Oh, you're gonna really like it because the devil story and all." And then I was like, "Where is that at?" And they were like, "Oh, it doesn't come to later in the end." And I was like, "Well, I ain't gonna wait that long."
And so it's kind of hard to.
If someone's got a supercut out there, you send me that supercut. I'll watch that shit on YouTube.
Like I said, if you ever want to see it, like a show that did really good with like Angels and Demons, Supernatural, season 4 on up, did really good with all that kind of history and all that kind of shit. That was pretty cool.
And if you want to read an interesting story, Preacher. Pretty interesting regarding that. So, real quick, we get to Lane's comments before we go right into Creepshow Part 2, guys. Really want to talk about this one with you guys because I love it. Lane says, Amanda was like the final love interest, a female immortal who was a thief. She was set up as the great love in Duncan's life. Oh, okay. Very Selena Kyle, Bruce Wayne there. I like that. He says she was played by Elizabeth Grayson, who had a spin-off show, The Raven, that died after 1 season. Sorry, Lane, I don't have my glasses on, so usually that's why Double A reads the comments because I can't see.
And I'm sorry, my allergies are acting up terribly.
That's okay. You all right? You hanging in there?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just,
I get you. No, I know. I've been the same way all week. So Lane says, okay, Creepshow 2, did you guys feel it was missing that lightning they did for the first one, giving the comic panel feel?
So, Lane, I'm just reading now that for whatever reason, they kind of tied in the budget on this one for King Romero.
Okay.
And it was supposed to have 5 stories too, but because of that, they cut it down to 3. I don't know why the first movie did well. Let me see. The first one was made for $8 million, and it made $21 million. Not bad.
Nice.
I mean, right? I mean,
you more than double your budget. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they really tightened it to. They only gave him $3.5 million from
Wow.
8 million to 3.5.
Okay. How much does this one make?
14 million. I mean, it's still that's still
That's a
fucking
win,
profit.
yeah.
So I don't know why they did that with King of Romero. That's crazy.
Okay, so I want to talk, quickly of just about my like general thoughts about Creepshow 2. Number one, I love it. I
Yeah.
hunted down
Uh-huh.
this fucking Old Chief Woodenhead shirt because that's how much I love it. I can remember wearing this at one of your brother's parties, and your cousin Phil had a really cool shirt on that day too. Double A, and everyone
Oh,
was like,
that's right.
no, Charlie's
That's right.
shirt is by far the best. Again, like it says, Old Chief Woodenhead. It looks like a comic book, and it says he wants revenge.
Stephen King presents Old Chief Woodenhead, May 87, 75 cents. Terror at the general store.
Mm-hmm.
He wants revenge.
I saw this in a picture that our friend Bobby from Toy Matrix had posted, where he is at a horror con, and it was in the background behind him, like on a thing. And the one I saw it was a 3/4 sleeve shirt. It was like a baseball tee with maroon sleeves, which, boy, I wish I could have got that one. I had to hunt down the company. I had to, reach out to him and be like, what was that booth you were in front of in that one picture? Then this company's not around no more. So, I mean, I know that I have not seen this print again.
Huh.
So, and again, I've searched Old Chief Woodenhead shirts. There are some out there, but I have not seen this
that
one
one.
again. So I'm so happy that I got it before that place went under or whatever happened. But man, I was like, fuck, an Old Chief Woodenhead shirt, because of all the Creepshow stories, this one is my favorite
Yeah,
one. It's the
that's
first
great.
tale.
It's
in
really
this one.
good.
Yeah.
So it says 2 stories. They were called Pinfall, which hasn't been adapted to anything. But the other one was called Cat from Hell. That one was filmed for the Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. So that's where he moved that one into.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
so
interesting.
that's
Very
pretty cool.
interesting. I feel like, number one, like I said, I mentioned it earlier, but I like that the creep talks in this one. Like, he's there in the beginning with Billy. He's waiting for the comic book. It's literally like in the brown paper, and then it like morphs from live action to animation, which, man, I thought that the creep looked so cool. I was like, man, they should have kept it.
Which isn't bad considering now that we're reading that the budget was cut.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe that's what they thought, like, oh, we got less money, we'll do some more animation sequences, which they did quite a few. All of the in between is animated.
Yeah, the in between stuff. Yes.
And it plays so well. So Lane, to answer your question, I didn't miss it at all. In fact, I feel like the stories in this one are stronger. It's better written. I want to say it's better acted, to me. And again, I just have like a huge affinity for this. I feel like it's just much more spooky. It's much more. There are scary aspects to it,
especially the hitchhiker one. That
one
is kind of.
I remember for a while I used to avoid that one because I was
if
like,
you
littler.
let yourself kind of like get into that story.
Oh no,
you're
it's
like,
very fucking
oh,
scary.
shit.
That one used to be, to me, I was like, that the third story is the scariest story of the 3. And I also remember that. What was I going to say about it? Oh, well, no, what I wanted to say real quick, was like, the first one's 82, this one's 87, so 5 years, like a long time.
That's
too,
a long
right?
time.
It's a long time to do a sequel.
Shit.
I wonder if there was a reason it was held up if the first one was so successful.
Maybe they were just too busy. I mean, King, he publishes shit like crazy.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, even to this day.
When he's retired, remember?
And Romero, I'm pretty damn sure, was busy with Tales from the Dark Side at this point.
Yeah.
Getting that off the ground.
Yeah. Real quick, Lane says, I know the filming for the raft story, it was shown as being summer, but it was actually winter when they were filming it.
Yeah,
so
I was
the
just reading
actors
about
were in
that.
those bathing suits in freezing temps. And what's interesting, Lane, I'm not exactly sure if it's supposed to be summer, because it seems like they're off-school college kids and they're aware that it's cold, but maybe just wherever they live, which I'm assuming is in the northeastern part of the United States, it just happens to be cold there, because they mention it being cold several times. At one point, the guy says, the water's 50 degrees, your heart could stop by just jumping into the cold water. I feel like it's kind of like a spring break thing, even here in Texas.
Well,
during spring break, like, and I'm sure Link, I think you're in Austin. I've been to like Gardner State Park during spring break, and the water's fucking very, very cold. So it's not like comfortable to be in like summer water.
So it says the actor who played Randy. I think Randy was not the poncho. No, Randy.
Yeah, Randy was the other guy, the skinnier guy, not
Okay.
not the jockey type guy.
Okay, so it said he almost died from hypothermia due to
Really?
the water being very cold.
Fuck
They
that.
said the crew wanted him to continue, but the director brought him to the hospital as he feared that he would leave the set and never return, and they forced him to keep working. Says after he made a recovery, he managed to finish the segment. But
Wow.
But-
The director being Romero?
it says
Romero
director
didn't direct the second
Michael
one, did
Gornick.
Ah, okay. I was,
But
gonna say,
I was like,
yeah.
shit, they wanted him, like, this fucking dude was probably all blue and purple, and they're like, oh, you can still get it.
Well, remember when we did Friday the 13th last week, and we were talking about Bing Crosby's son and how his eye was like the guy fucking lost his vision for like a month or
Yeah.
whatever because that fucking fake blood was Kiro syrup or Cairo syrup, food dye, and then some type of like like a processing agent for photographs, a Kodak processing agent, and that was toxic, highly toxic, and the guy had it in his eye for like fucking hours or whatever. So
that sucks, right? Like the old kind of working conditions,
right.
Kind of like,
have you ever
shit.
heard about the fucking lion from the Wizard of Oz?
Oh,
That shit is some of the most horrible shit they talked about.
yeah.
Number one, they said that was like real lion fur on the suit. They built
No
it out of
shit.
real lion fur. Yeah, that it was like so heavy, hot. The makeup that the Tin Man wore was like extremely toxic.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Buddy Epson,
Okay.
the dad from the Beverly Hills Billies,
Oh, okay.
but he was so allergic to that Tin Man makeup that he was like, no, I'm not gonna do
The
this.
what's the witch story too? She got burned for real,
Yeah, I
right? The
think she
Wicked
got
Witch.
burned
That's why I
too,
think
yeah.
they sometimes call it one of the cursed films,
Yeah,
right?
it is. Yeah,
And I was like, I didn't know none of that shit. Like I was like, man, when they were trying to make shit back then, it was like they were going all in. I was
oh, so it said
like, fuck that.
the actor who played Randy, the water was so cold that his body turned green. So, and they said the crew wanted him to keep working. And I was like, what the fuck? Like his body's like green?
Back
Like,
to work, Randy.
good. Like shit.
We're looking green right now. Like we're looking like a couple of Randys. in the fucking thing.
Golly, like man, the motherfucker turned a whole different shade of fucking color.
So double A, right? Like it's fucking. This is
man.
the character that my dad is. I want to get to Lane's comments, but real quick, this is the character my dad is. So my dad's riding around with this fucking Michael Myers mask in his car, right?
Okay.
So it's the Michael Myers mask from the Rob Zombie ones, right? My dad loves shit like this. So when he has shit like this, so he told me that he's been wearing it outside the front of his house lately and all that. But the whole thing is that it's got the hair on there, but my dad has a hairnet on it. And he's like, well, yeah, because we're Mexican, so it's Mexican Michael Myers with a hairnet.
Shit.
So today he's like, hey, put it on and wear it while we ride around in the car. And I'm like, all right, I'll humor you. I'm wearing this thing double A for about
man.
10 minutes. And I'm thinking to myself, man, imagine actors that come and work on a set for like 16 hours, right? Like their days aren't like our days, right?
Oh, no.
We bitch a lot, but their days aren't like our days.
Uh-huh.
And they fucking, and I'm like, if I had to have this motherfucker on all day, I was like, Dad, I'm already sweating. I'm gonna take it off. He's like, man, we didn't even get to see any people because literally he wanted people to see me with it on, and we're going through the neighborhood and there's no one out.
Man.
There's like no cars. There's no one. I'm like, Dad, we're not. There's nobody out. Like I was like, I'm fucking taking this thing off. So I take it off, and I'm just like, you know what? I mean, people say what they want about actors aren't fucking doing hard work. I'm like, hey, they provide us entertainment, and I'm sure that shit's uncomfortable.
So like me and my wife are watching Moonlighting, the Bruce Willis series.
Classic.
They're saying they filmed like 15, 16 hours a fucking day. I'm like, fuck you, fuck that. They said once Die Hard became a fucking hit, that he was like, I'm done living
movies
this fucking,
is where it's at.
Yeah, I'm done living this fucking lifestyle here.
Me and you have both heard enough. We love The Walking Dead, like how they talk about like, oh yeah, we're doing 20-hour days in the Georgia heat. I'm like,
Yeah,
fuck that.
yeah, I can see why a lot of times that Andrew Lincoln was like, I'm not coming back.
I'm done. Even White Carol was like, I forget her name.
Melissa McBride.
Melissa McBride was like, I think I'm gonna take a break from this Daryl show. Like, I need a fucking minute to reset because it's like that's, and I know they're getting paid extremely well, but I'm like that sucks. And I mean, like, I'm like, I've worn makeup, for Halloween. I've worn costumes for cosplay and all that,
Hot.
and I'm like, it's uncomfortable. You can't see. You know what I mean? Like to go piss is a fucking thing. It's just like not fucking fun. So. Real quick, let me read these comments from Mr. Lane Kramer here in the house. He says, oh shit, where am I at?
You read that
he says,
one.
he says, no, this was info from a documentary where
shit.
they talked.
Okay.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay, hey, share that documentary with me. I'd like to know. He says they got behind in filming. Oh, okay, I see. He said, and they filmed it in the wintertime. Yeah, that makes sense to the freezing water. Fuck that. He says, well, in Friday the 13th, is the final chapter, the girl killed on the boat. Okay. And then he says here, he says her lower body was in the water and she got hypothermia from behind in the freezing water, for being in the freezing water for hours. And basically the guy being Jason kept telling the
was not okay.
Oh, right, that she was not okay. Right,
she was not okay.
That she was not okay. And he says the director said, "Just worry about being Jason." He said,
"Damn."
He said, "Take her to the hospital. She was gonna walk it off."
Damn.
Wow.
Damn.
I mean, and again, I mean, I'm not saying those directors are right. They're totally wrong.
And you would think those fucking movies with so low of a budget, you'd be like, okay, let's shoot this quick. Boom, 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 boom. Not being there for fucking hours. I mean, you get your ass in here.
Yeah, not only that, but I'm like, you're making a Jason movie. Yeah. Like, what are you doing multiple takes for? Because you fucking, like, you think you're going to win the Oscar? Bro, and not only that, but if she's freezing her fucking ass off, her reaction right there is the reaction that she would really have. It's like, come on now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, get your ass in here, man.
Double A, I'm gonna apparently round 2 over here for me.
Shit,
yeah,
really?
But while I'm there, I want you to talk a little bit about tell the Friday Nighters and everyone watching and myself, I would like to know. But what's your experiences with Creepshow 2? Tell me how you kind of first engage in it, because 87, you're obviously already born, but you're a baby. But this movie would be like, I feel like, a part of our lives for like the rest of our growing up. So tell me your background with Creepshow 2, and then what you thought about, the first story, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit more about that one. I know we have a lot to say about the first story.
Yeah. Okay. So real quick too, like CM said too, we this one kind of, I don't know, maybe it's because they were kind of like under budget, but we see more kind of like the animated stuff. We see Billy, the kid, and they show this second animation. He receives a package from a clerk that contains a product advertising his comic. He orders a Venus flytrap. Oh wait, I got ahead. They show Billy. He goes to on his bike. He goes to a nearby newspaper shop where they dropped the latest issue of Creepshow, and he picks up. He's super excited. He picks up and he begins to read, and that's kind of like where we get the first story of the old Chief Woodenhead. Creepshow Part 2 probably was the first one I saw more than Part 1. I remember these stories a lot more clearer than what I did in the first one. Maybe it's because it was only 3. The old Chief Woodenhead always stuck to me because I thought it was a really cool revenge story. The bad guys got their due in this one. It's not like where the Leslie Nielsen kills the good guys, or Jordy killed himself. It's kind of like, damn, like, or the father, he kills his whole family. It's kind of like, damn, like, do any of does evil always win? So that was kind of cool that the old Chief Woodenhead, it's a revenge story about the getting back at the bad guys, because they're pretty bad people. It says that Romero's the one who wrote this screenplay. Stephen King did stories on this one, and they had Michael Gornick directing. So
yes. Good old Michael Gornick.
No, I was saying that there's a lot more, like you're saying, a lot more of the animation in this one, probably because now we're reading the budget, and seeing how Billy finds the magazine and begins to read it, and it kind of introduces us to the old Chief Woodenhead. I was saying that I like this story a lot because compared to a lot of the other stories, the bad guys lose.
Yeah,
this one,
I think that's why it was always endeared to me as well, because I felt like Chief Woodenhead was kind of the good guy or whatever, but he was this spectral being. And again, if you watch our Res Dogs episode, I talk about how I've always had like an affinity for like Native American culture, and again, it's very tongue in cheek. It doesn't play into that, but there is, like I and again, I'm doing it based on the movie. It's not meant to be in any other way, because I don't even know what these words mean. But when I I'll, when I'm just talking with my friends, I'll say things like a koane chief wouldn't hit a koane, you know what I mean? And like when he says hello Martha Spruce, you know what I mean? Like things like that. I just love it, and I think I love it because it's like it moves so fast. Like the pacing is like
it really does.
like everything.
And
is
we
really
always say how you can tell a really tight story in so long. You get so much though. No, you're good. Yeah. You get so much though.
Exactly.
In these tight little stories.
Like immediately you're endeared to the shopkeepers. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you're like
good on George Kennedy. For making
amazing. Where do we know him from?
Naked Gun too.
Naked Gun.
And Cool Hand Luke.
Oh, then we get Leslie Nielsen, and then we
yeah.
You just immediately love this couple, these shopkeepers, and I mean, like, and again, it's so fast. The pacing is so good. I mean, you get that they're in this small town,
which like dead. It's not even like a town anymore.
Right.
Almost like just like where all the businesses have moved.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing there anymore.
They're running like the general store. There's obviously like a Native American presence. You know what I mean? And they've been pretty much, letting people have things on credit, so on and so forth, right? And his wife is pretty much done with it, but he's like, hey, this store let us,
put our kids
through school
and everything.
Like, okay, right. People kind of left the small town or whatever. So I imagine this is probably a common story in a lot of places. You know what I mean? The town just dries up. So they're there. And then shortly, Chief Benjamin,
White Moon.
Benjamin White Moon shows up. This actor is wonderful, as well as the I guess he's the chief of the tribe, the local tribe. And even the wife makes a comment. She's like, "Oh, here he comes in his chauffeur-driven limousine, or whatever, which is just like an older car, but he's obviously being driven around by some of the younger, I'm assuming, members of the tribe, and he's one of the elders for sure." And he comes to them and he talks to them. And another thing that I always say, it's that, she's just got through talking about like, man, you give too much. You let people take so much stuff on credit. She says you haven't had a cash sale in 4 days, so she's like, we should think about just closing it up or whatever, right? He's like, no, we got to be here for this town. He's like, I want to give back in their time of need. So you're already like, man, he's fucking, even though she's kind of harping on him, you don't dislike her. You're like, oh,
yeah, you kind of feel for her. You're like,
you feel for her, Yeah, and you feel for him.
It's like credit. It's like, it's not even like the good credit. It's kind of like, I know you're good for it. I know you'll pay me later. That kind of credit,
Yeah. Which is funny because we haven't gotten there yet to talk about it, guys. But what about the Better Call Saul scenes, AA, with his dad? Where he was that kind of guy, and he's like, man, my fucking dad was like a sucker or whatever. Yeah. He'd be like, oh, let me help you, let me get you this, smart plugs or whatever, and then people fucking, just taking advantage of him or whatever, like needing handouts, like giving him $5-10 out of the register because they said they needed gas or whatever. I mean, we've all been there. We've all heard a story at a gas station, and maybe sometimes we choose to help, maybe sometimes we don't, but maybe 8 out of 10 times it's not really that's the case. They're just, there are people out there that just want a handout or whatever. So they will, prey on the kindness and the sympathy of others. And so, again, maybe that is a little bit of the case here of what's his name in the movie?
Who's that? Ray Spruce?
Ray Spruce, yeah, Ray.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, so, there's
But in this case, though, the band knows what he's been doing, so he gives them, he gives the tribes, each of the tribe have given like some pretty nice pieces of jewelry. Yeah. And it says if they can't make up the money, then it's all yours, which is worth a shitload of money.
Yeah. He says in 2 autumns, so I guess it's 2 years, right? He says if we can't pay it back, then that's yours. He said it's all the most valuable things from my people, and they show it, and it looks like a lot of like turquoise and silver. You know what I mean?
Like, it's like very valuable shit.
Right. It would be like, it'd be like if AA grabs his most valuable comic book and I take my most valuable comic, we put it and we use it towards,
exactly.
And like, like pawning it in a sense, like, hey, I know we've been, and I always use this line all the time with people, when people are like, hey, don't worry, like, I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna go, I'm kind of broke, like, I'll get you a beer, I'll pay for your meal. I said, I said, okay, well, I'll pay you back. And they're like, no, no, you don't have to pay back. And I tell him, I said, and then if you don't let me pay you back, then I'm a beggar. And I said, but if you let me pay back, then I'm a borrower. You know what I mean? He tells Ray that he's like right now, while you have Yeline, we are borrowers. He's like, we can still have pride. He said, but if you don't take it, then we are beggars. He's like, and that insult could not be forgiven. So it's very like, it's very poetic, the whole thing to it. So I'm already like, oh, like as a kid, I'm like, wow, like this is so like there's all this wisdom here being shared. And right after that, like right after Benjamin White Moon leaves, they go back into the fucking shop. And mind you, by the way, Ray has this big, huge wooden Native American, or Indian, in front of the store, kind of like the cigar smoking Indian or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's much more detailed and nice, and it's beautiful, And this is Chief Woodenhead, and even when Benjamin White Moon gets there, he not only greets Ray and Martha, but he also greets Chief Woodenhead. I go in to Chief Woodenhead, and he tells everyone hello. And at the time, Ray is putting his war paint on. He's like, I gotta freshen up your war paint. So and he's like, oh, I'll finish tomorrow. And he gets dust on him from the car. And he's like, I should have known better to do your war paint on a dusty day.
Yeah.
So it's very again, all these things are very quickly done and endear you to the characters. So as the spruces go back in, who is there but this long-haired gentleman with his jean jacket open with no shirt, Sam White Moon.
Sam.
And Sam is a piece of shit.
Over here, old lady.
Yeah, over here, old lady. Which his acting is incredible. This guy went on to other stuff, right?
He did. I forgot his name, but he's in Fight Club, where he's like, in life we don't have a name, but in death we do.
That's him.
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
Yes.
He's like, I cannot believe that's fucking him.
Yes.
Oh my, I'm fucking ruined.
Yeah.
So,
and he's playing Fritz.
So great.
He's playing Fritz in the Von Erich movie.
Is that
He
right?
come out Three Kings. So he's done.
That's
a lot of
right.
shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's
now he's starting
him.
his year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's like, in life we don't have a name, but in death we have it.
When they twist Edward Norton, Edward is like, what? Like,
his name is Robert Paulson.
Yeah, it's like, no.
His name is Robert Paulson. I was watching clips of that the other day because I just wanted to watch clips of Fight Club. I was having a bad day when I watched it.
It's a really damn good movie. Like my wife showed that to me. Like in the 2010s, and I was blown away because I never saw it in
99. I saw it in 99 in the theaters.
My wife is the one that showed it to me, and I was like, wow, this movie is really fucking good. Like, I can see why it had all the accolades. This movie is really, really good.
One of my best friends, Mark, Mr. Mark Robinson, wanted to go see it so bad because he was like, dude, that fucking looks badass, like fucking a Fight Club or whatever, you know what I mean? And so I think he thought, and when it got done, I don't think he loved it as much because he's like, I thought there's gonna be like a lot more fighting in
it. And I can see it because I was like, that's kind of like in the like, not the middle, but kind of between the first part and in the middle, and then that's about it. After that, it's kind of like they do the whole big old plot.
And I loved it so much more for that. And also all of like Tyler's like
no, I liked the whole movie. I was like, it's just really good. I like how it kind of like just makes fun of itself too in a lot of ways.
Yes,
So,
but I love like a lot of the things like Tyler talks about. I'm like, man, he making like a lot of sense in like that in that Eric Killmonger, Eric Lyncher, Magneto type way. I'm like, what you're saying sounds kind of bananas, but I was like, that also.
Yeah.
When he talks about the debt record, and
yes,
he's like, oh, we'll just take it out. Yeah, everybody's out. There's no one dies, no one loses anything. He's like, it's just like fucking the big companies. I was like, man, I kind of like that. You know what I mean? Like when they're magnetizing the videos and they're fucking up the Starbucks. I was like, I mean,
but at the same time though, they're showing those products at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that was funny. But great movie.
Great movie. We need to sit down and figure out how to cover
all
that.
Because of CM just found out who Sam White Moon is.
Sam White Moon from CREEPSHOW. And real quick, Punisher XS says, "Hi everyone.
Hey,
what's this picture now here? I can't see this. It looks like Marty McFly. I don't know. Punisher, tell us your picture because I can't see it. I can't see really good without my glasses, anyways.
I really can't.
But yeah, but if you want to, feel free to share. But yeah, so Sam White Moon is standing there, whatever. And he's got this beautiful long hair. You know what I mean? And he's clearly clearly a part of.
It took him a long time to grow it.
Yeah, 9 years.
Take him to Hollywood.
Yeah, he's a part of the tribe, and he is there to rob the one fucking place
I
in
mean,
town.
it's kind of a twisted Reservoir Dogs. I mean, not Reservation Dogs,
Yes,
right? Where it's like they wanted to leave to go to California,
right,
you know? but
right.
this guy is trying to do it in a fucked up way.
Oh yeah, and he's got his two buddies
Pearl
there.
Rider. Okay, nice.
Okay, nice. Pale
Nice.
Rider. Oh damn, I love Pale Rider.
Nice.
Man, great, fucking. Oh yeah, that's him on the horse.
Yeah,
Okay, I see it now.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Oh fucking.
Oh
great.
yeah, okay.
Love that Punisher. Yeah, so Sam Whiteman wants to get himself to Hollywood because he believes that his long hair will have him in front of
And
all
his
the
natural
cameras.
charisma.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what's funny is that it does kind of come out at parts or whatever, you know. And okay, so Double A. One of the things I wanted to really have for when we finally covered this was the album of the Creepshow 2 soundtrack
Oh.
because man, especially in this first story, I felt like the music is so
Yeah.
perfect.
Yes, especially in this episode.
It's yes, because when he's taking the pictures in the photo booth, you know, it kind of like calms and you almost are kind of like Sam has dreams or whatever. You know? Like, damn it, maybe he's not a piece of shit. You know what I mean?
You know what? He sees this in Vader and Negan, so I can't blame him.
You quickly learn that Sam is a real piece of shit, though. And there are no redeeming qualities about him, and I'm fucking truly glad he gets what happens to motherfucker. Although stunning. Stunning hair and
Very nice
quite
hair.
the handsome man.
Very nice
And I
hair.
really love that shirt he puts on later on. I was like, that's a great shirt. I may have an interview soon,
shit.
and I was thinking I need to get a shirt
Oh,
like that,
shit.
like Sam Whiteman had. So he's got his two friends, Rich Boy and Fat Stuff. I mean, if you needed two friends, you got to have those two fucking guys. Yeah, exactly. Rich Boy is a rich boy, and Fat
With the
Stuff is
car.
a fat guy. So
Which is
yeah,
a stooge.
exactly, a stooge. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they basically are there to rob the spruces. There's
He knows. He's like he knows they had the items from his tribe,
Eline.
and then
Yeah.
just to grab snacks. Really.
Yeah. And it seems like a general like fuck you to the town as a whole.
Yes.
By like, I'm gonna fucking rob
Fuck
these
this
sweet
town.
old couple.
Yeah. Fuck you too.
Yeah, and as he says, ain't no tribe but Tom and wimpy ass Red. And I was like, wow, you are a fucking asshole, man. So in the midst of his robbing them, he goes to, Sam definitely tells his plan that they're gonna go to Hollywood.
Yeah, he tells them everything.
That the hair took him 9 years to grow, that it's gonna run between many women's thighs, his hair. And that there ain't no way they ain't gonna put him in front of them cameras. They're gonna say, Sam, get over here, get in front of these cameras. I'm like, boy, you got some fucking. I'm like, damn, the confidence is like oozing out of the man, right? There's a cool part where there's a comic book rack, old school, and there's Rich Boy spins it and he knocks it. And it's Creepshow comics, which is cool. He says, "Man, there ain't nothing here, Sam. Let's just leave. Whatever.
Let's just leave." They're like, "What are you doing? Like, let's go."
He's like,
You
"We
got the
took our
stuff."
purse.
Yeah.
We took what was in the register, which wasn't much."
Nothing. Yeah.
And he's like, "No, there's something else here." He's like, "I know my grandfather dropped off the shit from our tribe." And Ray, being the sweet man he is like, "You can't take this. This is your tribe, your tribe's."
Yeah, it's like
things,
it's
your
not even
family."
mine.
Right.
It's just kind of like
I'm holding
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I'm not going to give you this, whatever." And he says, "There's $10,000 worth of stuff in that thing."
Which I'm like, fuck.
And he's like, "That's the key to LA, whatever." He's like, "So you're going to give it up, or I'm going to fucking kill y'all, whatever, right?" And so it's like, and they're old guys, so it's they're like
can barely move old.
Right. And I don't know if what's his name again?
George Kennedy.
If that's the shape he was in at that time in his life, but he does a great job.
No, because in Naked Gun,
he's moving around,
moving
but he's moving very gingerly, and it's like, oh, it's so realistic. Like, oh my god, he's doing a great job.
Yeah, George Kennedy, we see the Naked Gun movies, even into the 90s, the mid 90s one, he's still moving good.
Yeah. And at one point, like we said, there's a photo booth in there, and he takes pictures of himself, and he's very proud, and he's even showing the wife. He's like, "Hey, check these out." He's like, "What do you think?" You know what I mean? And she's like, "Oh,
No,
okay."
boy used to call Tony Sam.
Oh yeah.
It's like-
Double A's cousin Tony also has very long hair.
And he's dark complected.
Yeah.
He's skinny, like Sam.
Yeah. I don't know. Sam was a little more fit than Tony, but we digress. Tony, by the way, Double A had some very interesting comments about Ahsoka, and it's in our comments on our Instagram.
Really?
And I was like, they were so interesting. I was like, come on the show, and he says, I'll come on if I'm off camera. And I was like,
man, so he's gonna be over here.
I guess I'll be over here.
Yeah, he'll be over there.
Voice.
He'll be over there.
We'll what do we got here? We'll put this up for Tony right here. Tony will be here with us.
Hi, all right.
Creep.
Yeah.
But his commentary was quite solid in the comments, and I was like, you fucker, I want to hear more of what you have to say.
Not bad, Tony. Not bad.
Yeah. He had my ear bent. I was like, all right. So yeah.
Now you have my attention.
Exactly. You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention. So Sam takes pictures of himself. He's trying to show Martha Spruce.
Hey, looking good. Shit.
She's there.
Yeah.
And at the time, Ray Spruce is just trying to get closer to her, right? Probably trying to comfort her. But he's already has the shotgun that he's been having throughout, and they've been busting up shit. And he's like, hey man, I already told you don't take another step or whatever. He's got the shotgun at her side, like in her abdomen, right? And Ray backs off or whatever, and then I forget what happens. Double A next.
That stuff tries getting the jewelry.
That's right, the jewelry, yeah.
And he's like, no, he's fighting him off.
Yeah, and Martha is like, no, stop it, leave him alone or whatever.
She's starting to panic, and I guess it makes Sam nervous that
we just hear boom.
And it's ugly because he has this really nasty shotgun, and he has it on her side. So like when they show it, they show like blood from like all your. Can you imagine? It's a shotgun. It's gonna fuck you up, and and all her insides are probably just gone.
Yeah,
So.
And the way that the blood bubbles up in her chest,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like the spots just come out. Yeah, Lane says, "Man, you guys going like 3 hours almost." Yeah, Lane, what? Creepshow, but also too, I felt like we digressed for a lot during the beginning, and we talked about
and the middle,
and we talked.
But we only got 2 more after this. So
yeah, just 2 more quick stories. I think Lane, I think we might hit 3 hours, but we'll be good after that. Lane, if you gotta go, brother, you go, but you come back and listen to it whenever you want. So so sadly,
now, and then they kill, Ray. They kill Ray and Martha.
Yeah, it's like after that, Sam is like, I think even he was kind of shocked at first, but then he was like, well, fuck it.
Yeah, he's cool. The other 2 are a little shaken up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But him, he's like,
well, actually, Rich Boy's not in the room because he had said, go get the car. And you see Fat Stuff throws up right away. He's like, whoa, like, what the fuck? And then Sam is just like,
but now they know this guy's willing to kill.
Oh,
so now they're kind of like, because he tells Rich Boy, go home, and if you don't come back,
I'm gonna find you.
I'm gonna find you.
Yeah, but he pumps like 3 rounds into Ray. Like he's just like boom, boom. Like he's like at that point he's like, well, I'm already a killer now, so I'm fucking just kidding. So then they go outside. They've got the stuff. They get into the car. The Firebird.
Drops, each of them off.
Yeah, and of course he's. It's not just a Firebird; it's a fucking Firebird. That's also when he sees the statue and he makes the comment I said earlier, about they're gonna leave and there ain't gonna be no tribe of Tom and wimpy ass red men, and then he shoots the fucking Chief Woodhead, boom, and then he howls, which is a pretty pussy howl. We find out after we hear a real howl coming up soon. So they leave. He drops them off, whatever, and then we see some weird shit happen, right? Double A. And if you rewatch this movie 1,000 times, like I have, you'll notice that before all this. There's a little bit earlier scenes with Benjamin where you kind of see the chief kind of move, right? And you're like, what the fuck? Did the wooden statue just move? So then we see this, right? We see the fucking foot start to rise on the chief.
The music starts kind of getting more and more unsettling. Yeah.
It's very like creepy and eerie, right? He reaches down with his hand, is all like, like a statue, right? So I don't know how they did this though. It looks so fucking good, man. It looks like a real statue. I mean, reaches into the paint that Ray was using earlier, and does its face paint. And then we hear, you're like, holy shit. And then right there we cut right to Fat Stuff in his fucking trailer park house, whatever. And he's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And he's like, he's watching, what the fuck is he
I don't
watching?
know what it is.
Yeah, there's just some guy on TV going, loco. And what did Fat Stuff get out of the fridge? Is it like some old fried chicken or something like that?
He's I don't know what the fuck
he's eating that. He's drinking yeah, he's got pictures of like nudie girls around or whatever, and he's just there fucking with. If they intentionally give him like this short
He
shirt, his
doesn't
belly's
bag. He
out.
doesn't. He just dresses the same. Like he's like cool. Whenever they pick me up, they pick me up.
Yeah, he's like fucking with it, right? He's watching TV. He's repeating the TV, the local line or whatever. And then what happens, Double A? We hear like a bow releasing.
Yep.
And it's like, boom, Fat Stuff gets hit with a fucking arrow. Boom, then another hero. And then he gets one right in the eyes. And we're still hearing on the TV, Loco. It's fucking great because great transition. Because then you get your rich boy's house.
Yeah.
And what's on TV that his parents are watching? The same fucking thing. Which I think it was, I heard it earlier and I was like.
I have no idea what the fuck that was. I have no idea what that is.
It's some old school shit that I know that we're looking at. We'll see, whatever. Real quick, Lane says, no, I think it's awesome you guys are going this long. It means you love what you're talking about. Absolutely, Lane. Oh, Lane, please don't go back to watch the old catalog of 4-hour episodes. Because there are a few of those in the house where we're really like, we got to get through all of this. It's like, we're going to go through all of it. I can't think exactly which ones are 4 hours, but is this original Star Wars trilogy 4 hours? It might be. There's some 4-hour ones in there, Lane, and yeah, we're trying to get as much in as we can, but for sure, we appreciate you guys being here again. If you're new, it's a long format podcast. We kind of just talk until we're done saying what we got to say about the topic. So thank you for joining in. Yes, Lane. It probably needs a redo, but it's. We would love to re-talk about that one. Original trilogy of Star Wars. We could probably do another episode, Double A, and talk about entirely different things we talked about in our original episode. Because again, too, we were kind of finding our legs a little bit when we did things early on, and I think now that we're much better at it now, that we can digress further. And plus, there's new lore, so it's like now we know more. Yeah. But real quick, so yeah, the Loco show, whatever the fucking is on, it cuts to Rich Boy's house, which is a nice house.
It's a nice house.
Folks are clearly seen watching TV, they're watching that. And Rich Boy is trying to get.
And you're like, what the hell are you doing? What are you hanging around with these people for? Like, you got a good home. Rich. Your parents are there. They got you a car. You're like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, but Sam Whitemoon is charismatic.
Man.
The hair just gets you. Man. And Rich Boy was a good-looking guy too. That guy went on to more acting, right?
I don't know.
I think he did. I think he did. So, does he hear something that he goes to the garage, or he's just going?
Yes, he hears because a car. He fucked up the car.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. As Lane mentioned earlier. The fucking car is all smashed up, the windows and everything. Old Chief Woodenhead didn't care that it was a fucking Firebird. He was like, "Fuck your car, Rich Boy." So he goes in there, he sees that. But what's cool, right, is that all this is in silhouette.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You see Rich looking at the car.
It's great too because, like you're saying how it's like a wooden statue, and even like the shadows look like it's a fucking wooden statue that's killing you. It looks crazy.
Which Double A, when I rewatched this yesterday, I was thinking to myself, and I not even knowing what we know now, doing the silhouette thing must have saved on the budget a bunch.
Yep.
Some guy holding up that part of the thing, right? The bust. And then he's got the tomahawk in his hand. And then you just see it just like digging into Rich Boy. And there's blood splatter, blood splatter, which I'm like, so clever. It's well done.
Yeah.
It's very well done. And then that's the end of Rich Boy, right? Yeah. So, and again, too,
I think the family finds him, right, or something. They hear the car going.
I think they just hear, but they don't show them.
Okay, they don't show it. Okay.
Because then it cuts to, I forget what the transition scenes. Oh, the garage door goes down.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it is.
Yeah. And then we know now as a viewer, you're like, oh, we're going right to Sam's house, right? And I'm like, we're gonna go to Sam's. Obviously, he's the last one. Yeah, and Sam's there, and he's of course priming himself.
Getting ready, man.
He put on a nice dress.
That nice shirt.
That's a nice shirt. and his house is like the in between of the other two, whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, if you're gonna go, Native American, it's like, Old Chief Woodenhead has already used the bow, then he's used the tomahawk. What's next, right? So,
what's next?
What is he gonna use, right? So obviously he's gonna get this. He wants revenge. It says it on the fucking shirt, guys. So he's there. And what happens? He's looking at Sam. He's talking to himself again. He's
talking to himself. He's getting ready, and then that's when Woodenhead attacks.
Yes, and he looks. He sees him in the doorway, and he's like, "No, man, you ain't real." He's like, you ain't alive. You know what I mean? He's got the knife. He's just got like the straight, the classic like knife, the one in this picture right here. Because this is the scene pretty much when he fucking sees Sam. So Sam is fucking freaked out, right, or whatever. So he's like, fuck this, you know what I mean? Like, grab my shotgun and get out of here. He runs and locks himself in because he shoots it first.
Yes.
Boom.
Yes.
Boom. Chief Woodhead keeps coming, right? It's like, this is a spirit of vengeance right here. This is like fucking Ghost Rider, you know what I mean? Yeah. So he's like, fuck this. So he runs to the bathroom and locks himself in, right? Because at this time, I imagine you're probably kind of like, is this fucking happening?
Yeah, is this happening? And
he gets, smart. He's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So he busts out the window or whatever, right? So you're thinking like, oh shit, this motherfucker's gonna escape. He's gonna leave. And then RoboCop style. I think before RoboCop, right?
Yeah. When was RoboCop? No. Yeah, 87.
87. The same time?
Yeah. So whatever.
Chief Woodhead fucking bursts through the fucking wall and grabs this motherfucker through the wall out. And it cuts to the scene on the other side, right? Where you see Sam like through the thing, Sam, and he's like, ah, and Chief Woodhead's got the arm up. And I don't know if they show it.
They don't show it.
They
don't show it.
So
but they show, but they show what he did on the next, the next.
Yes, because then we cut to Benjamin Whitemoon and
where he's waking up and he's like, he feels like there's something wrong.
Yeah, and then he touches the side of his leg and he sees Aline is there.
Yeah, he's like, what the hell?
The nice leather like satchel of all the stones and stuff. So he's like right away like, what the fuck? I've got to go drive to the Spruce's general store. He drives over there and the answers are all right there, right? Double A, because Chief Woodenhead is right where he belongs, but in his hand is fucking that 9-year hair of Sam Whitemoon.
I was like, shit, he scalped him.
Scalped his ass. And then, Benjamin Whitemoon is just like, may your spirit rest now, Chief Woodenhead, which is like, because he knew. I mean, like, it's just, to me, it was just like, this is fucking tight storytelling. Like, wow. Like, everything, all the comeuppance, it all wrapped up nicely. And what would you say, Double A? Like, what is it, 5, 8 minutes?
Yeah.
Because the whole movie is only like an hour and a half. Yeah, I mean, so.
If they gave each of them 20 minutes, probably.
Yeah.
In between.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Again, as a kid, I'm just like this. I'm like, oh.
It's
that's fucking cool.
It's like me and Sam have always said, man, we really have appreciated the 30-minute shows where it's like, man, they got so much in there. You got so much, story in that time frame.
Guys, I know we just talked about things like Ahsoka. We've talked about Andor. We've talked about, and again, I'm not harping on Star Wars because even some of the Marvel shows have done the same thing. I'm like, we're getting all this time, but then there's so little payoff. I'm like, go back to Batman the Animated Series. Go back to Superman the Animated Series. Go back to Spider-Man the Animated Series. Go back to X-Men the Animated Series. Look at what they did in 22 minutes. In 22 minutes. Yeah, the Twilight Zone. The fucking Twilight Zone. These movies, I'm like, look at how much story. You made me care instantly about certain characters. I had a vested stake in what happened to them. And then there was, a payoff. A good payoff. There was a dip and then a climax and then and I was like, wow.
And all in that little bit of time.
I mean, watch fucking Heart of Ice. Yeah. And you'll be like, boy.
Yeah, you'll be like, that completely reinvented that character.
Wow.
Of Mr. Freeze.
Or the Tiger one with the fucking Dr. Moreau story. Again, I'm thinking Batman the Animated Series because those are so well done. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's our again. It wouldn't be a podcast if we're not digressing. So we're going to try to hit 3 hours.
There you go.
Let's try to keep it.
Well, we are.
We'll see. So then real quick, Elaine says, and can we just talk? And can we just talk? All talk for 4 hours? Yeah, absolutely. Each movie deserves that, no doubt. He says, I mean, the Slave Leia metal bikini is worth 1 hour talking alone. Oh, absolutely. I will go all in on that, no doubt. I love it, brother. He says, there was a payoff to the event. Absolutely, absolutely. That's what we're like. Hey, don't leave it open ended. Don't make us wait. Like get to the fucking. I hate to say, I don't want to say this because I did love the Ahsoka show. The more I think back about it, because a lot of times things for me in my mind need to marinate.
Yeah, of course.
But I did see this meme, and it said, did Dave Filoni really have to do 8 1-hour episodes to tell us that Thrawn was back? Couldn't he have just had someone say simply like, hey, General Thrawn is back or whatever, and then we could have had a whole different series? And I was like, oh, fuck, that's kind of true. I was like, I didn't really need to see her getting there. You know what I mean? Like what we got didn't really like. There was not a lot of paying off. It was like, okay, like I want to see.
Like you
some
wanted
more
maybe
shit.
the last 3 episodes to be the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Right? Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And then see the next 3 or whatever episodes of Thrawn being back.
Yeah, and again, like I said, I feel like you could tweak it here and there and put that 5th episode at the end with all the Anakin stuff, and people would have just gone nuts. They would have gone fucking. They would have been saying that was the best Star Wars show probably ever, because you put that at the end where you're like, oh man, even knowing that he was going to be there but not seeing him yet, being like, oh man, oh yeah, we saw some holograms, we saw some training videos, but then you're like, you got that episode stands alone. Like, I just watched that over and over again. Like the Clone Wars shit, all that shit. I was like, oh man, that's just fucking so beautiful. So, there's that. A lot of shows cannot do that now, Lane says. Absolutely agree with you. Lane says also, so putting you on the spot from Creepshow 2. What are
your 3
one
top
answer?
stories?
What are your 3
Just
top
top
stories?
3
Not ordering. You want to go first?
Yeah, so the Geordie one is my number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Chief Woodenhead number 2,
Mm-hmm.
and the what is it?
Ooh, pulling
Something
two.
that tied you over.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
I was like, pulling 2 from part 1. I like that.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, those 3 stories really just were burned into my head.
No, yeah.
The dancing
Yes.
Leslie Nielsen, just how fucking brutal he kills
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
The Geordie one, because of the suicide, like that was kind of like one of the first times I've ever seen like a suicide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where he's like, holy shit. And then the Chief Woodenhead, just because how powerful that story is. You know what I mean?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Dang it. I won't lie to you, Lane. I'm a little bit torn, but I will go with this. I can easily rank you and tell you right now, Chief Woodenhead is number 1 for me. I know you said not ordering, but Chief
No, but
Woodenhead
I
number
can see
1.
that for you for sure.
Yeah, number 2, I want to go with the Raft, actually.
That was a
And
good one. I love the rap.
Number 3, it is actually a tie for me. I know that's cheating, I know, but I would say the Jordy Verrill story and the Hitchhiker. Yeah, because I mean, like,
The Hitchhiker is hard. It's hard to not include. 'Cause
yeah,
that one's a really good story of just. I mean, it's really a whole episode. It's really a whole. I guess you could say episode of her just driving
mhm,
and being terrorized.
yeah, and definitely from part 1, the Jordy Verrill story is my favorite one. I mean,
Okay,
I think I like it
okay.
because it's king and like but again, it's like it's tragic and sad
It's
in a way.
very tragic.
You know what I mean?
was
So
like,
yeah.
damn.
But again, Lane, like if I had to kick one out, I mean, it would probably be the Jordy story, and it would just be like a 1, 2, 3 in the order of part 2, because again, I stand by that movie, not just in horror, not just in Halloween, just I watch it like at least once a year. So
Yeah.
which I can't say that about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So
And it really doesn't matter what time of the year it is.
exactly. If you just want to be like a little bit like it's a rainy day, you can
Yeah.
put it on and be like,
Yeah.
ooh, this is a little bit
Yeah.
like it's got a little bit,
Yeah.
hints to it. So then Lane says, I hated the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka like the rest. I could see that. I thought there was some good action in episode 1. You know what I mean? So of that one, but I get you. He says, for me, it's
The
number 1,
Raft.
the Raft, great pick. Number 2, Chief Woodenhead. Number 3, the Hitchhiker.
Oh,
You went
it's,
all part 2,
but just
awesome. Yeah, I got you, Lane. I feel you on that. He says, I think I have more Creepshow 2.
those are Creepshow.
I saw it in the first. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I get it because, too, I don't know exactly what age you are, Lane, but if you're of our age, that one was out like more in the time, like it came out in 87. So I feel like it would have been more prevalent,
Yeah.
like seeing it or whatever,
for sure.
than the first one would have been. Just like how we always say, like, I feel like I'm of the Superman 3, Rocky 4 time because that's when those
Like
were
for me,
out.
Quest for Peace, I thought was the shit.
Yeah.
I thought Superman Part 4, the way he got beaten, the way he fought another superpowered
Mhm.
guy that just like him. I was like, with Lex Luthor in the story. I was like, shit. I thought that was the
yeah.
shit. I
It's
was
the
like,
same with Return of the Jedi. For the longest time, I thought A New Hope was kind of boring. I was
yeah,
like,
I had the
boring.
same fucking
You know what I
feeling
mean?
too for a long
And
time.
I remember too thinking
before
that,
I saw it again as I got older,
yeah,
and I was like, okay,
yeah,
I can appreciate what they're doing.
absolutely.
Now.
But that
Yeah.
is like a young kid's mind. The same way that I thought about like the first Rocky. I thought it was slow. I was like,
Yeah.
is
me
this?
too.
the- I was like, I like Rocky 4
Yeah,
better.
you can
with,
see
like,
how Rocky 4 is more exciting,
yeah, like
right?
the big Russian and like
Exactly.
Steve Bright was a robot in it. I was like,
Exactly.
"This is fucking awesome."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't. But I mean, when you, as an adult, you watch, you're like, oh, those movies are vastly superior. Empire is vastly superior. I mean, but it doesn't mean I don't love Jedi. I do, but you know,
like for real. Like I used to think Temple of Doom was number 2. I used to think Last Crusade was the best in Temple of Doom. Until I saw Raiders again, like in the 2000s. I was like,
great.
Wow. Like, okay, I can see why this is number 1.
Yeah.
Raiders is just really fucking badass.
It like hits like
yeah.
And again too, for me, that story, like that thing is like, oh, super cool or whatever. You know, and as much as I love Last Crusade, I do sometimes felt like some of it was like really convenient, like it happened like it's just a little like, you know, the other one feels more like, ooh, it's more, you know what I mean?
Like Temple of Doom scared the shit out of me.
Temple of Doom is really cool. I mean, but that
again,
one
when I was watching a kid, I was like, shit, you know, like the heart.
Oh yeah,
it's still beating.
Yeah,
and it's on fire. You're like, holy shit!
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely. Did you catch a new one yet?
Yeah,
the latest one. Yeah.
Okay, I went to the theater.
Yeah. Did we talk about that?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, so you do it?
Yeah, we did.
I do this all the time.
Yeah,
did we talk? Did we talk?
Yes, we did.
Fuck, I don't
yes, we did.
You guys got to give me a moment here. It's been a long week, so real quick here. Let's see. It says Lane says he says 45. Okay, yeah, so very close. Yeah, I'm 42, so we're right there. This is double A. Favorite villain, Nuclear Man, long nose. The long nose.
Again, look, if you look at part 1, okay, it's the best one by far. But if you look at part 1 as a kid, you're like, man, there's a lot of talking. Lex Luthor, you know, there's not really much you can do.
Like Superman doesn't beat anybody up.
Part 2, I don't know. There was something about part 2 that didn't catch my attention until I got older. Where part 2, I really fell in love with part 2.
Yeah. Well, I like that one because then I was like, oh, he's punching people now. Like,
part 3, I thought was just boring. Boring as hell. As a kid, I was like, part 3 just fucking sucks. Like, I didn't like it back then. I know you like that one.
I like that one.
I saw it again, Sam, and I didn't like it.
I mean, you give me that junkyard scene over and over.
But that's it.
And the evil Superman is scary.
But that's about it. You
yeah.
know? Yeah. The rest of that movie is just pure.
And what about her when she gets all the?
She was scary looking. The Brainiac looking. Yeah, and then but part 4, where he goes all over the world and takes all the nukes away, and you know there's Luthor again, and he clones him and makes a guy that hurts Superman.
Oh,
I was like, whoa.
Oh, when they're fighting on the moon, I was kind of like, what the fuck is that? I don't like this. I don't like this. But see, again, that's our little age difference.
Exactly.
What 4 for you, Quest for Peace, that's what 3 was for me. You know, the Richard Pryor one, and it was just like, again, I was like, I'm so hurt when he's bad. Like, I'm like, why are you like? I felt like a little boy. I was like,
but then when I, obviously when I got older and I saw 4, I was kind of like, shit.
And then you see
not as good as I remember.
Right. And then you can see how 2 is like really good.
And then really good, but then the first one just blows me away. I'm just
although there are parts of one, like I said, the opening, and then like when Lois is her explanation in the sky, I was like, I don't like this.
I know you don't, but man, that movie to me, I can see why it fucking just was there. I was just like, wow, this is still the best Superman.
That one in many ways is like that end piece is like, it's just really grandiose. Like, I know you always talk about his scream, and I love that, but just the idea of like the man is driven to like.
That's why I always said, Sam, I wish there was a deleted scene where right where he screams, Jimmy Olsen is there and his fucking head just blows up. Because no one will be able to survive his fucking scream.
Now you're talking about the boys now. I just love that this man.
And I'm sorry we're talking about Superman.
I'm not. I'll never apologize
for CREEPSHOW.
I just, when it's like he's so.
I don't even know how we got here.
Yeah, he's so determined that he's like, I'll just turn this motherfucker around. And I was like, people are always like,
he had that ability.
People are like, I didn't know you could do that. I'm like, you know now. Now you know. Look at you now.
Yeah.
Just like he could take off his S and throw it.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit.
He's fucking Superman. He can just do what he wants.
He can do whatever the fuck I want. Like Homelander.
Yeah, exactly.
Do whatever
the fuck I want. Exactly. Fucking question me. I love it. Then Lane says, he says, double A, well,
what the fuck is his dog guy? He should kneel before my nuclear man. He can shoot lightning bolts or roar like a dying jaguar.
Jaguar. Fuck yeah, exactly. Fuck you, Terrence Stamp. I was like, That's great shit, man. He says, "You get me involved in a conversation, you're gonna jump around to all different topics, like a
My
brother. Dude." Again, our good friend Jerry D from Total America says it wouldn't be a podcast if you didn't divert. So totally
Like, again, I don't even know how we got from fucking Creepshow to Superman 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I love it. I love it though, man. I think what we were trying to say was that some things meant one thing to you when you were young than they do to you when you're old.
Yeah,
so you can
there you go.
appreciate
There you go.
things
Yeah.
differently. So yeah, well, we're definitely all kids of the '80s, so I get it. Yeah,
Man.
the majority of us.
Real bad.
But no, okay. So let's hop into this second tale, right? So we move
The
quickly.
raft.
Yes.
Yes.
But let's also talk real quick about the animation in between.
Oh, yeah.
Because is this Billy supposed to be the same Billy from part
I
one?
don't know. I
think he
really
is,
don't
because
know.
He's blonde with like the bangs,
Okay.
and I think he is, because we didn't even talk about that. But at the
Yeah, it is.
end,
Yeah,
the end of part one, Billy, the comic book that got thrown out, the trashmen find it. One of the trashmen is who? Tom Savini.
Yes.
And he's like, "Oh man, check out this out." He's like, "Man, my kids love these, whatever." And he's like, "Look at this, you can order all this weird stuff." And he's like, "Yeah, you can order the voodoo doll." And he's like, "No, this one's been cut out." And so later on, we see Billy's dad, having
That's like a
breakfast.
kind of like an asshole.
Oh, he's a major asshole.
Yeah.
He slapped the shit out of him earlier in the movie just for reading comic books,
Yeah.
which I don't agree with. So then Billy's dad's trying to have breakfast, and mind you, he's all proud of himself afterwards when the wife is like, "Oh, you were too hard on him," whatever, as he drinks his beer in a glass, pours it in a glass. I was like, "Oh, you're one of those types." So he's doing that. He's all proud of himself at breakfast, whatever. And he starts to like choke and gag or whatever. You know what I mean? And he's like,
Ooh, that part was nasty. That part is really.
And then we see he ordered the voodoo doll, and he's getting his. He's like, "I'll teach you to throw my comic books away," which is a very cool end scene to the Creepshow Part 1. So then I assume this is the same kid because it's Billy again, a blonde haired kid with bangs.
So. Yeah.
He's the one waiting on the creep. Now I guess he's without a dad now, I guess. So he's a single mom family.
Fuck that dude.
Yeah, fuck that dude. So he gets his comics, and throughout he's like, is he dealing with the bullies, right? He's dealing with the bullies.
In this one he's dealing with the bullies.
These bullies are fucking with him or whatever, and these guys are classic assholes. One of them's got, riding his bike but with motorcycle boots and a cutoff shirt. I want his ass.
I want his ass. After Billy like fucking kicks him in the balls.
Oh, rowdy. Yeah, man, it's a fucking.
You can feel the animation.
Yeah.
You can still feel it.
I think fucking Billy got both because I felt like the whole his whole Chuck Taylor was wedged deep between that dude's fucking balls. So yeah, and Billy's been trying to order some Venus flytraps out of the
man.
They eat meat.
Yeah.
So that all comes to fruition. But in the meantime, the creep is keeping us engaged by letting us know about this second tale called The Raft.
The Raft.
So we have 4 characters, 2 girls, 2 guys. They're driving out during, as Layton educated us on, during the summer to go swim out on this raft, whatever. But I guess they're up north, so it's still cold or whatever. Again, I like to imagine maybe it's spring break. They're off. They're going to go check it out.
I mean, it's kind of weird because like the chicks I think have sweaters on.
Yeah.
And the dudes have like just regular clothes on. So I'm sure that at least they let the women wear sweaters at least.
They're riding with the windows down too, but they allude several times to it being cold. Like they're like, "Wow, it's fucking like chilly or whatever." You know what I mean? Like even when they touch the water, they're like, "Fuck, it's fucking cold."
It's like you said though, there is water though. Like throughout the year, it doesn't matter. It's just fucking cold.
Especially here in Texas, it's like the Frio River. You can go like when the sun is blazing on top of you and touch that water, and it's fucking freezing.
Yeah.
Like it's like ice water. And again, like I said, I've been to Gardner State Park during spring break, and it's warm outside. The sun is out, and it's warm on your shoulders. And you're like, man, I want to get in the water. And that water is so cold it will numb your body.
I don't know if you remember when we were at the cabin. And me and William were thinking about going into that pool. Right. We're like, man, I was like, man, it's really fucking cold, right? Like, we weren't paying attention at all. All of a sudden, our cousin Ruben comes from behind us and pushes both of us into that fucking pool. And it was fucking cold. Like, it was one of those like fucking movies where he just went boom, he pushed me and Will into the fucking pool. We're like, oh man, I was like, oh shit, it's fucking cold.
I bet your brother Will was pissed
No,
off.
we're both laughing. We're all laughing. I started laughing because I mean it was funny. It was like it's those scenes that you see in the fucking movie that
Yeah.
you don't think is ever gonna happen. This motherfucker comes from behind us and fucking pushes both of us in there. Me and Will are like this, like I don't know, like we're like really debating. I don't know. It's pretty fucking cool. Fucker just comes and boom.
I made up your mind for you right there.
I got out real quick. I was like, fuck that.
Dude, I'm telling you, that time we went to spring break at Gardner, I was with like Foxy Roxy and like Holty Bear, you know, two of the Friday Nighters, and we were like determined, like, oh, it's spring break, it's hot,
Yeah,
we want to
yeah.
get in some water, and we got in and it was so cold. Like I remember being like, I could not feel my limb, but I was like, I need to get the fuck out, like people were like, oh, it'll warm when you move around. And I was like, nope, this is not warming up.
No.
This is not warming up at all. It is very cold. So we have Poncho or
Randy.
it's
Randy.
Randy. His name is something
Cisco.
else, but they're called,
Cisco.
yeah, they keep calling each other like
Yeah, because
Poncho and
they're
Cisco.
Poncho and Cisco.
Yeah, they're making reference to something else, but
His name is Randy and Deke.
yeah, Deke. That's
Deke,
his name.
yeah.
Deke. Yeah, and then I forget the two girls. Lorraine and I forget what the other one's name was. So they go out to this raft. You know, they're smoking weed. You know,
Yeah, they find some spot. I don't even know how they fucking got to this spot, but there's like a sign that says like no swimming or whatever.
right.
Which or is that towards
we
the
was
end?
at the end.
Okay, that's the end.
Yeah.
So they just stop at this fucking random spot.
Well, Randy was there like the week before. He says, 'cause
Oh,
he's like,
okay,
I
okay,
saw the raft.
okay.
And man, we don't even know the raft is going to be there. And they're like, he's like, it'll be there. I was there the week before. It's going to be there, whatever. And their plan is to swim out to the raft and hang out with these chicks, right? I guess.
Which
smoke out.
again, right? You're kind of like, wow, that spot, like just
Yeah. I mean, you know, I guess it's the 80s, so it's like
Yeah.
the thing to do, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So I think,
You would have thought. You would have thought you would have gone somewhere more. I don't know, public where there's more
yeah,
people.
yeah.
Not like a Canyon Lake area, you know?
Right, right. And I think Deke has on like a Rams jersey, which is also like,
Yeah, that's right.
Is that a Rams
Well,
jersey?
because the Addison might be in California,
Maybe
San
Okay.
Diego. So,
Okay,
yeah,
possibly.
yeah.
But it just looks so woodsy. So
Yeah, that's what I'm
just
saying. I'm like,
assume-
really, like this spot, this fucking spot.
I just feel like King writes everything in Maine, so they're in Maine or they're in
Yeah.
like the up north. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But they get out there and their plan is to swim out into the lake onto this raft and just hang out.
Just
with the
hang out.
girls, right? Like, yeah, they've
Yeah.
got. Again, I don't even know what the fuck Deke whatever puts the weed in. Like he must have like a.
no shit, right?
'Cause
Where the fuck
he-
would you put
He
it?
puts it in his
Yeah.
trunks. I think.
I was like, man, those must have sealed it pretty tight.
Yeah,
No water
well,
got it.
I think he has him in like a little, like almost like a
Yeah, but
like a medical tube. Well, right, but that's the thing though. Is I was
Yeah.
like, motherfucker, you're gonna swim. Your plans to smoke weed. You need matches and that. Like, what if your match blows
Yeah.
out? Like, you only got fucking. All right. Either way,
we're thinking too
much. He hadn't worked out. The four of them swim out to the well, Deke and Randy swim out to the raft
Uh-huh.
first. They
Mhm.
get out there fine. Then the two girls go to swim and they're cold. They make
Yeah,
mention of it
fucking
being the
cold,
water's
yeah.
being very cold. They start to swim, and as they're swimming, Randy notices something in the water, and it's like a circular blob-looking thing,
Mhm.
right? And he starts to get a little paranoid, right? He's like,
Think
"Come
of
on,
it like
swim
if you see like a whole
faster."
bunch of like black trash bags, just kind of like
Yes.
all together, and it's just kind of like.
Right. But
swimming
imagine
towards-
seeing it like move, like
But it's moving, and
like-
and it looks like it's moving
towards
towards
the
you.
people,
It's not
right.
just like drifting off.
yes,
You know, it's coming to you.
and Randy notices as it starts to get kind of freaked out. He's like, "Come on, swim faster, swim faster." He's like getting after the girls, and they're kind of like, "What the
He
fuck?"
fucking he picks up that red hair one pretty
Oh
nasty.
yeah, he pulls her kind
And
of
I'm
hard
like, oh, she probably had scrapes on her fucking
in real
leg.
life,
I was
right?
like,
Yeah, because even she says she's like, "You hurt my
yeah,
leg
I
or
was
whatever."
like,
And
ah.
I think if you've ever been pulled out of like a pool or anything like that, like like you got to do that shit kind of carefully
Yeah.
because you'll fucking just get all
Yeah,
like
he's just
rubbed.
like fucking dragging her. I was like,
But he's
oh.
scared for her, right? And then they're worried about the other girl. So then he starts to discuss with the other guy, Deke, whatever. He's like, the thing looked like it was coming for them,
Mhm.
for the girls. Or he's
Mhm.
like, what the fuck? It's like you sound crazy, whatever. He's
Yeah,
like,
it's
no,
like you're
look at
stupid.
and
Yeah.
they're like, it's just an oil slick. He's like, look
Mhm.
at it. And then he's like, well, have you ever seen a round oil slick?
Yeah.
And he starts to, And what's funny is that earlier, I failed to mention, but I wanted to mention this earlier when Deke jumps in the water, he's like, he tells the other girl, he's like, careful. He's like, your heart could stop, whatever. It's 50 degrees, whatever. And he tells the girl, he's like, I know that because I'm pre-med or whatever. I was like, wow, what a douchebag. So again, they all get out to the raft, and he notices like something's up with that fucking thing. He's like, it freaks him out. He's like, I don't know.
It's just kind of there. It's not moving away like you would think.
Right. Right.
You know?
Real quick, let me get to Elaine's comments here. He says, okay, so what do you guys have planned for next week? Oh, do we have,
We're not too sure.
we're not too sure. We're thinking about something special, Lane, but we'll let you know for sure. And then he says, I do wonder how the creature effects for the killer oil, how they did the creature effects for the killer oil slick. It was one of the creepiest things I've seen. The overhead shot,
of
yes,
all the
with
skeletons.
yes, that was fucking creepy. Definitely, Lane. You're definitely right about that, and we're gonna get to that. So, again, everything moves so quickly in these, right? Away so quickly we get to the first kill, which is like the girl that was supposed to be with Randy, this redhead. She kind of gave me like Harry vibes, like the way she looked, whatever. Like she seemed kind of simple and her straight hair. And...
Like who?
Carrie?
Oh, Carrie. I'm sorry. I thought you said Harry. I was like, who?
Harry? No.
I'm sorry.
Because she gets onto the raft and they're there, and then she starts to play with it. Yeah, she has her cigarette or her weed cigarette or whatever it is, and she sees it and they're like, oh, she's like kind of messing. Which I'm like, if it's an oil slick, why the fuck would you dip your cigarette in there, whatever? And then what does it do? Double A, like we kind of see a very like symbiote style, like it wraps around her arm and it fucking yanks her in.
Well, it starts kind of like burning her too, right? Like it's eating her skin or whatever.
And I gotta say, I gotta give these kids credit because there's great acting. They're like, the way they like it seems very like,
man, it seems very painful.
Fuck.
Like it's not killing you quick. It's fucking killing you.
And it
slow.
looked too, right? The only way it had the skin grabbed, and like you could
it's
see,
just like it's going through.
Yeah,
everything.
Like I'm like, I wonder how they did that because even the way it like latches on, I was thinking they filmed it in reverse, where like, they had it on and they reversed the film.
They could have,
So it looks cool, and it yanks her in, and the other two are making out, right? Deke and Lorraine.
Yes,
and she's even like, oh, did she fall in? Blah blah, and he's like, I think Randy is kind of like, what the fuck, or whatever. You know what I mean? Because she was playing with it. And then we see her kind of bob out, right? And she's like, help me. And she's all like, and I think they're going to initially jump in and then like stop.
Yeah, he's like, no.
And I mean, like,
which are kind of like, shit, that fucking sucks.
And she kind of bobs up a couple times, and then she bobs up one time, and she's just like a skeleton. And you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, you start to trip the fuck out. And you're like, oh shit.
It's like it kills you nasty and it kills you slow.
Yeah.
Where like it just burns off your flesh and your muscles and all that kind of shit.
So the other gal, Lorraine, starts to totally freak out.
Yeah.
He's freaking out or whatever. And Deke is no help because he's like getting his buzz harshed, and he's like, shut the fuck up or I'm gonna fucking slap you. Yeah, I'm gonna smoke you, Lorraine. Yeah, which is like, wow. Okay.
Well, you gotta think. Shit, shut up.
Yeah, shut up.
Shut up, bitch.
And his thoughts are, I'm fast and I can make it.
I'm
gonna out, and I'm like, how does that help the group?
I don't know how that helps the other group. Yeah.
But I don't think he really cared about them that much. So Randy is like, no, don't do that. And he's like, I'm gonna go right now. So he fucking is gonna attempt to jump into the water when what?
It fucking comes from underneath.
Between the boards. Remember, they're on a raft, so there's boards, whatever. They don't know this yet, but they're just walking all willy nilly, and it symbiotes.
They have some openings in these boards. Yeah, and it gets Zeke pretty nasty because I think it pulls him, but his leg is still kind of like up while his body's like sinking down.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like, there's some broken shit there, and he's screaming, it's in pain.
And pretty much he's looking at his foot.
Yeah.
Though, it's like it pulls him down in a way where his leg like, breaks up, and he's like, and you're like, oh, holy fuck, that's not good.
And I was like, man, I like Deke. I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, he really knew how to handle situations. So yeah. And that's the end of him. And then Lorraine proceeds to jump right into Randy's arms and is like, don't fucking put me down. It's going to get me.
Which you see it kind of coming through
it's bubbling up. And he's smart enough now to step between only on the boards. He's like, it can't get us if we're on the boards. Which I'm like, I don't understand why. It seemed like it could do whatever it wanted.
Right. Burns.
Right. And he's even telling her, he's like, I have to put you down. Like, you're heavy and you're choking me. He's like, I got to put you down. So eventually he puts her down. He sets her down. He's like, stay on the boards.
And I think it shows like the slick is just not moving, right? Like it
Right.
moves, but then it's just like there.
Yeah, it's around. Like it,
Yeah.
it moves from out from under them, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like around.
So they're just like there the whole fucking day. It's just, you know, it's getting colder. You know, it's getting more.
And I imagine
uncomfortable.
night at that place is cold because
And
they say
yeah,
they're
you see the
cold.
breath coming out.
Yes.
It's like, ew,
Yeah, you're like,
shit.
fuck, and they've got barely like anything on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can't imagine dealing with that. And I think he says like, let's take turns sleeping or whatever because
Mhm.
we can't both fall asleep because it'll fucking get us.
Yeah.
So they're like, all right. So I think they take turns sleeping. She's asleep, and then we get the infamous morning scene. Right? Is that it?
Yeah, what a dickhead! Like seriously, dude. Like, that's your
Not even that.
fucking
That's what's on
thought?
your mind. Like
That's
I'm
your
like,
fucking hit. Like he liked her so much that he starts like bringing the sweater up and starts kissing her like her tits and everything. I'm like, wow.
so there is some gratuitous nudity at this
Yeah.
point.
I was like, man, this like even like as a kid, I was like, man, this motherfucker. Like seriously,
Yeah.
like
But damn, Double A, it quickly turns awry.
yeah,
when-
because she starts moving. She's kind of groaning. He's kind of like, oh, and then he's like pretends like nothing happened. He brings his sweater down. But then
yeah,
she starts moaning.
yeah.
like,
And you thought
nasty.
like, oh, she was moaning in ecstasy, but no.
No, it's like that shit has grabbed her fucking face, and who knows how long it's been there, but it looks like it's been there a good while. Where like it's already been like the flesh has been coming off already.
And she turned, and it's a pretty grisly
Yeah,
scene where
That
it's
was
already-
cool.
Yeah,
That was
like,
really cool.
the slime
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah, and she's again a great acting job because she's like, "Ah!" like, and he's like, fuck.
And that's where that motherfucker is like, you
Well,
know what?
I better
You're
make
dead.
I better make a run for it. So he decides to swim to shore without her because she's like Double A said, no, you fucking said.
You know, you're fucked.
And he's like, I can make it now because it's eating her.
It's
right
eating
now.
her.
So-
Yeah.
which is a pretty smart thought. And do we see it Double A in the water?
Yeah, it actually
going
does
after
come,
him?
and you're like, damn, it's fucking going quick. Like it's following him pretty fucking
Yeah.
quick. Well, he makes it on like to the land. He makes it, and
To
he
the
starts
shore.
laughing and I beat you. I beat you. Well, this fucking thing like jumps up and fucking just consumes him and,
like a wave.
and brings him into the water again.
Does it burp? I think it does burp.
Yeah, I
right?
think
It's
it
like, like it like burps. I'm like, man, this fucking thing ate 4 fucking full humans or whatever. And then like in classic creep show fashion, it's like panning out, and to the right you see the sign, no swimming.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh fuck, man, like that was crazy. Especially since you thought, he made it. The Camaro is still there with the music
Yeah, it's
playing.
still blasting. I'm like,
the
damn, that's a
doors
good
open.
battery. Shit.
Yeah. I was like, fuck, man, that's fucking like, it's like a good little like, oh, he didn't make it.
I was like, wow, everyone died.
Yeah,
Like, everybody. I was like, wow.
everybody got
I
it.
think there had always been someone alive in these
Mhm.
stories, but it was like, damn, the whole gang was dead.
Yeah. And so I think we might have had it wrong earlier because in between story 1 and 2, in between story 1 and 2, Chief Woodenhead and the raft, Billy goes to the post office to get the bull.
No, that's in the beginning.
Oh, okay. That's in the
So it
beginning.
is true. So we don't
Okay.
get anything in between this one and this one.
Oh, okay.
The
okay.
animation finishes off the movie.
The minute. Okay.
But,
the
so we
last.
go from here to the hitchhiker.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So we go right into the Hitchhiker, which many people believe is the scariest story of the 3, and I do not disagree with them.
I know it's kind of cool because like I didn't recognize her at first until again I saw it like maybe in later 90s when I got into my Bond phase. She's Dr. Holly Goodhead in Moonraker.
What a great name.
Yeah, what a great name, Goodhead. Yeah, and I was like, oh shit, that's cool. So like it's really cool. There's
I
a
didn't
Bond
realize
girl.
that.
Yeah,
She's in one of the
yeah,
Bond movies.
uh-huh.
Okay, cool.
Moonraker.
From our Ahsoka episode, Fire Night Marquise actually dressed as the Hitcher for
Yeah.
Halloween one year, and I was like, I applaud you, brother. That's fucking amazing. What a great choice. And he was like, yeah, I thought nobody was gonna know who I was. Or he even had like the Dover sign,
Mhm.
and he was like, nah. He was like, certain people were like, oh, that's fucking badass. And I was like, every time I wear this shirt, I think nobody knows it, and I'll get 1 or 2 people be like, dude, that's a fucking badass. And I'm like, all right, cool. So yeah. So this story is her.
Yeah.
Starts out with her. She's a married woman.
She's a married woman who's like the husband is like very rich. So she's like a rich housewife.
Yes, and she is at her gigolo's
Yes,
house.
uh-huh.
Yeah, so the male prostitute there. And what's cool, right, Double A, is if you look on the background, you can see some of his
Yeah.
books. He's got like
Yes.
It.
Yeah.
He's got some Stephen
Uh-huh.
King books back there, whatever. And she's leaving already. They've
Yeah,
already.
because it's time for her to go. And he's already given her like 4 or 5 orgasms.
Yeah, and he charges by the orgasm.
Yeah, he charges.
apparently,
So I was like,
so,
damn,
yeah.
good on you.
He's like, I counted 4. You might have been more,
Yeah,
but
I was like,
I didn't
damn,
know. I didn't
good
know.
on you.
Yeah, good idea. And so, and he's trying to get his Mercedes, right? He says, or yeah, he's, so you already got your Mercedes. I got to get mine. Yeah, so, and
So
she,
you already think like it's already giving you a bad taste for this chick. You're
yeah,
like,
and she's very
"Ah, this
villainous,
fucking chick, you
right?
know?
And she talks to herself quite a bit or whatever.
Mhm.
I do love her choice of music when she's driving. Some good classical music, you know what I mean? And then what happens, Double A? She's just on the
She's
road.
driving. She's distracted. It's really dark. It's one of those roads that just about everyone has been through where
Mhm.
there's no fucking lighting. Once it's dark, it's fucking dark. And
Right.
you can only trust, your head beams and really focus, which is something that she does not do
No.
at all.
Because is she filming with the radio or
She's
cigarette
filming
or
with
something?
yeah, I think it's a cigarette or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, and again, like you're saying, she's talking to herself.
Right.
So she's really fucking distracted
Because she's
in
late.
a part where
She's trying to beat the husband.
she's trying to beat
getting
the
home.
husband, yeah.
Right.
So that, she can keep fucking her.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so, in the midst of all that, there's a hitchhiker out there with a sign that says Dover, is where he's headed, which I think is in Maine. I think it is. in
Yeah,
Maine.
yeah, I think so.
And what does she do, Dylan? She just fucking clips
Runs
that
it over. Yeah,
motherfucker.
she
You know what I
runs
mean?
over.
Yeah. And so
It's a
think
hit and run.
she does stop to check, right?
Yeah,
She checks and then
But now
just
she's
like,
scared. She's going over the scenarios in her head and all
yeah,
that kind of
like
shit.
what am I gonna say?
Yeah.
Where was I coming from? Blah blah blah.
Yeah, she starts thinking more or less, oh shit, they're gonna bust me. I'm having these affairs. He's gonna divorce me. Blah blah blah.
Right. Or I'm gonna like lose.
Not
out
even
on my
thinking, like,
luxuries.
Not even thinking, oh man, I just
Killed a person.
killed someone.
Right. Yeah.
So it's already 2 things about this woman that you're like, man, what a fucking bitch. Like,
Yeah.
already just like she's not very likable whatsoever.
So she just takes off. She's like,
Yeah.
"Fuck it,
Yeah.
fuck it. Let's leave him.
Yeah,
Nobody's
just fix the
saw.
car.
Nobody's
blah, blah,
around.
blah,
Yeah, we'll leave."
Yeah.
And even that, she's still worried about, like, I think the damage to the car. Whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what she's thinking about. She's like, how do I,
Right.
I'll just say I hit a deer.
Like I hit
Yeah.
something. Right. Blah, blah, blah. And then I can't remember when it comes the first instance we get where she starts to see things.
See
you
him,
know what I mean?
just like keep coming.
Yeah, and of course he keeps,
But that's the way it is almost throughout the whole rest of the way from her time there. Like he'll just like pop out of nowhere,
right, and he'll be telling her, thanks for the ride, lady.
Yeah.
Thanks for the ride. So he's like on the car and on the side of the car, and she's like, "Fuck! Like what the fuck?" Like so, she's like, "Did I drag this guy? Did he jump out of the car?"
like she's starting to think, what the fuck?
And she's trying to get rid of him, whatever.
Yeah.
So at one
And
point,
she's still trying to get rid of him.
yeah, and again, no regard for his life. It's more like, oh, I've got to protect my fucking secret, or whatever. Because at one point, she thinks she has him pinned against a fucking tree,
Yeah.
and she's ramming him
She
over.
starts
She's
ramming,
fucking
yeah.
the car up. Like the
Yeah.
car is fucked up, But she's more concerned with like,
And to the way he's even talking. Thanks for the ride, lady.
Oh, and he's looking pretty bad, right? He's really like, all like bloody, and then this yellow like coat. And his sign or whatever, it's still fucking, and they go through several back and forths. And at one point, I think a truck stops.
Yeah,
a big
Stephen
rig.
King.
Yeah, and it's Stephen King in there. He lights some flares. He's like, "Oh man, some lady came and hit this guy or whatever." And then you see this other gentleman stop in a nice car, and he's like, "Oh, what happened?" Or he's like,
Yeah.
"Let me call on my cell phone or whatever."
the
So
car phone, yeah.
he's gonna call for help, whatever. So, then cut back to her, and she's kind of going through her own. She knocked herself out of it because she's ramming the car. so
Yes,
much.
it looks like it's been there for like maybe a good,
Yeah.
maybe an hour, maybe.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, it was like all a bad dream."
Yeah,
blah,
she
blah.
thinks like, oh, I just hit this, and there was nothing here, and yeah, all that shit.
She drives herself home, whatever. The car's all fucked up. Like it's like,
And she goes to her very nice house.
oh yeah, gorgeous house. And she's like, "Well, I'll just say, blah blah blah." And then our friend
He goes back in
reappears.
the car.
He's in the car. You know what I mean? And he's like, I don't know what he does to her, but he like manages to carry
Scares
her.
the shit
whatever,
out of
scares
her,
the shit out of her.
probably. And,
So
and then I guess it's kind of alluding to that she dies of poisoning.
I
Like,
guess.
I guess the husband finds her with the car running. And
Yes, right,
shit like
right.
that.
And I think she has the sign.
But she has a
though.
sign.
Yeah. And then we find out that the gentleman that stopped the call from his phone, the concerned gentleman about the thing, was the husband.
Yeah.
He pulls up and he's like, "What? What's going on, honey? Or whatever." And she's just there, fucking dead or whatever. So it's we abridged it a little bit, but that one is a pretty grisly one.
No, it is. But I mean, that's what it is. It's
Yeah.
just that scene, just her driving with the dude just keep fucking popping in.
It was the one that scared me the most as a kid, just like in Tales from the Dark
She
Side.
looked ugly.
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like as it's going on.
And then he was on a jump scare too, because he would pop up and he'd be like, "Oh fucking shit!" But just like how in Tales from the Dark Side, the third story with the demon is the one that scared me the most. Which to this day, that one still scares me. I'm like, fucking. I want to watch it because I think it's so interesting, that one. And Ray Don Chong is so good, but it's also like, fuck, it's fucking scary. So that's the end of that story. The creep talks to us again, and he's like, let's check in on old Billy. You know what I mean? So Billy's running from the boogies at this
gang
point.
now. Yeah.
And what happens? So he leads them into this like cove or whatever, right? And so they've got him surrounded or whatever. And the one kid that's a bully looks like a fucking nerd with the glasses and shit and on the freckles. I'm like, you're a bully? Like, what the fuck? Like, you're in and Billy's not in. But so
Billy.
Yeah, they're there and that the leader of the gang, whatever, wants revenge for getting kicked in the balls, whatever. So they're about to fuck Billy up. But they're in this cove and I forget what he says. He says something.
I think what you're saying earlier, the meat.
Yeah, we see these big giant plants rise up, and they're like the
Venus flytrap.
Venus flytraps, So they fucking grab them, and I love it. They grab that one kid. Two of them grab him, and they fucking pull him apart.
Yeah.
And they're like, and they're eating the kid. And then the last one, the big kid, whatever, the one that Billy kicked in the balls, the main one like rises up, it grabs down on him.
And he fights a little bit.
Yeah, he pushes the mouth open. He's kind of strong. He has the mouth open, but then it can't keep it up. Fucking closes down him, and then we just see it like eat him and then spit out the boot. And Billy's like, Venus flytraps. They eat meat. So you're like, oh man.
Yeah, Billy.
And then we get one more shot of the ghoul in real, like the animation fades away, and he's kind of doing the old like, like till next time, you know what I mean? So it's a fucking great ending. I mean, the whole movie is super solid.
Three good stories, like you're saying, three really strong stories.
Maybe it benefited Double A from not being
maybe
5,
it did.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And again, if you want to see that one story Double A mentioned, you can go watch it in Tales from the Dark Side, which was
the Cat from Hell.
It's the unofficial third Creepshow movie, because that's what I think they said it was gonna be, that one. But then they changed it to Tales from the Dark Side because of whatever.
Well, so I said Warner Brothers had the rights, and I guess they didn't let them do it, which is stupid, right?
The rights to Creepshow, or the rights to,
rights to Creepshow. So it's like, really, you don't want to greenlight a show?
But cool to bring the Tales from the Dark Side franchise into the film more, because as we talked about last spooky season, that show had a lot of great episodes.
That one did, and you can see how the Creepshow effect on that one. You're like,
yeah, totally. And like I said, that opening to Tales from the Dark Side, just so fucking eerie, man. Like to this day, I think about that, and that it's like, I think it was scarier than Outer Limits or any of the other ones. So it's like,
for sure, for sure.
The black and white, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, I'm gonna watch them.
The isolated places.
The tree, like that, like wooded area. Like, what the fuck? Fucking scary. But yeah, guys, I mean, that's pretty much it on Creepshow 1. Creepshow 2, I fucking love Creepshow 2, and I love Creepshow 1 as well. I can watch either one of them anytime. Perfect spooky season movies. We were talking about, I think, a week ago, what could I show my nephew? I think that he probably could watch both of these.
Yeah, I think it'd be all right.
Yeah.
He's already up there,
Yeah, 10, it's kind of like, all right, there's not.
Yeah, I think these bastards showed me this when I was like 4 or 5.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I was exposed to some of that stuff too when I was probably like 7 or 8, and I was like, "What the fuck? I should probably not be watching."
That's what I told you. I was like one of the first depictions I ever saw of suicide. I was like, "Whoa,
fuck,
shit,
man!" I'll tell you, poor Jordy Viral. You know what I mean? So, I haven't got nothing else on it though. I think we went deep in it. Yeah, just give them a shot. Like I said, I think you can stream right now on Pluto or Amazon Prime.
George Romero and Stephen King.
Yeah, you can definitely get Creepshow 2 right now on something for free.
Yeah.
Creepshow 1 a little bit harder to find, but man, if you ever run across it in a bargain bin or a
Go to CD Exchange,
or whatever,
maybe have them.
half price books,
Yeah.
it's totally worth owning. It's such a fun watch, and again, it's like a light horror. Once you've seen it once, you'll want to watch it again. And once you've seen it as many times as me and Double A, you can have it on and just like be moving around, doing stuff in your house. Like it's great to play in the background during like your Halloween party. I mean, like they're both wonderful. So I can't say enough about him. I'm the hugest fan of Creepshow 2. I'm always on its side, a proponent for it whenever I'm in like horror, amongst horror people or whatever, you know what I mean? So, and I'm always like super happy to wear this shirt because I'm like, I know I'm the only one that has this shirt on.
Big time.
I wore a Hannibal Lecter shirt about 2 weeks ago to one of Foxy Roxy's events, and I kept getting a lot of like, oh man, great shirt, whatever, my Hannibal Lecter shirt.
Which one was it? Anthony Hopkins?
Yeah, it's his face and it just says hello.
You never saw one with meds?
No.
By any chance?
Well, I've seen them on a website, but they're really expensive, like $35 each, and I'm like, sometimes that website has sales, but I gotta wait till they have some sales. So, yeah. But any final thoughts, Double A?
Just they're really fun stories. Check them out, and you'll like them a lot.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. There's no way that you could not enjoy and appreciate both of these movies for all that they are. They laugh at themselves. It's tongue in cheek. It's meant to be, not taken too seriously. But they're also very fun and very like, it's
the humor's there.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of like if you were sitting around the campfire telling stories with friends. You're only going to get so scared. You know what I mean? So it's like that. You're only going to get so scared with these, but it's just that type of thing. And believe me, I've said this before on this show, Double A's mom would sometimes hold court and tell stories, and I would be like, I'm not going to sleep for fucking weeks. And that's just letting your own imagination run rampant. So, but also her masterful storytelling, because I'm like, I don't want to hear some of those stories to this day. Like, I'm like, I'm good. The time I heard those when I was like, I don't know what, fucking 8 or 9, it was good then. I'm good now on that. So I don't need to hear it again. But guys, unless you got anything else, something that we like to say at the end of every show, we like to remind you. First of all, I want to thank everyone that came in and hung out and added comments and spoke to the movies. We truly love you and appreciate you. Again, a 3.5 hour one during spooky season. Hey, we're for it, and I'm glad that Creepshow got it because I waited a whole year to do Creepshow. And these guys, we'll talk Creepshow again because there's 3 seasons of the show now that you can watch. I believe on AMC Plus, Shudder. There's one other one. I think Prime.
There's another one?
I think you do it on Prime
too.
Yeah, like through Prime you can watch it.
Okay.
Check out that show. It's fun. It doesn't have some of the heart that these two have or whatever, but they're still good episodes. I mean, they're really good. The ones I saw from this season have been really good, and I would love to talk about those with you. But other than that, guys, like we said, something we like to say at the end of every show, we like to remind everybody out there is that if there's something that you want to do, something that you want to accomplish, a hope, a dream, go out and do it. There's no time like the present. Go out there, guys, seize the day, right? Carpe diem. Go out there and make that thing happen for you. I would say this: George Romero and Mr. Stephen King wanted to make an anthology horror set of flicks.
They worked together,
and they did a great job. I know that's like very cool. Like I can imagine what that was like for both of them.
What a fucking superstar pairing!
Absolutely, yeah. And some people might sit and watch the movies and be like, "This is what came out of those," and I was like,
"Actually, that's actually pretty damn good."
Perfect. Yeah.
And that's why people recognize your shirt. That's why people recognize Marquise.
Exactly. Right. So. Yeah. Exactly. Guys, Creepshows Creepshow's classic. Creepshow and Creepshow 1 and 2 are classics. You gotta make them part of your horror, spooky season, and when you ingest those movies. I mean, I put them up there side by side with the Halloweens and the Friday the 13th because the classicness of the tales. Yeah, they're perfect. And in fact, if you go back and watch, our friends over at the Now Watch This podcast with Lucky and Joe, they had like a bracket of horror films, and I spoke vehemently about the strength of Creepshow, and I got it moved into the
It's
next tier.
really hard for me to pick like another movie over Creepshow, like just for my enjoyment. You know what I mean? Like it has to be like a really good movie for me to be like if you put that up against a Thing, I'm going for the Thing.
Right.
You know, but if you put that up against like any other kind of movie, I'm picking Creepshow
Right.
over a lot of the other ones.
I'll tell you guys this right now. Like, I would watch 1 or 2 of Creepshow probably before I watch any of even the Jason movies.
That's what I'm saying.
About.
Yeah.
Any of the Michael Myers movies.
Yeah.
I enjoy it more.
I enjoy these more.
It
Like Halloween really only has like really one good one.
right.
Friday the 13th has like maybe 2 out of the 8 or 9 of the movies. You know.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th. Yeah.
Right.
It's like I told you, they just bleed all. And to me, they bleed the same. You know. It's kind of like, oh, it's the camp, horny teenagers. Jason's gonna get them. You know what I mean? It's like I can't tell you what part 3 to part 4 to part 5 to part 6. I'm like
Same thing with
can't tell
Chainsaw Massacre. Same thing with Scream. I mean, like,
yeah, Texas
you know,
Chainsaw only has that one good one.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know where you include Saw in these, but I mean, like, I'm like,
Saw is like one big story. That's the thing with Saw,
Yeah.
though. You have to see all of them to understand that story,
right,
because they're all connected.
right.
You know what I mean? But still, it's kind of like I couldn't tell you. Oh man, you need to see Saw part 3. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
and also ask someone to make that kind of commitment. It's like, this is the fun thing about this. Like, you don't really have to.
You don't.
Commit.
Yeah,
you
and
commit
they're
to
really
one story if you
enjoyable.
want,
Yeah.
The other thing, though, guys, we like to say is that we like to remind you guys, like the great Captain Steve Rogers at the end of Endgame, when the Avengers are going back on the time heist, he reminds them that they must do whatever it takes, guys. Certainly, the characters in these stories did whatever it takes, good
Yeah,
or bad.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know what I mean? Sam Whitemoon, you know what I mean?
Shit. Man, your boy Sam.
Yeah, Leslie Nielsen, you know
Oh.
what I mean? So Jordy Verrill.
Yeah.
They all, did whatever it took, and I mean, and
Randy tried.
Yeah.
Randy tried to do whatever he took.
Randy tried to do whatever it took.
He started boasting too much.
Yeah, he started boasting too much. That just goes to show you right there. So it's like, you got to do whatever it takes, Randy, but then you got to not boast afterwards.
Yeah, you didn't do that.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
So you didn't seize the day by getting the fuck out of
no.
there. So there you go. Don't gloat. Guys, it's been a lot of fun talking to you about Creepshow 1 and Creepshow 2, some of our favorite spooky season horror movies. We hope that you'll get a chance to check them both out. We really appreciate all your comments, you being here with us through this long episode. We invite you to go check us out on social media at JFN Podcast, wherever you can. And that's it.
Yeah,
That's all I got, guys. Again, I'm one of your hosts, CM Chuck.
I'm Double A.
That's Double A, guys. Adam Chan. Join us back next week. We'll have something else for you in the theme, in the thread of spooky season. So keep your head in that game.
I mean, one more,
because then we're out of here. So come back and check us out next week and talk with us then. We can't wait to do it all over again with you guys and get spooked out and creeped out. All right, guys. Have a good night. Stay safe. We'll see you next week. Time Mafia. Good night. Good night, all of you guys.